Hi, welcome back guys, this is your friend WTFW with another fiction. What if Deku become Ben 1000? Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. TIMESKIP. The story continues with Izuku and Ren training for the UA entrance exams in the evening. About 6 more months have passed since then, making it a grand total of 7 months since Izuku had received the Omnitrix. Since then, Izuku has managed to train with 5 more aliens. Izuku has become most proficient with 4 arms, XLR8, Heat Blast and Diamond Head. The rest of the forms, he still plans to practice in the remaining months with even more. Diamond Head, Wild Mutt, Stinkfly, Ripjaws, Upgrade. Currently, Izuku is transformed into a Galvan or Grey Matter for the OGs reading this. He is practicing tracking with Grey Matter, talking to Ren while looking at the piles of trash, which has gotten significantly smaller with each passing day. Ren is transformed into Wild Mutt, trying to track him down while Izuku hides. Grey Matter, Wild Mutt sniffs the ground, trying to search for Grey Matter. His head immediately points in a direction and he rushes towards a huge mountain of trash. He begins digging through the metal to find Grey Matter standing next to a small tennis ball machine, which was turning on. Peekaboo, Izuku said before activating the tennis ball machine. The tennis ball machine began firing tennis balls at Wild Mutt, which he dodges just in time by backflipping. Wild Mutt roars and growls at Grey Matter, who was smirking as he remembered Ren's advice on how to use Grey Matter. -3 minutes earlier, Izuku was in his Grey Matter form, standing on a small pile of rubble while Ren was kneeling down to his eye level. Galvans are extremely intelligent. While they lack overall physical strength, they make up for it in their intellect and engineering abilities. I see, so this form focuses more on intelligence over brute physical strength. My small stature would allow me to participate in stealth missions and even allow me to repair support gear I may acquire in my time at UA. Although, this transformation has significantly more disadvantages than the other forms I possess in the Omnitrix. I'll have to use this form sparingly and in very specific situations. Give him a spin. Remember, Galvans are all about brains. Take advantage of that as much as possible, alright? Ren said. Yes, sensei. Izuku yelled excitedly. Alright, I'll give you 3 minutes to do your thing. After that, I'll be coming for you, Ren said with a smirk on his face. What are you waiting for? Go. Grey Matter immediately takes off in a random direction as Ren turns around with his arms folded. He listens to the slight scattering of metal behind him and he chuckles. Out of all the forms, this one might be the one that best aligns with Izuku's personality and habits. He was already a pretty smart kid to begin with, but now that he has the IQ of a Galvan, I wonder just how much smarter he's gotten. Ren thought to himself as he waited. It's only been 7 months since we started training, but he's grown immensely. He's a fast learner, quick on his feet and a great improviser. All he's lacking is combat experience, real combat experience. Maybe I should. Ren then turns around after 3 minutes has passed, now facing the coastline of the ocean. Alright Izuku, ready or not? Ren said before transforming into Wild Mutt. WRR present. About 2 minutes after Izuku hit, Wild Mutt roars once more at Grey Matter, who snickers at his reaction. He continues firing the tennis ball machine at Wild Mutt, who continues to dodge by running in a zigzag, closing the distance between them. That's it, just a bit closer, Grey Matter said to himself as he watched Wild Mutt close the distance. Grey Matter continues using the tennis ball machine to lead Wild Mutt into the position he wanted him to stand in. He waited a bit longer, then a second more, until the machine ran out of balls to launch. Now, Grey Matter then aims the machine at a specific spot and enters it himself. The machine launches Grey Matter past Wild Mutt just as he tried to swipe his claws at him. Grey Matter lands on another pile of trash across from him. Wild Mutt pursues Grey Matter and dashes towards him. Grey Matter quickly gets up however and begins to quickly climb the pile. That's right, come on, chase me down. Grey Matter finally stops and waves his arms in the air. Over here, come and get me, Grey Matter taunted. Wild Mutt roars and begins climbing up the pile. Once he got near Grey Matter, he takes another swipe to which Grey Matter dodges by jumping off of the top. He begins to run down the pile of trash, dodging Wild Mutt's attacks as he does. Large chunks of trash were being blown away as Wild Mutt continued his onslaught. Then, a large creak is heard after one last swipe from Wild Mutt. Yes, now, Grey Matter then puts his fingers in his mouth and whistles as loudly as he could, causing Wild Mutt to stagger back a bit in pain. Grey Matter continued to whistle and walk towards Wild Mutt as he does, making Wild Mutt back away while covering his ears. Wild Mutt roars and slams down on the ground, causing the rubble beneath them to shake. Grey Matter falls backwards due to the shockwave, but then smiles once he saw the mountain of trash slowly falling down on Wild Mutt, who looks back and whimpers as the trash falls on top of him. Grey Matter runs away from the avalanche of junk and jumps for safety at the last minute. When he looks back, he no longer sees or hears Wild Mutt. Yes, I finally won. New alien, here I come. Then, Wild Mutt emerges from the trash and pounces on Grey Matter, slamming him down with his paw and roaring at him. Grey Matter groans as the beeping from his Omnitrix got louder and louder, before a red flash changes him back into his human form. Wild Mutt steps back and changes back into Ren. Izuku sits up, rubbing his head in pain. Come on, I was so close to finally beating you, Sensei. Ren chuckles again as he walks over to a duffel bag and grabs 2 bottles of water. He makes his way over to Izuku once more and hands him the bottle, to which Izuku accepts. Ren sits next to Izuku and drinks his own water bottle. Hey, it was a good plan. You really took my advice to heart and formed a solid plan. Honestly, you did the best you could with what you had, Ren explained. But even though Grey Matter is smart, there are things he can miscalculate and overlook. That's why you lost. You didn't account for every possibility and bet all your chips on a one-shot victory. Wild Mutt's stronger than he looks. You should know that, considering you changed into him before that, and you celebrated way too soon. Can you blame me? We've been at this for 7 months now and I haven't beaten you once. I really wanted that new alien, Izuku said. You're getting there, kid. You really did almost have me there. Just keep trying. Izuku gulps down his water, then exhales in relief. There's only 3 more months before the entrance exams, right? Ren asked. Yeah, there's only 1 alien left in the Omnitrix that I haven't gotten to practice with yet. You've gotten pretty good at most of the heavy hitter forms. I just wanted you to practice with some less physical ones to try to think outside of just simply smashing stuff. If you use them right, any alien could be right for the job. Guess I still have a long way to go, huh? Izuku replied. Don't think about that. Just appreciate just how far you've come since then. Have I really changed though? Izuku said as he looked at the Omnitrix. I just thought that I would have been able to beat you, even once by now. But it's just been nothing but loss after loss. Izuku then falls backwards onto his back, staring at the glistening night sky as he contemplates his life so far, from being told he's quirkless, to the endless bullying, to suddenly meeting Ren and All Might in the same day and being offered the Omnitrix from Ren. He lifts his hand up and reaches out to the sky. I know it's just training, but can I really save anyone like this? At my current level, can I really become a hero like All Might? Ren stares at Izuku, his eyes full of sympathy for the boy. Although Ren's past was drastically different from Izuku's own, he knows what Izuku was feeling all too well. Ren stands up and holds his hand out to Izuku, who stares at his sensei in confusion. Stand up, Ren commanded. Huh, sensei? Izuku said questioningly. I said, stand up. Izuku grabs Ren's hand and quickly stands up. He then faces and looks up at Ren. They share a long stare between one another, with the silence surrounding them only filled by the seagulls and crashing waves. Suddenly, Ren throws a punch directly at Izuku's face. Izuku quickly ducks, evading the attack. Wait. What are you? Izuku said before being interrupted by another attack from Ren's elbow. Izuku parries the attack, which was followed up by a kick from Ren, to which Izuku stops and pushes down. Ren then initiates a spin kick at Izuku's head, to which Izuku jerks back and backflips twice to put distance between them. Ren wastes no time, however, and rushes at Izuku with a punch. Izuku then blocks with both of his arms, which sends him sliding back a bit. Ren attempts to sweep Izuku's legs, to which he jumps and dodges. Izuku then throws a barrage of punches and kicks, to which Ren easily blocks and parries. Then, one punch from Izuku, Ren parries. The second punch, he parries once more. The third punch from Izuku flies towards Ren, to which he parries away and quickly throws another punch towards Izuku. A thud is heard throughout the beach as Izuku closes his eyes in fear, waiting for the impact and pain to strike him. He waits and waits, but nothing. He was confused. Where was the pain? Did he stop midway? Izuku opens his eyes and looks at Ren, who was smiling proudly at him. Tell me, could the old Izuku from 7 months ago do that? Ren asked. Just so you know, I punched with the fullest intention of give you a black eye. Izuku looks at Ren's fist, which was caught by his left hand, stopping it directly in its tracks. Izuku stares at his left hand, which stopped Ren's attack. His face slowly breaks into a smile and amazement, realizing that he had just stopped Ren's serious punch. I'm sure the old Izuku would have just cowered and tried to run, but you took all of my attacks head on and stood your ground. Trust me, kid, you're growing. You're learning fast. As of now, you're like a level 30 power trying to fight a level 100 boss. I've been at this a long time. You've just had a few months of training. You've got the right mindset. You just need some real experience. Ren retracts his fist and Izuku does the same, looking at his hand in shock and amazement. Izuku then realizes something. I did that. Wait, you were punching me seriously? Izuku yelled out. Of course, that's what I said, didn't I? So wait, what if I didn't block? Then it would have hurt, duh, Ren replied. Izuku just looks at Ren with a blank stare. What's with the face? And nothing. Ren drinks the rest of his water bottle and exhales in relief. Alright, let's stop it here for today. It's getting late. You should probably get home soon, right? And no, I can stay a little longer. I'm still up for a bit more training, Izuku said as he begins to shadow box. Save it, kid. If you don't rest every once in a while, your body won't heal properly. Do you want to be stuck in bed when the final exams hit in 3 months? Izuku quickly shuts his mouth and looks down. Ren smiles and pats him on the head. Don't give me that look. Besides, I got a surprise for you. Izuku immediately perks up at the sound of a surprise. Really? What is it, sensei? You'll find out soon. Meet me back here in about, let's say about a week from now, and I'll show you. That sound good? A week from now. So we won't be training this week? Izuku asked. Are you sure that's okay? It'll be fine. Besides, I've been thinking about putting together a sort of test for you. One that would really test your abilities and everything you've learned up till now. I just need a bit more time to get things confirmed and set up. That's all. Besides, you're on summer vacation, aren't you? Go and enjoy it a little bit. Just relax for a while and we'll be doing more training before you know it. All right, Izuku said excitedly. So, 1 week from today, right? Yup, at this time. Better be ready. This won't be an easy test. I'll be there, Izuku said as he grabbed his bag and waved goodbye. See you later, sensei. Izuku ran up the stairs and began to make his way home. From a nearby rooftop, however, All Might had been watching ever since their first training session. He had been watching them whenever he had free time and wasn't doing any hero work. He looks at Izuku, who was running past him. Then he looks at Ren, who was stretching after Izuku had left his side. It's been 7 months, but all they've been doing is simply training. I even took it upon myself to follow Ren after they're done, but all he does is engage in vigilantism. Eat ramen at a stand, then sleep in random places, mostly rooftops but sometimes under a bridge. He hasn't done anything remotely suspicious, then why? All Might thought to himself as he gripped his chest. What's this feeling of unease? Why can't I bring myself to trust him? Is he really with AFO? Or am I just making things up out of paranoia? I mean, he managed to give young Midoriya a quirk. A god quirk at that. I've never seen a quirk as prominent as he or Midoriya has shown. And young Midoriya's growth. He's become much more proficient in hand-to-hand combat, more than anyone else his age. He's even gotten much better in controlling his new quirks. And it's all because of Ren that young Midoriya has a shot of achieving his dream. All Might then remembers his meeting with Izuku on the rooftop all those months ago and the distraught look he had on his face once he told Izuku his answer. A dream. I denied him. All Might thought to himself as he looked down in sadness. All Might then remembered his first meeting and conversation with Ren. He remembered the bright smile Ren displayed upon shaking his hand. The aura he let loose was so warm and inspiring, like a blazing bonfire filling you with courage and passion, yet never too overbearing, and gives off just enough light for you to see the future of taking action. I want to trust you, Ren. I truly want to believe that you're a good person deep down. I mean, you risk your life stopping crimes and saving people without any type of thanks or reward. Despite being a vigilante, you gave young Midoriya the power needed to become a hero. But there's still just so much mystery surrounding you. Then there's that device you possess, the same device on young Midoriya's arm as well. I still don't understand the purpose of those things, but I know it has something to do with how you and Midoriya transform. Forgive me for this, but until I have all the pieces, if we happen to cross paths during the line of duty, I'll have to treat you just as I would with any other lawbreaker, even if it means young Midoriya will. For his sake, I hope you will prove me wrong. All Might then changes into his buff form and jumps away from the building. Ren's ear flicks at the slight sound of All Might jumping and he looks back, only to find silence and emptiness behind him. Thought I heard something. Oh well, time to go do some reconnaissance, Ren said as he transformed. Jetray. Ren then flies into the night sky, disappearing in a mere blink of an eye. -1 week later, 10 p.m., a time where most people would hit the hay and sleep all their problems away. But for one Izuku Midoriya, today was the day he had promised Ren to meet him for a test as Ren had described it. He had put on a white and black hoodie and with gray shorts, he made his way into his mother's room, who was sound asleep. Quietly, he approached her and kissed her cheek. I'm off, be back soon, Mom, Izuku whispered. He exited her room and closes her door. Inko turns over in her bed with a smile on her face as she sighed happily. Izuku quietly put on his trademark red sneakers and exited his house. Once he did, he looked around if there was anyone near him. Upon seeing that it was only him, he smiled excitedly and activated his Omnitrix. The sound of the dial popping up and the green glow it produced had become sort of a comfort tool for him, as if he was looking into his future as the greatest hero that could ever be. He changes the dial about 3 clicks, then slams down on the dial, transforming him into XLR8. I'll never get tired of this feeling, Izuku said with joy in his voice. Gotta hurry, sensei's waiting for me. XLR8 then dashes off to the beach, where his sensei said he would be waiting. To everyone in the city, a blue blur passed by them in a mere blink of an eye with a gust of wind that startles many citizens as well as lift up a few girls' skirts. Sorry about that, Izuku said as he sped by a group of girls heading home from cram school. Izuku continues to make his way towards the beach, dashing past the streets and people as he admired the wind he felt rushing by him. The speed, the power he felt, it filled him with so much motivation and excitement that he could barely contain himself. My life has changed so much since meeting Sensei. To think that I of all people would be gifted this amazing power. This rush I get every time I transform. I've never felt this good in my life. And I owe it all to Sensei. Out of everyone he could have chosen, he chose me. Me, a quirkless nobody. Izuku thought to himself. Izuku then recalls the surprise attack Ren had launched on him a week before and how he was able to stand his ground against Ren. All this training really is paying off. I definitely couldn't have done any of that in the past without Sensei's instructions. I owe everything I am now to him. I have to pass this test no matter what. I have to show that his trust in me won't be for nothing. Let's take it up a notch, Izuku thought before running even faster. At the beach, Ren was simply waiting for Izuku to arrive. He stood at the shoreline of the tides, admiring the moon shining brightly over the moon. Smiling, the shine of the moon fills him with both a sense of peace, yet nostalgia, remembering all of his friends he still had back in outer space. He suddenly hears footsteps behind him. He jerks around quickly to see All Might in his skeletal form waving. Hey there, Ren. I see you weren't kidding about cleaning this place up. I can actually see the shoreline from here now. Toshinori, Ren said as he approached him. Ren reached his hand out, to which All Might shook in response. I haven't seen you in a while. You been good? Ren asked. As good as can be, I suppose. And you, how's training that student of yours going? Making any progress? A lot of progress, actually. At this rate, I'm confident that he'll get into UA. With the #1 spot under his belt, Ren declared. Is that so? Sounds like he's a gifted student then. Well, he does have his talents, but his hard work is what's more prominent. He really has been pushing himself to the brink of exhaustion. If I didn't tell him to take a break every once in a while, he'll probably work himself down to the bone. Even then, I'm sure he'd still find some way to train. All Might chuckles at Ren's comment on Izuku. As I thought, I don't sense any kind of malicious intent from Ren. Maybe I really am just wrong about him. The way he's boasting about young Midoriya is so full of pride. Like a teacher truly proud of his student, maybe he really does want to help him. Yet, I get the feeling he's still hiding something. I know someone else who acts like this student of yours as well. His teacher used to call him thick-headed and oftentimes would conduct physical training on him as a way to knock some sense into him. It was terrifying to witness, All Might said as his legs shook with fear. Ooh, you okay? Ren asked. Oh, why yes, I am. I apologize. These old legs just aren't what they used to be, you know. All Might said, laughing nervously as he slapped his legs, trying to get them to stop. Don't sweat it, old-timer. You've still got some good years left in you. Just gotta believe it yourself. Ren said, chuckling. Hey, my student should be here in a couple of minutes. You wanna meet him? I can introduce you to him. All Might snaps out of his nervous laughter as he listened to Ren's offer. Oh no. As much as I would love to, I really should be heading back home. Lay my old bones down to rest. All that you know? All Might said with a follow-up of another nervous laughter. Shame, but if you say so. See you later then, Toshinori. Why yes. Goodbye, Ren. All Might said as he ran in the opposite direction. He was acting kind of weird. Hope he's okay. He seems like a good guy. Ren thought to himself as he shrugged. Sensei, a voice in the distance called out to Ren. Ren turns around and is met with an instant gush of wind that kicks up the sand around him. When the smoke clears, XLR8 stands in front of Ren with a wide smile on his face. I'm here, Sensei. Yeah, I got that, Ren said in between coughs. Made it just in time too. So, what's the big test you had for me today? More combat training. A new free-running course. Maybe even a shot at getting master control and fighting you seriously. XLR8 said excitedly. No, and definitely no. At least, not yet. For now, Ren said as he touched the Omnitrix on XLR8's chest, changing Izuku back to normal. Hey, what? How did you do that? Izuku yelled. The test today is a pretty serious one and I'd rather you not time out at the moment. Ren explained. Izuku then straightens himself out and looks up at Ren, who was smiling. Today, we're taking on a real villain, Ren exclaimed. Izuku's eyes go blank as his face was stuck in a frozen yet empty smile. Did he hear his sensei right? No, there's no way. A real villain. Oh, this must be another training exercise to practice his deduction skills. Was that a joke? Izuku asked. What? No, I meant what I said. We're going to fight a real villain before the night is over. Oh, I see, Izuku said just before panicking. What? A real villain? Sensei, are you serious? Won't that be dangerous? Well, of course it will. But you're going to UA, so you were gonna train to fight villains anyway. Why not just get a head start on it now? You know, be ahead of the competition and all that. But I don't know if I'm ready for that yet. Well, that's why this is a test. To see the results of everything you've learned. Come on, Izuku, you've been training for 7 months now. What kind of training would it be if you couldn't put any of it into practical use? But that would mean taking part in vigilantism, wouldn't it? I don't want to lose my chance of getting to UA. Izuku explained. Don't worry, this guy's base of operations is super far out there. Like I'm talking so far in middle of nowhere that heroes can't be bothered to patrol there. That's probably the reason why this guy's been able to get away with the heinous stuff he's done. Ren replied. What do you mean, Sensei? What is he doing? Izuku asked. Lately, over the past few months, there's been a lot of missing person reports, like more than usual, increased by at least 15% that of the normal rate. I heard about that on the news. The news said that the Hero Association were planning to put a curfew out in order to cut that number down. Seems like the Hero Association is at a loss as to why people are going missing. But I had a lead on the missing people a few weeks ago. See, I was walking around the city when some weirdo from a circus approached me with a flyer. 2.5 weeks prior, Ren was walking the streets of the city, taking in the sights of the many shops and food stalls in the area. You there, good sir? A strange woman with long orange hair said as she stood in front of Ren. You look like a guy who knows how to let loose and have a good time. Why not come to the circus of the night and have a laugh or two? The woman said as she handed Ren a flyer with her orange hair. You look like a guy who knows how to let loose and have a good time. Why not come to the circus of the night and have a laugh or two? The woman said as she handed Ren a flyer with her orange hair. Come and see the attractions those may call unnatural, led by our ringmaster, Zamboni. Ren takes the flyer and looks at the paper. It was of a weird man with a striped top hat and 3 other people with the girl included. Come one, come all to the circus of the night. The girl continued yelling as she handed out more flyers. See attractions such as moi, Frightwig, perform my famous metal bending with my beautiful hair, or the man with the power to melt anything, acid breath, or the powerhouse that is Thumb Skull. A few more people take the flyer from the woman and gaze at the sheet. This looks kind of interesting. A man with black hair and glasses said. Can you really bend metal with your hair? Another girl asked the woman with a bunny hairpin. Come to the circus tonight and see for yourself. Sounds awesome. A businessman yelled. Acid breath, so cool. Just how strong is this guy? Thumb Skull. As strong as an ox, I'll tell you now. As Ren listened into the conversation, he looked at the people who were interested in the circus. He looks at the sheet once more and shrugs. He shoves the flyer into his pocket and continues to make his way through the streets, leaving the crowd of people behind. Not my thing. Come one, come all to the circus of the night. I promise you folks, one visit and you'll never want to leave, the woman proclaimed. 1.5 weeks after, Ren was sitting at Chef's ramen stand, slurping up a bowl of ramen as per usual. This ramen, it tastes a bit off, Ren said to himself. Ren looks over to Chef, who is slowly stirring a pot of broth with no life or energy behind his actions. Hey Chef, you alright? This ramen isn't really your style. Something bothering you? Chef does not answer and simply continues stirring his broth. A small digital television next to Ren catches his attention. In recent news, due to yet another staggering wave of missing person reports that have come in over the past week, the Hero Association have issued a statement indicating that a possible curfew may be put in place for all of Mustafu City citizens in order to counteract these mysterious disappearances. When asked whether or not this is the work of a villain, a representative of the Heroes Association had this to say. The screen that cuts to a conference of the panel from the representative. I assure you good citizens that we are doing everything we can in order to get to the bottom of this and return all of your loved ones. I ask that you place your trust in the heroes as you always have, and I promise you, we will find every last person missing. Chef then suddenly slams his fist down on the stove, startling Ren slightly as he stared at Chef, who was clearly boiling with anger. Place our trust in you. All these people vanishing into thin air. Yet all you're doing is placing a curfew. Don't joke with me. Some heroes you are. Chef yelled. Chef, what's going on? Ren asked. Chef then straightens up but still has his back turned to Ren. Ren can see how badly Chef was trying to stay calm, holding both of his fists tightly as they shook with anger. My precious daughter, Yui. She's one of the people that went missing. Oh, Yui, come back to me. Where did you go? I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for what I said. Please, just come back to me. Forgive me. My life means nothing without you. My precious daughter, my little princess, my little girl, Chef said as he finally broke down in tears, crying quietly as possible to not draw attention. Ren could only look on in pain as Chef cried over his missing daughter, staring with a blank yet saddened stare, feeling nothing but sympathy for the man. Then 2 customers approached the stand. Are you still open? The customers asked. We're closed, Ren replied firmly. But the sign said you don't close until 11. Are you deaf? I said, we're closed. Get out of here, Ren yelled. The customers scream and run from Ren, who then gets up and walks to Chef. Chef, come on. I'll help you close down. Chef nods and stands up. Chef sits on some crates as Ren shuts off the stove and closes the stand himself. When everything was down, he sits next to Chef. They share a moment of silence, simply watching the people pass by as they say nothing. Then, Ren breaks the silence. When did it happen? It happened 2 weeks ago. We were in the middle of discussing our plans to visit her grandmother in the countryside, but she said she didn't want to go because she wanted to go on a trip with her friends. Ren listened intently, not breaking his gaze away from Chef. Our discussion soon turned into an argument. She mentioned something about a circus that only performed at night and that she wanted to go with her friends. A circus, Ren whispered to himself. She showed me a flyer that she said a woman handed her. It looked strange and unsettling, so I forbade her from doing so. I told her it was dangerous to go out at night anyway, especially for someone of her age. She stormed off into her room. I went to go apologize later, only to find her room empty. Chef nearly breaks down again, simply remembering the moment. She must have snuck out when I wasn't paying attention. Oh Yui, why would you do something so foolish? Ren then takes out the sheet he still had in his pocket. When you say circus, did the flyer look like this? Ren said as he showed Chef the paper. Chef's eyes widened as he looked at the flyer. Why yes, it was this exact one. This was the one she showed me. Ren then looks back at the flyer as well. This can't be a mere coincidence. Ren said, where did you get this flyer? Chef asked. Same as her, I think. Some lady gave it to me on the street a week ago. Chef stands up and grabs Ren by his shoulders. Where is this woman? Where is she? Where have they taken my Yui? Chef, calm down. My daughter has been missing for 2 weeks and you're telling me to calm down. Tell me where she is. Ren breaks Chef's hold and grabs Chef's shoulders instead. Chef, look at me. Chef then realizes what he had just did and takes a few deep breaths. I apologize, Ren. I know, don't worry about it. Ren said as he released Chef. Look, panicking isn't going to get anyone back. I want to help you find your daughter, but you need to tell me everything. But how? Ren smiles slightly. Leave that part to me. Now, I just need some information, anything you can provide at all. All right, what do you need? Ren begins to ask Chef questions about his daughter, what she looks like, if he knows any of her friends, where they live, anything that his daughter could have possibly been wearing in order to make her more identifiable. All right, I think I got everything. Stay strong, Chef. I promise I'll get you your daughter back, Ren said as he takes off. Ren, wait, Chef yelled out. Ren stops in his tracks and looks back at Chef. What do you plan to do? You're not a pro hero, so why are you going so far for me? Ren smiles and chuckles. Isn't it obvious? Ren asked as he gave a thumbs up. You're my friend, Chef. I made you a promise and I always keep my promises. Don't worry, you'll be back to arguing with your daughter sooner than you can say order up. Chef's eyes widen with joy as Ren takes off once more. Ren, Chef said to himself as he watched Ren run. Back to present day. Since then, I've been doing a lot of detective work and it was just as I suspected. Everyone that went missing all had a common factor. The circus of the night. Izuku finished. Good catch. I tried to find the lady that gave me the flyer, but she's everywhere and nowhere at once. That's why we're going there now. This isn't just a test for you, Izuku, but it's more like me asking you for a favor. A favor? Izuku replied questioningly. I don't know what to expect in there. I know that there are a lot of people with strange quirks, so I'm asking you. Can you back me up in this matter? Sensei's asking me for help. This is the first time anyone has ever asked me to help them, Izuku said as he gulped. I'll do my best, Sensei. Ren smiles. I knew I could count on you, kid. Well then, you ready? Ren asked. Why yes, Izuku replied. Then what are we waiting for? Let's go, Ren said before transforming into Jetre. Jetre picks Izuku up by his shoulders and begins to fly up. Hey wait, can't I just run there? Izuku said nervously. Jetre can fly at supersonic speeds, so it'll be faster if I just carry you. Jetre replied. Wait, did you say supersonic speeds? Hold on to your head. Jetre then takes off with Izuku screaming at the top of his lungs in fear. Deep in a forest, just a bit further out of Mustafu City, Izuku was puking beside a tree as Ren rubbed Izuku's back, trying to help while apologized profusely. Was that double barrel roll necessary, Sensei? Izuku said in between breaths. Sorry, I got a bit carried away. Seriously, my bad, Izuku. Ren replied with an apologetic look on his face. Izuku spits out the last bit of vomit and wipes his mouth clean of any remaining residue. You all good now? Ren asked. Izuku then stands back up and gives Ren a thumbs up. Alright, let's get to work. How about we stick to walking for now? Ren said as he began to walk in a certain direction of the forest, to which Izuku promptly follows. So, where is this circus anyway? Should be just a bit further up. Stay on your guard though. Got no idea what kind of scum could be lurking around these parts. Right, Izuku replied. They continue to walk in silence, making their way towards the circus while sliding down small steep hills and jumping over some streams and tree roots as they do, occasionally being forced to swing off of tree branches. Izuku follows about 5 paces behind Ren and takes the exact path that he does. Ren looks back at Izuku, however, and the look on his face said it all. Izuku was genuinely scared. Although he was trying to keep a strong front, he was practically sweating buckets, constantly wiping his hands of sweat, taking deep and heavy breaths. His eyes nearly filled with fear and unease, and his hands shook slightly as he tried to hold them still. Bet you're glad we did all that free running training now, huh? Ren asked Izuku, trying to ease the tension Izuku was feeling. Huh, oh, yeah, Izuku replied. It seems it's really useful here in this kind of terrain. Remember when we first started free running? You know, those 2 buildings that had those huge gaps? I remember you didn't make the jump on one of those and was hanging onto the edge for dear life. Help me, sensei. I'm losing grip. Oh, goodbye, cruel world. Ren said in a high-pitched voice, teasing Izuku. I didn't say that. Izuku replied back. I don't know. Sure sounded that way to me. Ren replied. Then I had to save your sorry behind and then deal with the waterworks for like 20 minutes. Sensei, stop teasing me. Ren chuckles at the memory of it, to which Izuku smiles as well as he looked at Ren laughing. Hey, but it helped, didn't it? Huh, Izuku said confusingly. Your hands, they've stopped shaking. Izuku looks down at his hands to realize that Ren was right. You knew. Of course I did. What kind of teacher would I be if I didn't notice that my student was scared? Izuku puts his hands in his hoodie pockets shyly. I am sorry, sensei. I know that this is an important matter, but I just can't help it, you know. I mean, this is a real villain after all. Fear is a completely normal feeling. It's how you manage it that matters. Ren lifts up a bundle of tree branches up and signals Izuku to walk through, to which Izuku does. Ren then continues leading the way. As a hero, you need to keep it under control. The innocents that you'll save will look to you as a beacon of light. As their sword and shield, fear is like a chip off of both of those tools. If you don't keep both of those tools sharp and maintained, you'll lose the power to protect anyone. So, how do you manage your fear, sensei? Izuku asked. Ren does not answer for a short while, worrying Izuku. Sensei. Ren does not reply yet again as he remembers a distant memory. A white silhouette of a girl with hair longer than her own body appears in Ren's mind as he held his face in her hands. The future is what drives us forward. The endless possibilities of the unknown. We all pursue happiness in one way or another. We march to the future in search of that happiness. Ren, promise me, no matter what, please, keep moving towards the future to create a bright and warm present. Not just for me, but for the entire galaxy. The girl said as she then sprouted large wings and began to fly off into the moon. Ren reaches out with his battered and bloody hand, reaching out to her. I'll always be with you, Ren. My knight, my hero. If you will not live for your own happiness, then I beg of you, live for mine. Will you grant me this wish? Well, if I had to describe it, I guess for me, it's just about staying focused on the goal. Or rather, the future. The future. What you want to achieve. What you want to be able to do in the future you want to create for those around you and yourself. It's about keeping all of those in mind and only focusing on that. Action is what determines the future. Passion is what drives us forward in life, and ideals shape who we will become as we age. There are times where we trip up, get confused, or maybe even think about giving up. But as long as you keep getting up, you'll never truly fail. Fear at that point knows nothing. As they continued to make their way to the circus, Izuku remembered Asmuth's words to him during their first meeting. Ren soon became known as the symbol of courage for his peerless ferocity in the face of danger before he even turned 21. He saved countless people on dozens of different planets, leading rebellions to overthrow fascists and dictators from their tyranny, inspiring them that they had the power to take control of their own lives. Izuku continues to look at Ren, who still had a smile on his face as he led the way to the villain's base of operations. Right now, all those missing people, if they're all still alive, then they need us now more than ever. They need us to lead them to tomorrow, where they can see the sun rise at least one more time. That's the goal we need to focus on, leading them to a brighter future. Ren replied as he made a fist and raised it in the air. That's why I chose you after all, Izuku. Huh, Izuku replied. 7 months ago, a scrawny little kid ran headfirst into danger without even having a second thought. According to him, his body moved before he even had a chance to think, all for the sake of wanting to save one person. That was the future you were focused on that day, that your friend would live to see another day. You had fear coursing through your entire being, yet you only focused on the future you wanted to see. That is how you effectively conquered your fear. One day, kid, you're going to be the best there ever was. I know it. Izuku continues to replay Asmuth's words in his mind as he stares at his sensei. Ben was the symbol of justice. Ren is the symbol of courage. As the destined next wielder of the Omnitrix, you must become a symbol of your own making. One that leads, one that ensures change, one that inspires to act. So, what will you become, Izuku Midoriya? Izuku then looks at his hands and suddenly slaps both of his cheeks, startling Ren slightly as he looked back at Izuku, whose cheeks were red from the 2 slaps. Izuku, okay there, champ. I'm so pathetic. Sensei's right. A hero has to be strong for the people he wants to save. Yet here I am trembling like how I would all those months ago. If I'm going to be a hero, I need to focus on the goal, just like Sensei said. Those people need us. So get a hold of yourself, Izuku. Izuku thought to himself as he mustered up the courage within himself. Be like Sensei and all might. Smile in the face of danger. I need to be strong for the people I save. Like Asmuth said, I need to become a symbol. Izuku then takes a deep breath and slowly looks up at Ren with a smile on his face. Thank you, Sensei. I'm ready now, Izuku exclaimed. Alright then. Good to hear. Let's go. Not far now, Ren replied as he continued walking. A few more minutes of walking continue before finally they see some bright lights flashing through the thick trees of the forest. Looks like we're here, Ren commented. Ren and Izuku emerged through the trees to find a bustling crowd of people enjoying the festivities of the circus. Cotton candy, popcorn, the works. Some were there alone. Most, however, were there with their friends or lovers. Izuku takes a glance at all the stands and small attractions they have put up. He begins to scratch his head out of confusion. Sensei, are you sure this is the place? What, you see any other circuses around here? Fair point. What do we do now? Izuku asked. We take a look around. Do a little scouting to try and find anything out of the ordinary. As far as anyone else can tell, we're just patrons of the circus. Just try not to draw any unnecessary attention. All right, Izuku blurted. Ren made his way towards the circus with Izuku following closely behind. They take a look around to see if there was anything strange or out of the ordinary. It all seemed typical. Anything that they did take notice of was just that of strange. But nothing too strange for a circus, like a man with blue skin, a woman in a cage as thin as a skeleton, mimes pretending to be locked inside a box, etc. This place kinda gives me the creeps, Sensei, Izuku commented. Though, I've never actually been to a circus like this, so maybe I'm just being paranoid. Honestly, I'm with you, this place feels off somehow. But we can't lose focus. Try to keep looking. Izuku nods his head and continues to follow behind Ren. He does so until in the corner of his eye, he sees a small tent of red and white stripes. He breaks off from Ren and makes his way towards the tent. His eyes focused on the opening of the tent. As he got closer and closer, he hears an ominous laughter coming from the tent. The laughing got more and more intense as Izuku got closer. Izuku peeks through the tent and sees a man sitting in front of a mirror, rehearsing by himself. Howdy folks, are you ready to laugh? Howdy folks, are you ready to laugh? Perfect, the clown said as he put on his hat. Perfect, the clown said as he put on his hat. You're gonna knock him dead, the clown said as he stuck his tongue out and chuckled to himself. The clown said as he stuck his tongue out and chuckled to himself. Izuku backs away slowly from the tent, shaking slightly as he does. Just then, he bumps into someone. He looks up to see a large pale man with a toenail on his forehead looking down on him. Boss man said no one's allowed back here. The large man said. What you doing here? The man said. Izuku immediately backs off again and holds his arms out. I didn't mean to, Izuku stuttered as he then bumps into someone else. He looks behind him to see the clown he saw earlier looming over him. Well now, who do we have here? Izuku could barely move. His legs were shaking uncontrollably. His hands began to shake as sweat drops down from his forehead. His words hid back down his throat as he is only able to make short and quiet notes. The dark and ominous aura that oozed from this clown was overpowering when compared to Izuku's own aura. Like a small candle flickering in high winds. This kid was snooping. I take care him now, boss. The pale man said. Now, thumbskull. There's no need for any of that. I'm sure this young man, the clown said as he walked around to be in front of Izuku, who was still frozen in shock. Just got a bit wound now, didn't he? Tell me, boy. The clown said as he placed his hand on Izuku's shoulder, causing him to yelp slightly. Are you lost? Izuku tries to answer, but the fear had already backed up his throat, causing him to continue stuttering and shake. Izuku muttered. Ew, the clown repeated, smiling as he does. Come on, spit it out, boy. I haven't gone all day. Izuku continued. I can see you're scared of Lil Almi. How about a laugh or two? I'm sure you'd like that, wouldn't you? It'd definitely ease your nerves. The clown said as he took out a small canister from under his sleeve. He's about to do something. I have to act. I have to, Izuku said as he tried to reach his Omnitrix. Then, a hand touches Izuku's shoulder, but this time, it didn't cause him to yelp. If anything, it calmed him down. He looks over his shoulder to see Ren, who was smiling as he looked at Izuku. There you are, kid. Why'd you run off like that? Ren commented. Sensei. Izuku said quietly with tears forming in his eyes. Sorry for any trouble he may have caused. Likes to wander off this one, Ren said, scratching his head. The clown loses his smile and his expression was replaced with one of annoyance and disdain as he stowed away the small canister. Not at all, he was a joy, the clown said sarcastically as he straightened his back. Hey, you're that guy on the posters. Zombozo, right? Ren said nonchalantly. Zombozo looks at Ren in silence for a short period of time, slowly getting more and more frustrated as he stared. Who the hell is this guy? I don't sense an ounce of fear inside him, unlike this brat. The way he looks at me, he's not scared at all. This guy's trouble. I know it, Zombozo thought to himself. I am Zombozo, yes. Pretty big turnout tonight, huh? When's the big showing anyway? The flyer girl said something about an event too spectacular to miss. Ren asked. It'll be on soon. And I assure you, both of you will get a good time out of it, so be sure not to miss it, Zombozo said as he walked away. I'd hate to lose out on all your laughter. Zombozo began to walk away with Thumbskull following him. Keep an eye on those two. Tell the other two as well. Something tells me they're bound to ruin my big night, Zombozo commanded Thumbskull. You got it, boss, Thumbskull replied as he followed closely behind. Once they were out of sight, Izuku drops to the ground, panting hard and clenching his chest in pain. That was too scary, Izuku said as he looked up at Ren, who was still looking in the direction that Zombozo left in. My legs feel like jelly. You froze, didn't you? Ren asked Izuku, who looks down at the ground while standing up. I am sorry, sensei, Izuku said sadly. Ren chuckles and rubs Izuku's head softly, to which Izuku looks up and sees Ren with a small smile on his face. Well, it was your first time on a villain hunting mission, so I can't exactly blame you for freezing. At least you didn't run, Ren replied to Izuku. So, you get anything from him? Not really, but he gives off a weird feeling. It might be presumptuous of me to say this, but I think he's the villain we're looking for. Ren hummed to himself. What makes you say that? Nothing concrete. But that big guy that was with him, he called him boss. So, I think he's the guy running this place. Also, something about the way he goes on and on about laughter, Izuku said as he thought to himself. It might be nothing, but I think we should keep him in our sights. If he really is the one running this place, then he's the one making everyone disappear. Ren smiles in pride, putting his hands in his pockets as he leans back a bit, stretching himself. My thoughts exactly, Ren replied. Not a bad hunch, Izuku. Huh? You too, sensei? Izuku asked surprisingly. Of course. I mean, come on, clown, creepy smile, weird outfit, that horrible breath, how could you not suspect him? Ren replied. What, you thought that other guy was the one? I mean, he's got a literal toenail on his forehead. I had to stop myself from laughing when I saw that. Izuku takes a quick glance at now chuckling Ren and feels a moment of admiration for Ren. Sensei really is amazing. Sensei stood up to him without any hesitation or fear in his face. But me, Izuku thought to himself as he looked at his still trembling hand. I froze in fear just from the sight of Zombozo. I need to get control over this. If I don't, I won't be able to become a hero. I swear, I won't let it happen again. What's our next move, sensei? Izuku shouted passionately with both of his fists clenched. Whoa, someone's really motivated all of a sudden, Ren said, leaning away from Izuku slightly. Well, there's really only one move left to play. Time to bet all of our chips on this hunch. Ren begins to walk towards the large tent that housed the big show. We're going to go see this spectacular show, Ren announced with his arms out wide. You ready? Why yes, sensei, Izuku said as he chased after Ren. The main attraction of the circus was beginning, as people began crowding at the entrance and into their seats. Ren and Izuku wait patiently in line to get into the show. This is a pretty big crowd. Are you sure we can let the villain hurt all of these people? Izuku asked Ren. I mean, isn't it better to stop him now so that these people don't get put in danger? All we have are suspicions right now, a strong one, but still just a hunch. Act too soon and we'll lose our only lead. This seems to be the final attraction of the night. So if he really is the one behind the missing people, then this must be where he does it. We'll get front row seats to his secrets, Ren explained. Izuku looks forward at the line of people, still with a worried look on his face. But shouldn't we at least, Izuku said before Ren places his hand on Izuku's hat. Calm down. You're trying to predict uncertainties based off of fear and paranoia rather than facts, Ren said, assuring Izuku. Panicking won't save anyone. Remember, focus on the future you want to achieve. The future where everyone is returned safely to their families. Think only of that. Izuku calms down and waits patiently for the line for the show to proceed. The line slowly moves as time passes. Izuku continues to look at his surroundings. Near to the far right of the tent, however, he sees three people talking to each other. Izuku had recognized one of them. Thumbskull, the man that he had encountered earlier. He was with a bald man and a woman with strange orange hair. Thumbskull and the woman both nod at the bald man and take notice of Izuku's gaze on them. They all smile and wave towards him ominously. Izuku immediately straightens up stiff out of fear. Although he does, he continues to look at them through the corner of his eyes. They all walk towards the back of the tent as a group and disappear from Izuku's sight. Next, the worker at the tent yelled, "Looks like we're up, Izuku, come on," Ren said to Izuku, tapping his shoulder as he does. Izuku quickly follows Ren towards the tent. They try to walk through the entrance, but are stopped by the worker who used his cane to block their way. "Tickets, please," the worker asked sarcastically. Tickets," Ren replied. "Can't you read, big guy?" the worker said as he pointed towards the sign next to him. The sign read "No ticket, no entry." Ren said, looking at Izuku. "Hey Izuku, a little help." Izuku reads the sign for Ren and immediately realizes the problem. "Sensei, you didn't get us any tickets," Izuku shouted. "We waited in line for nothing. Take it somewhere else, you're holding up the line," the worker yelled. Ren and Izuku sighed as they get out of the line and walk away. Next, the worker yelled. They walk away from the line and find a private place to talk. "Didn't you read the signs, Sensei?" Izuku asked. "I can't read Japanese, I only understand English," Ren replied. "Wait, how are you speaking Japanese then?" The Omnitrix can act as a universal translator for the entire galaxy as long as it has the DNA of that particular species. But it's only for verbal communications, not writing. Izuku sighs and scratches his head. "Now what do we do? That was our only opportunity to get into the show." Izuku commented. "I doubt they would let us purchase tickets now, plus I didn't bring any money." Ren looks over Izuku and over to the tent, just as the last of the people in line enter the tent. Ren then gets an idea and smiles. "No, we still got a card up our sleeve," Ren said with confidence in his voice. "Really? What?" Izuku asked. Ren looks at Izuku and points towards his Omnitrix while winking. "Oh, right," Izuku replied. Behind the now empty food stands and multiple tents, 2 bright green flashes go off, transforming Ren and Izuku. Big chill. As the flash from Izuku's Omnitrix dies down, it reveals gray matter 1. As the flash from Izuku's Omnitrix dies down, it reveals gray matter. As the flash from Izuku's Omnitrix dies down, it reveals gray matter. Big Chill holds out his hand to which gray matter jumps onto. Big Chill then flies both of them over to the tent and lands quietly. He sets gray matter down and lifts up the curtain for him. Gray matter runs through but looks back in realization. "Wait, Sensei, how are you going to?" Gray matter said before seeing Big Chill phase through the tent cover. They hide underneath the bleachers, with Ren kneeling and Izuku on his shoulder. They take a look at the large crowd of people who are still chattering among themselves. As Ren looks around the ring, he notices a large strange device in the center. "Sensei, do you see that?" Gray matter whispered. "Yeah, it's some kind of machine." "What do you think it does?" Big Chill asked. Gray matter takes a closer look at the machine, examining it as much as he can from the angle he's currently. "I can't make heads or tails of it. I need a closer look," Gray matter replied. "Think you can do it without anyone noticing?" Big Chill asked. "Too many people watching. There aren't a lot of places I can hide either. But I can tell you one thing," Gray matter said as he pointed to the glass panels. "Those panels up there, I recognize the technology. It's from Detonarat, a support company. They were created in order to absorb the sunlight's radiation and energy to turn it into a clean power source, like solar panels, but at least 40% more effective than regular panels and more than a third of the cost." "Impressive. But I've heard of Detonarat before. Don't they specialize in support items for individuals, rather something as economic as this?" "They took a particular interest in this project a year ago and decided to broaden their portfolio in order to get the rights to this invention. They presented this at a conference a month ago, but then they declared it stolen during transport a couple weeks back. Well, now we know where it went. Only question left is, what would a circus need something like that? It's nighttime, and I doubt that the moonlight would give off any kind of supple light or energy." Before Big Chill and Gray matter could question it further, the lights suddenly go dark as a spotlight shines on the worker that had previously blocked Ren and Izuku from entering. Before Big Chill and Gray matter could question it further, the lights suddenly go dark as a spotlight shines on the worker that had previously blocked Ren and Izuku from entering. "Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, the Circus of the Night is proud to present the Sultan of Smiles, the Clown Prince of Chuckles, the Grim Tickler himself, the star of our circus, Zombozo the Clown." From the large door on the other side of the tent, a small pink car drives through in a zigzag, honking the horn as it does. From the large door on the other side of the tent, a small pink car drives through in a zigzag, honking the horn as it does. The car stops and the door opens. A leg then stretches out and Zombozo leaves the car, turning his attention to the audience. The crowd laughs and cheers for Zombozo. "Zombozo," Gray matter muttered as he started at the unsightly clown. "Sensei, this might be my chance." "What do you mean?" Big Chill asked. "As long as I stay in the quadrants of the ring that are only met by about 30% of light, the probability of success from my approach should be roughly about 85%, leaving only a 13% chance of being discovered and a 2% chance of an overlooked marginal error. Gray matter replied. Ren and Izuku simply look at each other, either out of shock or out of surprise. Gray matter talking, not me. Gray matter replied. Well, sounds good to me. I'll meet you there. Big Chill whispered back. Be careful. Gray matter nods before jumping off of Big Chill's shoulder. Big Chill then turns intangible and flies up to the machine. Izuku runs out from under the bleachers and sticks to the wall, where it was dimly lit. He then runs towards the machine. Suddenly, the pink car behind Zombozo begins to drive on its own and turns around, preparing to charge at Zombozo, who smiles and takes out a red blanket. He flaunts the blanket at the car like a matador to a bull. The car revs its engine as if growling at Zombozo. He flaunts the blanket at the car like a matador to a bull. The car revs its engine as if growling at Zombozo. "Oh," Gray Matter said as he looked at the car to his left. The car then charges at Zombozo, to which he pulls the blanket over the car, to which the car explodes into confetti. The force of the explosion sends Gray Matter flying back quite a few inches or so. The crowd laughs in joy as Zombozo bows to the audience. Izuku, Big Chill yelled quietly as possible before flying down to Izuku's level. You okay? Gray Matter gets back up on his feet and shakes his head before giving a thumbs up to Big Chill. They continue making their way to the machine. Big Chill flies up to the top of the machine while Gray Matter climbs inside of the machine through the bottom. Big Chill sticks his head inside the machine, watching Gray Matter make his way up the machinery. What do you think, Izuku? Big Chill asked. It's definitely Detonarat's design, but they've modified it with some other weird devices. Gray Matter replied. If you love clowns, then this is the place to be. Zombozo announced. You're gonna die laughing. That's a Zombozo guaranteed. The panels on the strange machine began to glow green as it produced a low humming sound, signaling its activation. Sensei, what's that sound? Gray Matter said worryingly. The machine, it's turning on. Big Chill said to Izuku. Izuku, you need to get out of there, now. I'm trying. You ever try to climb gears that are moving? Gray Matter yelled as he made his way up through the machine. Whoa. Suddenly, the machine began to hum even louder. Big Chill turns around, sees the machine's panels glow even brighter. From the crowd, a blue spirit-like being coming from everyone in the crowd begin to leave their bodies and swirl around the machine. A large pipe-like wire then extends from the machine and into Zombozo's back. What in the hell? Big Chill asked himself. I love the sound of laughter. It feeds my soul, Zombozo declared. As the blue spirits leave the bodies of the crowd, they become thinner and thinner, all while still laughing. Eventually, they all become lifeless and look exhausted. Some are still chuckling, but slowly and with hardly any kind of energy behind it. Now, time for to get me some new toys, Zombozo said as his pupils began to glow purple and his hair stood up. Listen up, you rascals. From now on, you're all my minions. Your only purpose from this day forward is to serve me and fulfill every single one of my desires. Your lives now only have meaning if I say so. All of your friends and family no longer matter in the slightest, so I suggest you forget all about them. If you all understand this, then bow down to me, your new master, Zombozo. Everyone in the crowd who was drained by the machine then stood up in unison and bowed towards Zombozo, who had a wicked smile across his face. Yes, Master Zombozo. The crowd all shouted. Then, the sound of multiple trucks are heard back up near the entrance as 2 men and 1 woman enters. All said boss. Thumbskull said. Trucks are primed for loading. The bald man said. Good, let's get this over with. I'm looking forward to adding these new additions to my farm. Zombozo said, chuckling. All of you, get in the truck. You heard the man. Everybody in the crowd obeys and begins walking up the ramp leading into the truck. No, Big Chill said as he swooped down towards the truck. Big Chill then uses his frost breath to create a wall of ice that blocked off the entrances to the truck, which causes the minions to stop walking. What the woman with the orange hair yelled out. A hero. Thumbskull yelled out as he pointed at Big Chill. How did he find this place? The bald man yelled out. Sorry, Zombozo. Your little recruiting center of freaks stops here. Big Chill declared. Zombozo merely smiles as he adjusts his hat and looks at Big Chill. Oh, I beg to differ, Mr. Hero. The party's just getting started and we got a strict no crashers policy. Zombozo yelled. A green flash blinds them all as a loud metal thud was heard, revealing a new form. Gutrot. Ren yelled out in his new form. Gutrot wastes no time and mixes a compound of chemicals in his stomach. Then he releases it through the valves on his arms. The gas spreads throughout the entire tent, forcing all of the minions to fall asleep. The 4 others, however, did not appear to be affected by it. Zombozo merely sneezes at the smell of the gas and shoos it away with his hand. Talk about putrid, Zombozo commented. What? How are you not being affected? Gutrot yelled surprisingly. Sleeping gas. How adorable. Did you really think it would be that easy to stop us? Zombozo said amusingly. Let me give you a little trivia lesson. You can't put to sleep what's already dead. Get him. From behind Ren, Thumbskull backhands Gutrot and he flies across the tent, crashing head-on into the bleachers and creating a large dent in them. Gutrot sits up and shakes his head in pain. He looks up and sees Thumbskull charging at him once more. Another green flash appears just as Thumbskull threw a punch. Once the flash disappears, Thumbskull is confused as to why he only punched the bleachers. He looks down to see a strange yellow bug-like creature. Ball Weevil, the insect creature, yells out. Ball Weevil then spits out a green plasma ball at Thumbskull, which explodes and sends Thumbskull stumbling back a bit. Ball Weevil then spits out a green plasma ball at Thumbskull, which explodes and sends Thumbskull stumbling back a bit. Ball Weevil continues to fire his plasma ball at Thumbskull until he was a safe distance away from himself. Ball Weevil then creates another plasma ball, but instead of launching this one, he jumps on top of it and begins to roll around the ring, using it as a wheel. Catch me if you can, Ball Weevil said playingly. While he rolls around on it, he restarts his barrage of plasma balls on Thumbskull and aims at his feet. This time, however, the balls don't explode. Rather, they stuck to his feet, rendering Thumbskull immobile. What the? Get it off, Thumbskull yelled as he tried to rip off the green balls from his ankles. As Thumbskull struggled with the green plasma, Ball Weevil suddenly shoots another one at Thumbskull's hands that were still on his ankles. Hey, not fair, Thumbskull yelled. Ball Weevil launches another plasma ball towards Thumbskull's other foot, effectively trapping him down. He then charges at Thumbskull, still rolling on his ball as he does. Just before he gets close enough to Thumbskull, however, another bright flash catches Thumbskull's attention. He looks to his right and sees a grasshopper-like creature. Crashhopper, Crashhopper. Crashhopper then kicks Thumbskull in the side of his face, sending him flying across the ring and destroying the wall in front of the bleachers. Ugh, Thumbskull groaned as he laid on the floor. Acid Breath, don't just stand there. Kill him, Zombozo yelled at the bald man next to him. Acid Breath, don't just stand there. Kill him, Zombozo yelled at the bald man next to him. Frightwig, cover me, Acid Breath said to the woman with orange hair. Frightwig nods as Acid Breath opens his mouth, releasing a green-like steam from his mouth as he rushes towards Ball Weevil, with Frightwig following behind. Frightwig nods as Acid Breath opens his mouth, releasing a green-like steam from his mouth as he rushes towards Ball Weevil, with Frightwig following behind. Frightwig gets in front of Acid Breath and attacks Crashhopper with their hair. Crashhopper jumps and hops to avoid her onslaught while Acid Breath runs to Thumbskull. Stay still, I'm gonna get this stuff off of you, Acid Breath said before releasing a steam of green vapor from his mouth. Frightwig continues her attack on Crashhopper, who was dodging her attacks with ease as he continued to hop away. Hold still, you punk, Frightwig yelled as she continued her attacks. Some personality you've got there. I bet you're a hit with all the boys. Too bad you can't snag yourself a man with hair like that, Crashhopper said as he chuckled. You think you're funny, Frightwig yelled. Babe, I'm hilarious, Crashhopper replied before changing into another alien. Spider Monkey. Spider Monkey shoots a web from his tail and swings off of the machine, spinning around and launching himself upward. Spider Monkey shoots a web from his tail and swings off of the machine, spinning around and launching himself upward. Frightwig, however, catches him with ease and slams him down on the ground. Gotcha, Frightwig yelled. Nope, I got you, Spider Monkey said before shooting a web at Frightwig's face and hair. Frightwig screams and backs away in disgust, releasing her hold on the blue monkey, who promptly and swiftly strikes her, sending her sliding back on the floor. Frightwig sits up and rips away the web on her face. She then looks at her hair, which had some strands of Spider Monkey's webs on it. Oh, you did not just do what I think you just did, Frightwig yelled. Spider Monkey only laughs at Frightwig, who stands up and looks over at Acid Breath. He was still trying to free Thumbskull of his bindings. You almost done over there. Getting kind of annoyed now, Frightwig yelled at Acid Breath. Just as Frightwig yelled that, Acid Breath finally freed Thumbskull from his plasma bindings. The two of them stand up and rush over to Frightwig, facing Spider Monkey with a fighting pose ready. Well now, think you can take me now because you freaks outnumber me? Spider Monkey asked with a cocky tone. Yeah, freaks, says the one who has both the weirdest and ugliest quirk I've ever seen in my life. Acid Breath replied. Dude, have you ever seen yourself in a mirror? Or even your mother for that matter? Where do you think I got this venomous beef of mine? Acid Breath replied. The way we see it, there's 3 of us and one soon-to-be-dead hero. Frightwig added. I'm gonna enjoy pounding you, pipsqueak. Thumbskull commented. Well now, aren't we optimistic? If you're so sure of yourself, then come and get me, Spider Monkey asked before changing into a new form. Wrath. Let me tell you something, circus freaks. Wrath is the strongest. Wrath can take on any number of freaks. Wrath will mop the floor with all of you, even though we're standing over dirt, put you all 6 feet under like the zombies you are. Then bring. Let me tell you something, circus freaks. Wrath is the strongest. Wrath can take on any number of freaks. Wrath will mop the floor with all of you, even though we're standing over dirt, put you all 6 feet under like the zombies you are, then bring you back, just so Wrath can do it all over again. The circus freaks simply look at Wrath in confusion. We might have actually found someone dumber than you, Thumbskull. Frightwig commented. Wrath is not dumb, Wrath declared before leaping into action. From the top of the machine, a small panel opens and out pops one gray matter who was gasping for air. Finally, at the top, Gray Matter said in between breaths. He hears a loud crash and immediately goes towards the edge of the machine to see what the commotion was about. He sees Wrath fighting the circus freak trio valiantly. Sensei, Gray Matter yelled out. Zombozo is a bit startled as he looked up at the top of the machine and made eye contact with Gray Matter. Zombozo smiles wickedly at the sight of Gray Matter. Oh, Gray Matter muttered. In an instant, Zombozo flew up to Gray Matter's level, chuckling as he looked at Gray Matter. Well now, looks like we have a little stowaway, Zombozo said, chuckling. Why don't you come with me? Let's have a little chat. Zombozo's arm then suddenly extends out towards Gray Matter, who jumps up and lands on Zombozo's arm. Oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. I guess I'm doing this now, Gray Matter thought to himself frantically as he ran up Zombozo's arms. Remember Izuku, Galvans are thinkers, not fighters, so think. What can I do here? As Gray Matter ran up Zombozo's arm, Zombozo uses his free arm to try and swat Gray Matter off of his arm, to which Gray Matter jumps and dodges. Gray Matter looks at Zombozo and thinks as quickly as he can. As Zombozo swung his arm, his coat flies open for a brief moment. Gray Matter then sees a variety of clown-like tools and explosives in his coat. Of course, he's a clown, so he'll fight like a clown. That means he'll always have something up his sleeve. Literally, Gray Matter thought as he then jumped onto Zombozo's shoulder. Gray Matter then jumps to the back of Zombozo's collar and pulls on it hard, causing Zombozo to be choked by his own clothing. You little brat, stop that, Zombozo demanded. Gray Matter then enters Zombozo's jacket and begins crawling around inside it, much to Zombozo's dismay as he begins chuckling uncontrollably. Hey, stop that. Get out of there, Zombozo said in between laughter. Inside of Zombozo's jacket, he finds a joy buzzer inside one of the pockets. He examines it for a bit, looking at it for a short time before making a conclusion. Zombozo's entire basis is centered around a literal sense of a practical joke. If that really is the case, then a simple joy buzzer like this is. Gray Matter said to himself just before he jumps to the plastic bottle inside of Zombozo's jacket. Hanging off of the plastic bottle, Gray Matter pushes the joy buzzer onto Zombozo's body, shocking him with a real and powerful electrical current and making him scream in pain. Wrath pushes Thumbskull back into acid breath, but looks back to see Zombozo getting shocked. You twerp, I'll make you pay for that. Get out of there, Zombozo yelled as he tried to reach into his jacket. Izuku. Wrath whispered loudly to himself just before Frightwig's hair wraps around his arm. Don't believe we're done here yet, Frightwig yelled as she pulled Wrath towards her. Zombozo holds open his jacket and sees Gray Matter hanging off of the plastic seltzer bottle. Zombozo's face is one of anger and frustration as his eyes meets with Gray Matter's smile. Why so serious? Gray Matter said in a playful tone before pushing the trigger on the head of the bottle, spraying Zombozo's face with a strange green liquid. It's just a prank. Zombozo's nose, however, caught most of the liquid, which turns out to be acid as it melts his nose. Zombozo begins to flail about, holding his face in pain as the droplets from the acid splatter across his clothes. About 5 droplets of acid cause the right side of Zombozo's jacket to tear and eventually rip, causing Gray Matter to fall as well. Gray Matter screams as he falls. Wrath looks back in time to see the falling Gray Matter. He grabs Frightwig's hair and begins to spin her around like a lasso and launches her towards where Gray Matter will land. She slides and rolls across the ring before finally stopping. She is barely conscious as she sees the gray frog dropping down onto her. Gray Matter bounces off of her, effectively knocking her out cold. Wrath then runs over towards Gray Matter and picks him up. You okay, buddy? Wrath asked. I am okay, Sensei. Really? Gray Matter replied. Good to hear, Wrath replied. Suddenly, a red beeping is heard from Gray Matter's Omnitrix and a red flash blinds everyone in the ring. Gray Matter had transformed back into Izuku Midoriya. Izuku looks at his hands and begins to get nervous. Oh no, Izuku said to himself. You, Zombozo yelled at the sight of Izuku. The brat who was spying in my tent. Zombozo then looks over to Wrath in anger. Then you must be. Zombozo said as he gritted his teeth. Looks like the jig is up. Wrath said to Izuku. Sensei, what do we do? Get behind me, Wrath yelled. You'll both pay for ruining my big haul. Get them boys, Zombozo yelled. Acid Breath and Thumbskull charge again at Wrath, with this time, Thumbskull launching Acid Breath into the air while still charging. A bright green flash appears as Wrath transforms into a new alien. Echo, 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 echo. Cover your ears, Echo said to Izuku. Izuku nods and covers his ears, and Echo begins to duplicate himself. There are now 8 Echoes on the ring. Whoa, of sound. All of the duplicates yell as they begin to release a powerful wave of high-pitched sound at the two. Thumbskull and Acid Breath get sent flying back into the bleachers, both of them passing out due to the high-pitched sound waves and the sudden impact. Zombozo, still covering his ears, reaches into his jacket pocket and grabs 2 lit sticks of dynamite. He tosses them at Echo's feet, which then prompt explodes and ends all the duplicates flying back into Echo's body. Echo then rolls across the ground before transforming back into Ren, who was trying to get up but was doing so slowly in pain. Sensei, Izuku yelled as he tried to run to Ren, only to be grabbed by Zombozo's extended arm and lifted into the air. You really made a fool out of me back there. Don't you know, I hate being upstaged, Zombozo yelled as he squeezed Izuku's throat. I'm the one who's supposed to do the clowning, not be clowned on. Ren, still on the ground, looks up at the situation and frets over Izuku. Izuku, no, Ren yelled as he desperately tried to get up. Zombozo's remains of a nose then twitch slightly as Zombozo takes a long whiff of a certain scent. Oh my, Zombozo said amusingly. Well now, what do you know? You have an abundance of fear, unlike your friend over there, Zombozo said as he pulled Izuku closer. I can smell it. You're trying so hard to be brave, but you're near the point of pissing your pants. How adorable, Zombozo declared as he took out a small canister from his sleeve. It'd be such a waste of supply to simply kill you. How about a little remedy for that fear? The canister explodes and releases a strange dark green gas from it, to which Izuku inadvertently inhales. Zombozo then drops Izuku to the ground as Izuku begins to cough. He looks at his hands, which were now beginning to warp and become blurry. What did you do to me? Izuku said to Zombozo. Why, set your fears free, of course. You know what they say. It's not good to bottle things up like that. Consider it a courtesy from your uncle Zombozo, Zombozo said as his eyes began to glow purple and his hair stands up. When used with my quirk, psychosis, it allows me change people's cognition, as long as their minds are weak enough for me to do so. And nothing weakens the mind more than either laughter or fear. And the more laughter and fear I absorb, the more powerful I get. Now then, tell me, what are your greatest fears? Zombozo flew over Izuku and looks down on him. Izuku looks back into Zombozo's eyes as he began to hallucinate. The room began to warp even more. His vision became blurry and tilted. Everyone has some kind of fear. Now, what do you fear, little boy? Let me take it all away from you. Let me feed on your fear, Zombozo said as he laughed. Izuku, stay strong, Ren yelled out. Izuku blinked only once. Suddenly, he jerked up from his desk. He takes a look to his left and realizes he's back in his middle school class in his middle school uniform. He looks around confusingly as it seemed to be a normal class day, but everything was in black and white. Am I in school? Was that all a dream? Izuku thought as he looks down to his wrist and sees that the Omnitrix is gone. I guess it was. I mean, come on, aliens. Omnitrix. It would make for a good TV show though. Even as Izuku said that, a sharp pain is felt in his chest, as if he had regret saying that. But why do I feel so sad about that? Izuku thought about that. Why do I feel like I'm forgetting something important to me? Since you're all third years, it's about time for you to think seriously about your futures. I'll pass out handouts for your future plans now, but you're all pretty much planning to go to the hero course, right? Izuku's homeroom teacher yelled as he tossed the papers into the air. Everyone began to cheer and use their quirks in class. Izuku gets a strange sense of deja vu as he looks around the class cheering. Wait, I remember this day, Izuku whispered. Don't lump me in with these extras, sensei. A familiar voice yelled out, catching Izuku's attention. I remember. This is where catching gets everyone mad, Izuku said to himself as Katsuki continued with his ranting. I definitely will surpass All Might and become the top hero, Katsuki yelled out. Oh yeah, Midoriya wanted to go to UA, too, right? The homeroom teacher said out loud. The entire class's attention turns to Izuku. There is a short pause of silence, then the entire class erupts into laughter. As they laugh, however, Izuku began to shrink in size as everyone else began to warp into shadowy figures and their laughing becomes augmented. How adorable. A little boy like you wanting to become a hero, the homeroom teacher yelled before his face changes into Zombozo's. I can sense the determination in you, but it's overshadowed by all this raging fear. It's so delicious. I've never tasted fear like this. More, show me even more of your fears, Zombozo yelled as he began to chase after Izuku. Izuku leaps out of his desk and runs into the hallway, with Zombozo simply walking towards Izuku. No matter how hard Izuku had tried to run away, the floor beneath him acted like a treadmill, only leading him further back into the giant Zombozo, who easily grabs Izuku in his hands. He then tosses Izuku into his mouth, eating him whole as Izuku screamed in fear. Suddenly, he is met with a punch. He falls back into the trash cans of an alleyway. Standing over him were Katsuki's 2 lackeys, who had just finished beating him up. Next to Izuku was another boy who was also beaten up. "Think twice about the next time you get in our business, Deku," the lackeys said as they walked away. Izuku simply gets up slowly and walks to the other injured boy. He offers him his hand. "Are you okay?" Izuku asked. The boy knocked Izuku's hand away and stood up on his own. He then pushes Izuku back down into the pile of trash. "So lame," the boy said. "Some hero you are. What kind of hero doesn't have a quirk?" The boy simply picks his bag up and walks away, leaving Izuku only staring in both confusion and regret. "You try so hard, but for what?" Zombozo's face echoed down the alleyway. This fear, so many flavors all gushing in at once. Zombozo steps out of the shadows with his hands behind his back and a wide smile on his face. Fear of rejection, fear of failure, fear of letting your precious sensei down. Why bother trying to swallow any of that anyway? Nobody will ever thank you. You're no hero, and you'll never be one, Zombozo said to Izuku. A quirkless little Deku, so tiny, so fragile, so useless, even with the power given to you by your precious sensei. Will it really change who you are? Just give it up. Give in to your fears. Suddenly, hands emerge from the trash bags and drag Izuku down to the bottom. Izuku desperately tries to reach out to grab something, but is met with only air. As he falls in an endless void, he sees vague faces of people. They all laugh and point at the falling Izuku, who could do nothing but endure the humiliations. "A quirkless loser like you." "Yeah, right," a voice in the crowd of faces said. "In your dreams maybe. Like you of all people could save anyone." From the bottom of the abyss, the darkness of the pit transforms into Katsuki. "You're quirkless Deku, or did you forget that when you were daydreaming about having a quirk?" the blonde yelled. The laughing continues as Katsuki's head changes into Zombozo, who eats Izuku once more. A moment later, yet another punch strikes Izuku. This time, he is transformed as the alien Heat Blast. The one who struck him was none other than his sensei, who was transformed as Swamp Fire. The one who struck him was none other than his sensei, who was transformed as Swamp Fire. The one who struck him was none other than his sensei, who was transformed as Swamp Fire. Swamp Fire continues his barrage of attacks, with no intention of mercy. Heat Blast falls to the ground, gasping for air as he puts out his hand. "Sensei, wait, please," Heat Blast begged. Swamp Fire does not listen as he kicks Izuku's face in, sending him flying into a pile of trash. In the real world, however, Izuku was being attacked by Zombozo. "Sensei, please," Izuku begged as Zombozo sends yet another punch, causing Izuku to fall to his knees. "That's it, boy. Give in to the fear. It makes me feel so alive," Zombozo said as he cackled. Ren grits his teeth and gets up, screaming as he does. Finally, when he's on his feet, he looks at Zombozo with rage. "Get your dirty hands off of my student," Ren yelled before transforming again. "Four arms, four arms." Four Arms jumps towards Zombozo, punching him and sending him flying back. He grabs a large metal seat from the bleachers and tosses it at Zombozo. The seat hits Zombozo in the chest, injuring him slightly. Then, the machine behind him begins to glow and hum louder as the injury on Zombozo's chest begins to heal almost instantly. "Care to try again?" Zombozo asked Four Arms with a cocky tone. Four Arms yells and jumps towards Zombozo, who charges at him as well. The two lock hands, trying to push the other one back. At first, Four Arms held him back without any effort. But as the machine glowed even brighter, Zombozo got stronger and began to push Four Arms back. "It's no use. I'm even stronger now, thanks to my machine that captured people's happiness, and the fear your student is leaking out," Zombozo said as he pushed Four Arms back. "Izuku, you have to snap out of it," Four Arms yelled out to Izuku. "It's not real. You can do this. You have to face your fear." With Izuku, he was still on his knees, in pain from Zombozo's strikes. In Izuku's mind, however, he was backing away from Swamp Fire in fear. Swamp Fire continued to get closer and closer until Heat Blast's back hit the wall. Swamp Fire summons a fireball in his hands and prepares to fire at him. Heat Blast's Omnitrix then beeps and flashes red before he transforms back into Izuku. Swamp Fire then transforms back into Ren, who had an angry look on his face. "So pathetic," Ren said to Izuku. "We've been at this for months, and yet you're still scared." "I am trying not to be, Sensei," Izuku responded. "It's just, enough with the excuses," Ren yelled, startling Izuku. Ren sighs and places his hands on his hips. "I'm done," Ren said to Izuku. "Huh," Izuku said as he looked at Ren. "I'm done with all of this, with you. Clearly, I was wrong about you. I thought you were worthy of being my successor, but I was wrong," Ren said as he held his hand out. "The Omnitrix, return it to me now." Izuku holds his hand over his Omnitrix and swings it away from Ren. "Sensei, please wait. Give me another chance," Izuku pleaded. Ren walked up to Izuku and backhands him across the face, sending him down to the ground. Izuku flips over onto his back only for Katsuki to grab his left wrist. Kachin, Izuku yelled out. Then, another foot stomps down on his chest. It was All Might wearing a white t-shirt and green cargo pants, just as he did when Izuku had first met him. All Might, I told you once, young Midoriya, it's impossible to become a hero without a quirk. All Might said. This power should be meant for someone who has a true hero's heart. Ren then grabs Izuku's Omnitrix and looks down on him. I gave you plenty of chances. At every single turn, you've disappointed me. I was foolish to think someone like you could save anyone, on Earth or in the galaxy. This is one decision I will not regret making. Ren yelled as he suddenly begins to rip the Omnitrix off of Izuku's arm. Izuku could only watch as his once-beloved sensei was ripping away the only chance he has at becoming a hero from him. Tears began to form in his eyes as he began to scream in pain, looking at his skin that was lifting up with the Omnitrix. No, don't, please, Izuku said with tears streaming down his face. Just like I always said, you're nothing but a quirkless Deku. Katsuki yelled. Someone like you doesn't deserve this power. Ren yelled. Please, don't do this. Izuku desperately yelled. Green electricity began to spark and create a sort of force field around his wrist. Just as he was about to give up, however, he remembered a core memory during his time with Ren. While all the other heroes were hesitating and the kid was suffering, the one with the biggest heart of them all rushed into action, with no hesitation. That guy was the coolest hero I've ever seen in my life. Izuku's eyes then opened as he began to remember Ren's teachings and kind words to him. A scrawny little kid with no powers or skills, just wanting to try and save someone who needed help, rushing into danger without any hesitation. That kid alone looked danger in the face, shouted and fought against it with all of his courage and heart. If that doesn't make someone a hero, then I don't know what does in all honesty. Izuku began to grit his teeth and reach towards the Omnitrix with his free hand. What you want to achieve, what you want to be able to do in the future you want to create for those around you and yourself. It's about keeping all of those in mind and only focusing on that. Izuku then began to scream out with the last bit of strength he has left in order to sit upright. Get off of me. Izuku pushes All Might off of him, who falls backwards and turns into sand. You had fear coursing through your entire being. Yet you only focused on the future you wanted to see. That is how you effectively conquered your fear. Izuku grabs Katsuki's wrist and squeezes it tightly, looking Katsuki in his eyes with determination. There are times where we trip up, get confused, or maybe even think about giving up. But as long as you keep getting up, you'll never truly fail. Fear at that point knows nothing. I'm done being afraid of you, Kachin. You're right, I am quirkless, and I always will be, but I refuse to let that hold me back from my future. Izuku then pushes off Katsuki of him. Katsuki also turns into sand as Izuku turns his attention to Ren, whose expression had not changed. One day, kid, you're going to be the best there ever was. I know it. Izuku then grabs his Omnitrix and begins to pull it back with all the strength he has left. He looks at the fake Ren, making direct eye contact as he does. My sensei would never say something like that. My sensei is the greatest man I ever knew. Kind, brave, steadfast, endearing, supportive, confidant. Izuku yelled out. I'm such an idiot to let myself believe that any of this was real. Even I still can't believe it, that sensei really chose someone like me. This is the greatest blessing I'll ever receive in my life. I'll always be thankful towards him. He alone made my dream possible. Izuku and Ren are now locked in a tug of war for his Omnitrix, with Izuku slowly winning. Sensei stood by me when everyone else had made fun of me. He supported me when no one else would. He entrusted me with this power because he believed in me, Izuku said as he began to strap his Omnitrix back on. I refuse to let myself be held back by these fears any longer. The environment around him began to shatter and crack as the tugging match continued between Ren and Izuku. I made a promise to myself that day, that I wouldn't let him down, that I'd make him proud, that I'd show him that I could become a hero, the greatest hero ever. That is the future I am aiming for, a future where I can save everyone, Izuku said as he pulled the device closer and closer. I won't let my vision end here, so close to the start. I'm tired of being afraid, always running from everything and everyone. As the destined next wielder of the Omnitrix, you must become a symbol of your own making. One that leads, one that ensures change, one that inspires to act. So, what will you become, Izuku Midoriya? Azimuth asked Izuku. I know I'm weak. I know I'm quirkless. I know that there are other people more worthy than me for this device. But even so, I want to save people with a smile. Like All Might. I want to be able to be strong, like Sensei. Izuku yelled. I want to become a symbol of hope. I want to show everyone what I can do. To tell them to keep moving forward, no matter what. That is the vision my sensei instilled in me. That's why I'll never give up. I'll never run away again. This will be my first step towards being a hero. The fake Ren then smiles and rubs Izuku's hair. Izuku looks up confusingly. Then, what are you waiting for? The starting line's waiting for you. Push forward with everything you have and don't look back. The fake Ren yelled as he let go of the Omnitrix. The world shatters completely around him, as Izuku is surrounded by a warm sunlight and a clear ocean below him. He looks at his wrist. The Omnitrix sat safely on his wrist. He smiles and holds it close to his chest. "Thank you, Sensei. I promise. I will live up to your expectations," Izuku said as the light began to consume him. Izuku then opens his eyes. He hears sounds fighting near him. As he looks up to observe the commotion, he sees 4 arms locked in a standstill with Zombozo. "Sensei," Izuku yelled out. 4 arms perks up and looks over his shoulder, seeing that Izuku had broken out of his trance. Izuku gives a thumbs up. 4 arms' face breaks into a smile. "You're back, kid," 4 arms yelled happily. Zombozo then takes advantage of 4 arms' distraction and punches him, causing 4 arms to stumble back slightly. "Sorry I took so long, Sensei. I was careless," Izuku said while look at Zombozo. "You're back now. That's all that matters to me. Now we gotta deal with this clown," 4 arms yelled. Zombozo charged at 4 arms, to which 4 arms barely manages to stop. 4 arms then throws a punch at Zombozo. Zombozo gets pushed back and his hat goes flying off. Zombozo grabs a stick of lit dynamite from his coat and tosses it at 4 arms, who blocks the explosion. From behind 4 arms, however, Zombozo puts 4 arms in a headlock, stopping him from moving. "Izuku, the machine," 4 arms yelled out. "It's what making him so strong. Take it out and it'll be smooth sailing." Izuku nods and begins to run towards Zombozo's machine. As he dashes, he activates the dial on his Omnitrix. "Oh no you don't," Zombozo yelled just before he threw 4 arms away and flew after Izuku. Zombozo's shoulder charges Izuku, causing him to be flung across the ring. Just as his back slammed into the wall, his wrist with the activated dial gets slammed into the wall as well, transforming him as a bright green flash illuminates the smoke from the impact. "I suppose I should apologize for that. I was never a fan of sports. I prefer games like hide and seek," Zombozo said with a grin as he stared at the smoke. As the smoke cleared, however, it reveals an empty crater where Izuku should have been. "What the? Is this some kind of trick?" Zombozo said as he looked around the rubble. "Come out here, if you say so," a strange voice whispered in his ear. Suddenly a transparent figure enters Zombozo's body. Zombozo begins twitching as his eyes begin to become black with light pink pupils. Zombozo begins punching himself. 4 arms gets up and witnesses the strange event. After a large number of self-punches by Zombozo, the ghost-like figure leaves Zombozo's body. Zombozo shakes his head then looks around him. "Where are you? Come out and fight me," Zombozo yelled out. Then, a hand touches Zombozo's shoulder. Zombozo immediately turns around and sees a gray ghost flying in front of him. "Ghost Freak," 4 arms yelled out. Ghost Freak then punches Zombozo in his face, sending him flying back towards his machine. Ghost Freak then disappears from Zombozo's sight. "You know something? I really should be thanking you, Zombozo," Ghost Freak whispered around Zombozo. "It was because of that gas of yours that I was able to take a good long look at myself." Ghost Freak then reappears and throws 2 more punches to Zombozo, forcing him back even further. He then disappears again when Zombozo tries to throw a punch towards Ghost Freak. "You're right about one thing. Fear is part of being human. Without fear, we wouldn't have survived as a species," Ghost Freak whispered. Zombozo looks around frantically, trying to find Ghost Freak's location. "But fear is also a tool for growth. Thanks to you, I saw what I was afraid of all this time. Rejection, failure, disappointment. These are things that not only once made me afraid of the world, but made me realize something that I'm even more afraid of," Ghost Freak said just before punching Zombozo one last time, sending him flying back into his own machine, causing it to malfunction. "Losing everyone I want to save to scum like you." Zombozo sits up inside the panel of his machine and rubs his head in pain. He then hears his machine humming even louder and electricity begins to crackle. "No, no, no," Zombozo yelled as his machine collapsed and exploded. "I'll never be afraid to save anyone, ever again," Ghost Freak announced. As the machine collapsed, the blue spirits of laughter soon left the machine and returned to their hosts' bodies. Some re-entered the hosts that were still sleeping inside the tent. The other spirits leave the tent to find their original bodies. 4 arms and Ghost Freak approach a groaning Zombozo, who looks up at them and chuckles nervously. 4 arms lifts Zombozo up by the collar. "The other people you took, where are they? Talk, or else," 4 arms yelled. Zombozo chuckles nervously as he begins to sweat. "Oh, or what? I ain't telling you anything. As long as only I know where the rest of the people are, you can't do anything to hurt me," Zombozo said in a slightly cocky tone. 4 arms smirks, however, as he pulls Zombozo closer. "Oh, I have ways to make you talk," 4 arms said as he held Zombozo in front of Ghost Freak, forcing him to face Ghost Freak. "Izuku, do me a little favor. Open the flaps of your chest for me." Ghost Freak looks down at his chest and does as he's instructed. "You mean, like this?" Ghost Freak said as he opened his chest. Black and white tentacles then erupt from Ghost Freak's chest as they released a high-pitched scream that is only matched by Zombozo's screams of terror. Black and white tentacles then erupt from Ghost Freak's chest as they released a high-pitched scream that is only matched by Zombozo's screams of terror. Minus 30 minutes later, 5 pro heroes arrive at the circus as well as 3 police squads. They rush into the tent and prepare for a fight, only to be met with the circus freak trio and Zombozo all wrapped up in a web and hanging from the top of the tent. Zombozo's hair turned white as his eyes were lifeless. Heavy bags hanged from under his eyes as he groaned and drooled. What in the hell? The pro heroes said to themselves. The citizens were all neatly lined up against the wall and back to normal as they all woke up slowly. The paramedics attended to the civilians as the heroes cut down the villains. Looks like someone already took care of the situation. The police said to the heroes. But who? We only got a call in about this a few minutes ago. It's that vigilante, I bet. One of the heroes yelled. Sir, one of the police officers yelled to the heroes. We just got another call in, 50 miles west of here. They said that there's an old farm that has all the missing people inside it. What are we waiting for? Let's go rescue those people. The pros said to themselves as they took off. About 50 miles from the circus, Izuku and Ren break down the door to an old farm. Inside the farm were people locked up in cages and chains. All of them returned to normal but still passed out. Ren transforms into an alien. Lodestar begins to unlock all the doors using his magnetic abilities while Izuku looked for Chef's daughter. Lodestar begins to unlock all the doors using his magnetic abilities while Izuku looked for Chef's daughter. Short brown hair, bunny hairpin. Short brown hair, bunny hairpin. Izuku muttered to himself as he looked through the cages. Finally, at the 13th cage, he finds a group of people inside. In the corner of the room was a girl sitting down matching the description. She was sleeping soundly with her head resting on the wall. Sensei, in here, Izuku yelled out as he pointed to the girl. Lodestar runs over to the cage and flings it open. He uses his powers to then unlock all of the chains of the people inside. Izuku runs over to the girl and checks for a pulse. She's okay, Izuku told Lodestar. Lodestar then changes back into Ren, who then picks her up and onto his back. Let's get out of here. The other heroes will be here soon enough, Ren said to Izuku. All right, Izuku said as they both began to run out of the farm and into the woods. Soon enough, the other police cars and heroes arrive on the scene and began evacuating all of the missing people. Ren and Izuku both smile and fist bump each other. I'd say, that's a mission accomplished. Ren whispered, you up for a little race back into the city? Izuku smirks at Ren before activating the dial on his Omnitrix. He slams down on his Omnitrix and transforms into XLR8. Our deal still counts, right? I get a new alien if I beat you, XLR8 asked before being blinded by another green flash. Our deal still counts, right? I get a new alien if I beat you, XLR8 asked before being blinded by another green flash. That's if you manage to win, the other XLR8 said with a confident tone. That's if you manage to win, the other XLR8 said with a confident tone. On the count of 3. Ready, 3, Ren's XLR8 yelled before rushing off. Hey, so not fair, Sensei. Izuku's XLR8 yelled before chasing after his sensei. TIMESKIP. Almost 3 months later, only 1 day left before the ENTRENCE exams. It was a calm and quiet evening as Izuku sat at the dinner table with his mother, eating the breakfast she had prepared eagerly as if he had not eaten in a week. His mother looked at Izuku, whose cheeks were practically stuffed like a squirrel's. Wow, you must really hungry, Izuku, Inko commented. MRRRMPH, MRRMPH, Izuku said with a mouthful of food. Swallow your food first, honey, Inko replied, laughing. Izuku looks up at his mother, who was smiling. Izuku swallows all of the food in his mouth, then takes a long and deep breath. He looks up at his mother, who was still gleaming at the sight of her son enjoying her cooking. Tomorrow's a big day for me, Mom, Izuku replied. I gotta get as much food into me as I can. Izuku continues, and Ko chuckles at Izuku's comment. I've just never seen you so, well, chipper before. It's a nice sight to see, Inko commented. Speaking of which, you're not pushing yourself too hard, are you, dear? I know you said that you've been training for the UA entrance exams, but don't you think you're taking it a bit too far? I don't want you to get hurt, Izuku, Inko explained. Don't worry, Mom, I'm not. In fact, I've never felt better in my entire life. I'm confident I can pass the exams no problem now, Izuku said with a smile. Inko could only look at Izuku with pride and joy. She's hardly ever seen him this happy before. There was a new air of confidence surrounding him. She smiles and chuckles at his warm yet kind aura. Izuku smiles at his mother before the television next to them catches his attention. The channel was turned to the news reporting on the missing people. Just almost 3 months ago, the police and pro heroes received 2 anonymous tips as to where the location of the missing people were, which led them to a circus that was being held deep in the forest just outside of Mustafu's jurisdiction. The culprit responsible for these disappearances is the villain who calls himself Zombozo. His real name, however, is Herbert J. Zamboni, a villain from America who had seemingly dropped off of the grid about 5 years ago. Upon arriving at the scene, he and his associates were promptly arrested and put into custody. The scene then switches to Zombozo and the circus freak trio exiting the police van and into prison, with people cheering for their arrest, with some of them crying as well. Some were even tossing trash at Zombozo as the police attempted to hold the crowd back. "Do you know just how much you scarred my daughter?" a woman in the crowd yelled. "I hope you rot in there, scumbag." A man yelled. "You and your friends are lower than trash." Another man yelled. Upon news of their arrest, the representative of the Hero Association had this comment to give during a public conference. "As we had promised you, everyone who had went missing has been found and accounted for. All returned to their families safely. Your trust in us is not misplaced. That is what I had assured you. Thanks to our wonderful heroes, Zombozo is now in custody and will no longer hurt anyone else. In addition, we will now be lifting the curfew over Mustafa City." Everyone at the conference was cheering at the speech, while Izuku, who was still looking at the TV, his face filled with slight contempt as he looked at the representative's wide smile on the camera. Izuku then remembers the events of last night, where he and Ren had returned Chef's daughter to him, -3 months ago. Ren still had Chef's daughter on his back as Izuku followed next to him. They approach a small traditional Japanese house. Ren nods at Izuku, who rings the doorbell. They wait for a moment, then Chef opens the door, rubbing his eyes as he does. "Why yes," Chef said weakly. Chef then looks down at Izuku confusingly. "Can I help you, young man?" Chef asked Izuku. "Sorry to wake you up, Chef," Ren replied as he approached Chef. "But I don't think this can wait until morning." Chef looks at Ren with a small smile. "Oh, Ren, what's so important that?" Chef said as he slowly drifted off at the sight of his daughter on his back. "Why, Yui?" Chef immediately runs up to Ren in order to hold Yui's face. Yui was still unconscious as Chef holds her. What happened?" Chef yelled. "It's a bit of a long story," Ren replied. "Don't worry, sir. She's fine, just a bit out of it. That's all," Izuku replied. Chef looks at Izuku, who had multiple scratches and small cuts all over, the same with Ren. "What exactly happened to you two?" Chef asked. "Like I said, long story," Ren replied. Chef takes another look at both of them. Then he turns his back to open the door even further for them. "Come inside, please," Chef said. "Why yes, pardon our intrusion," Izuku said as he walked into the house. Chef and Izuku take off their shoes and walk inside. Ren notices this and takes off his shoes as well. They make their way to the living area and Ren sets her down gently, laying her down on her back. "There's a blanket in that closet over there. Please cover her with it," Chef asked. Izuku opens the closet and grabs the blanket, pulling it over Yui, who is still sleeping soundly. He then takes a seat next to Ren. Chef then grabs a medical kit from underneath the kitchen counter and sits down in front of Izuku. "Please, let me tend to your injuries," Chef said to Ren and Izuku. "Oh, I'm fine, sir. Just a few scratches here and there," but Izuku said before getting interrupted. "I won't take no for an answer. I may not know the whole story yet, but I know you two brought my daughter back to me," Chef said as he looked at Ren. "Just like you promised. Please, allow me this small gesture of gratitude." Izuku looks at Ren, who nods in approval. Izuku looks over to Chef and sits in front of him. Chef smiles brightly and begins his treatment. "Now, hold still," Chef said to Izuku. "Please, tell me everything." "Well, shoot. Where to even start?" Ren said playfully. "Well, I guess it began with that flyer. As you know." Ren began to explain to Chef about everything. The circus, Zombozo, his circus freak trio, the machine, the farm, everything. As Chef tended to their wounds, his face did not change one bit. Izuku even spoke to fill in blanks in Ren's story. He told Ren about what he had hallucinated when he got hit with Zombozo's gas, but without revealing the truth about the Omnitrix. Finally, Chef had finished patching the two of them up and he sits up straight, his eyes looking down. "I see. So you two, you put your lives on the line for people you hardly even know. For my daughter, you succeeded where the heroes failed." Chef said to the two. "I want you to know that whatever the news might say, you two are my heroes. From the bottom of my heart, you are the true heroes in this society." Chef then kneels down and bows before Izuku and Ren, trying desperately to hold back his tears. "Thank you for saving my precious daughter. Thank you so much," Chef said in between chokes. As Izuku stared at Chef's groveling, he filled with a sense of empowerment and joy. Seeing Chef overwhelmed by his daughter's safe return was almost enough to make Izuku tear up as well. Then, a female's voice can be heard groaning as Yui sits up, holding her head in pain. "What happened?" Yui said as she looked around. Yui looks at her father, who was still bowing. "Dad," Yui said softly. Chef then looks up at his daughter, who was finally awake. Chef could no longer hold himself back as his tears finally became too much for him to handle. "Why, Yui?" Chef yelled out as he ran and hugged Yui. "Dad, what's going on?" Yui yelled out. "I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have said all those things to you." Please, forgive this foolish old man. Yui, Chef said in between tears. I love you, Yui. I'll always love you. Wait, Dad. What's going on here? Yui asked. Ren smiles and stands up. He gestures Izuku to do the same. Yui stares at the two of them confusingly. Your old man can explain everything. Now then, ready to head out, Izuku? Ren asked. Why, yes, Sensei. Izuku replied. Just before Izuku exits the room, he looks back at Chef, who is still hugging his daughter. Yui slowly begins to hug her father back. Izuku smiles and leaves their home, walking side by side with Ren in silence. They continue to make their way down the road before Ren finally breaks the silence. So, that's what you were afraid of? Ren asked. Yes, Izuku replied. Another moment of silence falls over the two, with Ren leading the charge to break the silence once more. I'm sorry, Ren said to Izuku. Izuku said as he looked up to Ren. We've been training for 7.5 months now and I never realized that you were holding all of this inside you. Ren explained. Sometimes, I genuinely forget that you're still just a kid. Izuku only listens to Ren's word, not muttering even a single sound. Everything that you were scared of, rejection, failure, disappointing me. I forget that even children tend to feel these kinds of fears more than adults do. Ren said as he stopped walking to admire the moon's shine over the lake next to them. I thought you were just getting cold feet over your first villain. I should have realized that you were suffering in silence because of something more internal. I can change into over 10,000 aliens but can't even notice something like that. Sorry for being such a worthless sensei, Izuku. Izuku only looks at Ren, whose eyes were filled with regret and disappointment. Izuku then grips his fists and approaches Ren. You're not worthless, sensei, Izuku muttered. You're far from worthless. It was because of you that I'm where I am now. Ren only looks at Izuku with a bit of shock on his face. He'd never seen Izuku so adamant before. It was a nice change and development from the Izuku he met all those months ago. It was because of your words that I was able to face my fears. You taught me everything I know. You supported my dream, even though I told you I was quirkless. You never gave up on me, no matter how much I cried. Izuku yelled out. I made a promise to myself that day, the day you gave me this Omnitrix, that I would do everything I can to prove to you that your faith isn't misplaced. That's why. Izuku then held out his fist towards Ren. I'm definitely going to become a hero. I'll show you my symbol, sensei, my symbol of hope. So until then, please keep teaching me as your student, Izuku said with a confident look on his face. Ren chuckles silently, then erupts into a loud laughter, holding his hand over his forehead, laughing uncontrollably. Izuku is a bit confused as to why Ren would be laughing. You know something, kid. You just keep on surprising me, Ren said as he bumped his fist with Izuku. I know you can do it, Izuku. Become that symbol, no matter what. Keep moving forward, to the future you want to see. Present day, it was Sensei that figured out where the missing people were going. Yet he doesn't get any credit for it. He gets nothing out of being a hero on Earth, yet he still pushes on to do the right thing. I need to live up to that, Izuku thought to himself. But first, Izuku looks towards his mother, who was watching the news with her full attention, looking at the mugshot of Zombozo. How scary, to think he's behind all of the disappearances. It's a good thing they caught him and he's behind bars. If I lost you, Izuku, I don't know what I would have done. Inko commented. To think that you're training to take on scary people like that. Izuku continues to stare at his mother. Then he looks down at his Omnitrix. He remembers Ren's warnings about telling people about the Omnitrix. But the truth is, the people of Earth aren't ready for the truth yet. That they're not alone in the universe. If they find out about the truth about the Omnitrix and that it lets you change into alien life forms, who knows what may happen? But she's my mother. She has a right to know, Izuku thought to himself. I don't want her worrying about me any more than she already does. Izuku remembers Ren's words once more. Wouldn't that just make her worry even more? Based on what you've told me about her and how you tend to act, I'm willing to bet your mom is the same way, huh? Izuku grips the Omnitrix and stares up at his mother once again, who is eating joyfully. She then makes eye contact with Izuku. Izuku baby, what's wrong? Inko commented. I want to show her that she doesn't need to worry anymore, that I'm different now. Izuku remembers meeting Ren a week earlier at the beach. 1 week earlier, there is only small chunks of trash left on the beach. Ren had his back turned and was facing the ocean. Izuku then runs up to Ren and shouts, Sensei, Izuku shouted, waving as he does. Sensei, I'm here. Ren does not turn to face Izuku, however, he continues facing the ocean. Sensei, what's the training for today? Izuku asked quietly. Ren finally turns around and faces Izuku. No training today, Ren explained. I wanted to tell you something instead. What do you mean? Izuku asked. There's only about 1 week left before your entrance exams, right? Ren asked. You already passed the written exam. Now all there's left is the physical exam, right? Why yeah, Izuku replied. Ren chuckles proudly. He approaches Izuku and places his hand on Izuku's shoulder. Izuku, I can't begin to tell you just how much you've grown since the first day we started training. Ren commented. At first, you were always so scared of everything and would always run away from my attacks. But slowly but surely, I've watched you grow into a totally awesome guy who stands his ground no matter who he's facing. You've become more than proficient in using the aliens in your Omnitrix. These last 9 months have been an honor to be a part of. But I won't always be around to hold your hand for these kinds of things, you know. I know, Sensei, Izuku said with a slightly sad tone in his voice. That's why, the day before the entrance exams, you're going to fight me, Ren declared. What? This will be the final test I have for you, at least for your basic training, to see if you're capable of standing on your own now. Of course, this doesn't mean I'll stop mentoring you after this, but I need to see that you can move on your own now, Ren explained. So, take this week to train and prepare for this. Do whatever you want until the day of our test arrives. Izuku looks up at Ren. His eyes were filled with so much seriousness, a completely different composure that he was used to seeing from Ren. He really isn't joking around about this. That's all I have to say to you for now, Ren said before transforming. Jetre could see that Izuku was still a bit nervous about the test. He didn't shake and sweat as much as he used to, but the energy was still there. Don't worry, you're gonna do fine, Jetre said to Izuku. Believe in yourself, after all, I do. Jetre flies off into the night with Izuku staring at him. He looks down at his Omnitrix that shined with the light of the moon. He was more confident in using his heavy hitter forms as well as his less physical capable forms. Over the next few days, Izuku would spend almost all of his time training and practicing with all of his aliens, even doing a bit of physical training in his human form. He runs along the coast of the beach for stamina training. I have to pass this test. This is what you've been training for, Izuku. Sensei is no joke. You'll be fighting the greatest hero in the entire galaxy. I have to win, no matter what, Izuku said to himself as he ran. I'll pass this test, Sensei, no matter what. Present day. Izuku then puts down his chopsticks and puts on a serious expression. Mom, do you have some free time tonight? Izuku asked his mother. Oh, of course. What is it, honey? What's going on? Inko asked frantically. Whoever you choose to tell about the Omnitrix, I'll trust you. Ren's words echoed in Izuku's mind. I need to tell you something, as well as show you something. Can you come with me to the beach tonight? Izuku asked. The beach? At this hour? Izuku, what's going on? Inko asked before being interrupted by Izuku's sudden grasp of her hand. Please, just come with me, Izuku asked sincerely. Inko was in shock. She had never heard Izuku ask her so adamantly like this. She can feel his seriousness as he grips her hand harder. Her face changes from one of confusion to one of worry. All right, Izuku, Inko replied. Let's go then. To the beach. Thank you, Mom, Izuku replied. He should be there now. Let's go. Wait, who's there? Inko asked. At Takoba Municipal Beach Park, Ren sat in the sand, waiting for Izuku's arrival. The wind blows slowly through his hair as he remembers his time with Izuku, the training they went through, the villain they both fought. It reminded him about his time with Ben, back when he was training with him and when he took this final test as well. He chuckles as he rubs the back of his neck, almost as if feeling some sort of phantom pain. Was the neck chop really necessary back then, Master? Izuku said to himself. You really don't know how to hold back, do you? Damn geezer. But I guess I'm the geezer now, huh? Congratulations, universe, you win. From a nearby rooftop, All Might watches Ren in his skeleton form. Well, there's Ren, but where is young Midoriya? All Might thought to himself. Just as All Might thought that, Izuku along with his mother arrive at the beach. Sensei, Izuku yelled out. Ren looks behind him and sees Izuku with his mother. Ren is a bit surprised at the sight of Izuku's mother but does not act any differently towards him. He stands up and smiles, waving towards Izuku. Izuku, Ren replied as he approached the two. Ren and Izuku fist bump each other with smiles on their faces. Inko is a bit surprised at the sight of Ren. She takes notice of the scars on his face and arms. Who is this person? He looks like a dangerous person. Look at those scars. Inko thought to herself. Izuku, just who have you been training with? Mom, this is Ren, my sensei, the one I've been training with, Izuku explained. Ren smiles and approaches Inko. He holds out his hand for a handshake. I'm Ren 10,000, but you can just call me Ren. Ren introduced himself. It's nice to finally meet you. Your son is a very good student. Inko is a bit surprised by his kind gesture. She reluctantly takes his hand and shakes it. I am Inko. It's very nice to meet you. Thank you for taking care of my son, Inko said nervously. Ren chuckles nervously at her frantic hand shaking. I definitely see where Izuku gets his personality from now, Ren thought to himself. Inko releases Ren's hand and looks over towards her son. So, Izuku, is this what you wanted to show me? Inko asked. Ren looks over to Izuku, who was scratching his head nervously. Well, yes and no. I wanted to introduce you for a while now, but this is what I wanted to show you," Izuku explained. Suddenly, Ren realizes Izuku's intention and turns to face him. "Izuku, we talked about this, remember?" Ren asked. "I know, Sensei, but you also said that you would trust me with whoever I chose to tell the truth to. She's my mother, she has a right to know about this," Izuku responded. They share a long stare between each other before Ren sighs and gives in. "All right then, if you say so. Ready to get started?" Ren asked. "Why yes," Izuku responded. "Izuku, what's going on?" Inko asked again. "Don't worry, Mom. Just promise me one thing," Izuku asked. "No matter what, don't interfere. Even if things look bad, don't interfere, okay?" Inko's worry only increased more as she began to sweat. "Izuku, you're not doing anything dangerous, are you? What's going to happen?" Inko asked, panicking. Izuku grabs her hands and holds them up to his face. "Mom, please. I'll be fine. I promise. I want to prove something to you, that's all. Sensei won't do anything to hurt me. Please, just promise me that," Izuku pleaded. Inko stared at Izuku for a short while before nodding. Izuku smiles and lets go of her hand, running towards Ren as they headed down towards the beach. "Just watch from up there, okay?" Izuku shouted towards his mother. Inko does as her son asked and watches from over the railing. Ren and Izuku stand across from another, with about 10 feet in between them. They share a long and silent stare between one another with nothing but the sound of the waves crashing to fill the void. "Just letting you know, Izuku, I won't be holding back," Ren yelled. "I wouldn't have it any other way, Sensei," Izuku replied. "I'll keep it fair and square. 1 transformation per person," Ren explained. "You make your choice first." Izuku nods and activates the dial on his Omnitrix. Inko notices the green glow of Izuku's watch. She watches curiously as Izuku turns the dial. "I've made my choice, Sensei. I had a lot of time to think about this one. I want to beat you with this form," Izuku said as he slammed down on the dial, transforming him into Heat Blast. "I've made my choice, Sensei. I had a lot of time to think about this one. I want to beat you with this form," Izuku said as he slammed down on the dial, transforming him into Heat Blast. "The very first alien I ever transformed into. The alien that started my journey," Heat Blast yelled. Inko couldn't believe her eyes. Her son had just transformed into some kind of fire monster. Her words got caught in her throat as she could only stare in shock. Ren smiles proudly at Izuku's choice. "I see. In that case, I'll choose the first opponent Heat Blast ever fought," Ren replied as he transformed as well. Swampfire. Inko was even in more disbelief, watching Ren transform as well. She looked at the two combatants and folded both of her hands, praying for Izuku's safety. "Ready," Swampfire yelled towards Heat Blast. "Let's do this," Heat Blast replied. "Show me what you've learned, Izuku," Swampfire yelled. They both charge at each other, both filled and motivated with the intent of winning. Heat Blast shoots a torrent of fire towards Swampfire. Swampfire responds by growing seeds from the palm of his hands and throwing them in front of him. The seeds begin to sprout from the sand and grow larger, reaching at least 10 feet high, forming a plant wall that manages to block the flames from Heat Blast. The plants then begin to bend and attack Heat Blast, who lets out yet another torrent of flames beneath him, propelling him upwards and over the plants. However, as he looks forward, he is met with a strike in the face from Swampfire, who jumped off a large vine pole, promptly knocking him down and rolling onto the ground. Heat Blast recovers quickly, however, and regains his footing. Swampfire creates 2 fireballs in his hands and fires them at Heat Blast, beginning a seemingly never-ending onslaught of attacks. Heat Blast launches either a fireball of his own to counter the projectiles of fire or dodges them entirely. Swampfire inches closer and closer as he continues firing his blasts. The vines from earlier extend and attack Heat Blast continuously from every direction, now forcing Heat Blast to mainly dodge, limiting his fire attacks to about only 1 or 2 fireballs at a time, as Heat Blast struggles to even hold Swampfire at bay. He then remembers a piece of advice Ren had given to him about 4 months into their training. "Your problem is that you're trying to predict and outthink your opponent. This isn't always necessarily a bad thing, but you shouldn't always rely on this alone, as it'll, more times than not, slow you down," Ren in the past explained to Izuku. "But shouldn't we always try to be 1 step ahead of the villains?" Izuku in the past asked. "Like I said, not always a bad thing, but thoughts take time to develop and take even longer to be executed. The decisions you make depend on the pieces that you see in front of you. But in a real fight, predictions are a double-edged blade. They make you predictable as well." "Damn it, he's not giving me any room to think," Heat Blast thought to himself as he tried to stay focused on what's in front of him. "He knows this is one of my weaknesses and is exploiting it as much as he can." "What's wrong? Running again?" Swampfire yelled out. "I'm getting a serious sense of deja vu." Heat Blast continues to back away from Swampfire as he continues to counter or dodge Swampfire's fireballs, all while keeping his distance from the plant's assault. He remembers yet another advice from Ren. Expect nothing, but anticipate everything. It's a delicate balance, but it's what really determines the outcome of a fight. Expect too much and you'll become paranoid, but anticipating everything will make you a real force to be reckoned with. Swamp Fire's flames aren't as hot as heat blasts, but Sensei is more experienced in using these forms than me. Ranged combat isn't an option. His plants can easily reach me. There isn't a lot here that I can use to my advantage, Heat Blast thought to himself. So that only leaves one viable option. It's only been an idea in my head, but I have at least try it. Heat Blast, instead of dodging, manages to grab a hold of one of the vines and sets it on fire, causing a chain reaction leading to the burning of the other vines as well. Swamp Fire then closes the distance between him and Heat Blast. Swamp Fire releases a large torrent of flame towards Heat Blast, who counters instantly by taking a deep breath and releases a torrent of flame of his own from his mouth. The two streams clash, creating a large wall of flames which instantly turn blue and releases a small shockwave from the impact. Inko is knocked back slightly and she covers her face from the flames. The flames then dissipate as Swamp Fire rushes through the smoke and locks hands with Heat Blast, pushing him back slightly as he presses on. They are locked in a standstill, but in Swamp Fire's favor as he slowly manages to push Heat Blast back. Come on, Izuku. I know you're better than that. Push harder, Swamp Fire yelled. The both of them begin to release flames from their palms as Inko watches in fear and horror, seeing Izuku being pushed back this far. Izuku, ever since you were a child, all you wanted was to become a hero, Inko thought to herself as she looked at Heat Blast. But when the doctor said you were quirkless, I'm ashamed to admit this as your mother, but I was a bit relieved. Inko held her hand over her mouth as tears formed in her eyes, watching her son struggle so much for his dream. I only wanted to protect you from all the scary things in this world. I thought I was doing the right thing, but now, Inko thought to herself, here you are, with a quirk, a powerful quirk. I don't know how, but I'm sure it has something to do with this Ren person, right? Inko looks over at Swamp Fire, who is still holding Izuku back and pushing forward with everything he has. Izuku, can I really not convince you otherwise? Can I not protect you from this world of heroes you so desperately wanted to be a part of? You're my precious little boy, my sunshine, my very reason for living. If anything happened to you, I couldn't. I'd cease to. Inko looks away in pain, as she couldn't stand to see her boy in pain any longer. Tears begin to flow down her face as she clenches her chest. The thought of Izuku dying to a villain was too much for her to bear. Don't look away, Mom, Heat Blast yelled, catching Inko's attention. Mom, don't worry about me. Please, keep watching. I want to prove to you, to Sensei, and to myself. Heat Blast's hands began to flare up with flames. He then slowly pushes Swamp Fire back as the flares burn Swamp Fire's arms, much to Swamp Fire's shock. That I can do this, that I can be a hero. That's why I want you to keep watching me. I want to show you the future I want to achieve, Heat Blast yelled with passion and confidence in his tone. Just watch me. I'll definitely win, no matter what. Heat Blast then turns his attention to Swamp Fire, who has not ceased his assault on him. Ever since we started training Sensei, I always wondered if I could ever truly win against you, Heat Blast said to Swamp Fire. Ever since we first met, you were always strong in my eyes, never giving up, always facing onward. That's why I always kept you in my mind. Slowly, Heat Blast's arms begin to flare up even more and he manages to gain equal footing with Swamp Fire. All Might was my idol, the kind of hero I always wanted to be, the symbol I wanted to become. But then I met you, Sensei, and my whole world changed. Before long, I didn't even notice that I had stopped chasing after All Might. Heat Blast's hands began to glow a bright orange to a bright red as he continued his struggle. I don't know when it happened, but my image of a hero changed. I still have the utmost respect for All Might, but now, the hero that lives within my mind, the image that drives me forward, the hero that gives me strength, the true hero of heroes to me, is you, Sensei. Swamp Fire loses his focus for a split second upon hearing this from Heat Blast. He feels his heart skip a beat as he continued to stare at Heat Blast, who was smiling confidently. Izuku, Swamp Fire said to himself. Before he even realized it, he was slowly being pushed back. As shit, I was careless, Swamp Fire said to himself. That's why I refuse to lose here, Heat Blast yelled. Because the Sensei within my heart never loses. Suddenly, Heat Blast yells at the top of his lungs and releases an explosion from both of his arms. Special move, Volcanic Burst Smash. Heat Blast yelled out as he sent Swamp Fire flying back with a burst of a blue flame-filled explosion, shocking both Swamp Fire and Inko. Smoke covers Swamp Fire's position. There is nothing but the sound of simmering flames as Heat Blast pants out of exhaustion. Inko stares at Heat Blast with disbelief yet pride. Her face slowly breaks into a smile as she watched her son. Izuku, Inko thought to herself as she remembered memories from when Izuku was still a child. Flashback. The young Izuku was dressed in an All Might costume as he watched All Might on the news. fighting 4 villains at once. He had an action figure of All Might in his hand. Inko was in the kitchen, washing dishes as Izuku cheered on for All Might. "Mommy, look, All Might's so cool," a young Izuku yelled out, pointing to the screen. "Go All Might, go." Inko could only smile at her son's joy as he jumped up and down in front of the television. All Might's never afraid of anything. "When I get my quirk, I'm gonna become a hero just like All Might. I wanna be the greatest hero ever. I'll all beat the bad guys and save everyone," young Izuku announced. Present day. From the smoke in front of Heat Blast, Swampfire's silhouette appears and emerges with both of his arms missing. Heat Blast is shocked, realizing what he had just done to his sensei. Swampfire, however, smiles. "Izuku," Swampfire said to Heat Blast, "you really are a gift that just keeps giving." Swampfire's arms then grow back near instantly, much to Heat Blast's surprise. "I'm really glad that I chose you." Using Heat Blast's explosive capability in a way that I never even thought of only fills me more with pride in you, Swampfire said as he clenched his heart. "I'm honored to have been able to teach a student as gifted as you. But for now, I suggest you erase any self-doubt, because this test is still on." Swampfire then readies himself, facing himself towards Heat Blast. "And as you can see, I never yielded," Swampfire announced. Heat Blast then charges at Swampfire, aiming both of his hands back and releasing a vortex of flame to boost him forward. Heat Blast then leaps towards Swampfire, slamming down with both of his fists as he does, releasing a wave of flames around him. Swampfire aims his hands downwards and propels upward, dodging the attack. Before Heat Blast could even look up, Swampfire throws more seeds behind Heat Blast. As Swampfire lands, Heat Blast attacks Swampfire with a punch, to which Swampfire blocks just in time. They continue to exchange blows with each other as if it was a simple hand-to-hand sparring match, each moving almost expertly, with Ren still being the more experienced fighter but Izuku still managing to hold his own in combination with his ability. Bursts of flames would explode and fire off from time to time as the two danced around each other, hardly holding back anything. Inko was shocked to see her son fight so valiantly. She watched the fight unfold as if it was a dance of wild flames. "Izuku, you're so," Inko thought to herself, smiling brightly at her son's movements and power. "Amazing. I've never seen you do anything like this. Is this how hard you've been working? How badly you want to become a hero? Am I wrong to deny you of your dreams?" Their blow-for-blow exchange leads them closer and closer towards the shoreline of the beach. Finally, this dance ends with yet another standstill clash between the two, their forearms pushing the other back as they gritted their teeth and grunted. With Swampfire's back facing the ocean, the two then share a smile and a chuckle. "What do you think, Sensei? Ready to give up yet?" Heat Blast asked. "Please, kid, if I really wanted to lay you out, I would have done it easily a while ago." Swampfire replied. "I wanted to see just how far you've come." "Heh, I thought you weren't gonna hold back," Heat Blast said questioningly. "Come on, Sensei. I wanna beat you fair and square. Come at me with everything you've got." Swampfire, looking down, begins to chuckle ominously. Then he stares at Heat Blast again. "You asked for it," Swampfire yelled as he broke Heat Blast's guard and pushed him back. Just as Heat Blast was preparing to launch himself forward, a large vine from beneath the shoreline emerges, grabs his ankles. What the? Vines? When did you?" Heat Blast yelled. As if his train of thought came crashing back to him, he realizes the moment in which Swampfire planted all of these seeds. It was when they were locked in hand-to-hand combat. "Did you figure it out yet? I planted these seeds when you wanted to go hand-to-hand with me," Swampfire explained. During the hand-to-hand fight, the momentary bursts of flames released by the both of them distracted Heat Blast as Swampfire used the flames to hide the released seeds. "It was a nice light show and the perfect cover for my plan," Swampfire yelled out. Heat Blast tries to burn the vines, but they are less effective than before. He takes a closer look at the growing number of vines and realizes that they were hurting him, almost like a burning sensation. The vines. They're from underneath the ocean," Heat Blast yelled out. "Have fun trying to burn wet plants." Swampfire not only controls plants, but he can make them move to wherever he needs them to sprout from. More and more vines from beneath the ocean to grab Heat Blast and encase him like a cocoon. Heat Blast desperately tries to flare his body up only to be met with large amounts of dropping water, cooling him down. "Special move. Jungle's penalty," Swampfire yelled out as the vines begin to thrash Heat Blast back and forth onto the beach. The vines then dive underwater with Heat Blast still in their grasp. Heat Blast tries to scream in pain as he gargles the salt water. The vines then remerge from the ocean and spin him around. They release him, sending him flying along the beach and slamming him against the beach's walls, leaving a crater behind Heat Blast. "Izuku," Inko yelled out as she begins to run towards Heat Blast. Heat Blast could only groan in pain, barely even able to move as Swampfire then approached him. Then, a loud beeping accompanied by a red flash blinds everyone as Heat Blast had transformed back into Izuku Midoriya. "Izuku, Inko yelled as she got closer. Are you alright? Honey, please say something. Izuku, however, only holds out his hand, signaling her to stay away. She suddenly stops in her tracks and observes her son's injuries. Swampfire summons 2 fireballs in his hands and stares at Izuku. Now then, what will you do? Swampfire asked Izuku. Your Omnitrix won't be recharged until another 5 minutes from now. You're too weak to fight anymore. Tell me, Izuku, do you yield? Slowly, Izuku leans against the wall and begins to stand. He trips slightly, but manages to catch himself. Izuku, please, just stop. You have to stop. Inko pleaded with tears down her face. Ren, please stop this. Please, I can't give up yet. Izuku muttered. Not until I hear you say those words. Screaming with all of his might, Izuku manages to stand on his 2 feet and face Swampfire. There is a moment of silence between them. Finally, Izuku slowly raises his fists, preparing to fight. It's over, Izuku. Swampfire told Izuku. As long as I'm still standing, it's never over. Izuku yelled as he gripped his fists even harder. Come on, Sensei. The test isn't over yet, right? Swampfire stares into Izuku's eyes, so full of determination and fire. He diminishes the 2 fireballs in his hands and smiles. That is the answer I was looking for, Swampfire replied. Huh, Izuku muttered. A bright green flash illuminated both Izuku and Inko as Ren places his hand over Izuku's head, smiling softly as he rubbed Izuku's hair. Congratulations, Izuku. You pass, Ren said to Izuku with a smile. TIMESKIP. 1 day later. Today was the day. All of the training with Ren, all of his hard work over the past 10 months, it was all about to come into light today. He throws on his middle school uniform and his yellow backpack and makes his way towards the door. He sits down on the steps to put on his shoes. His mother approached him from the living room and watched him as he prepared to head to the UA entrance exams. She stares at him in silence, her face smiling and full of pride. Last night. What? I don't understand. Izuku said to Ren. I wasn't a match for you at all, Sensei. There was hardly a chance I could even win. When did I ever say this test was about beating me? Ren explained. I said that I wanted to see if you were ready to stand up on your own, to handle your own battles without the need for me of interfering or instructing. Inko rushed over to Izuku and held him up. Mom, Izuku muttered. Izuku, the world of heroes is not always sunshine and rainbows, Ren commented. Inko and Izuku both turned their attention to Ren. This responsibility comes with a lot of anguish and tragedy. As time goes on, you'll often have to fight against uneven odds that may even have less than a 1% chance of victory, Ren explained. You'll lose friends and comrades along the way, make hard decisions for the greater good, you may even have to sacrifice the things you want most. But as long as we continue to stand up for what's right, no matter how the odds are stacked against us, we can continue to inspire others to act. All it takes is one person who doesn't know how to give up. That was my test for you, Izuku. And you passed it with flying colors. Izuku's tears begin to flow down his face as he listens to Ren's words. Inko wipes away Izuku's tears. Mom, Izuku said as he turned to face his mother. I guess I have some explaining to do, huh? Inko merely placed a finger on her son's lips. She smiles and hugs him. Izuku, you were so cool, Inko stated, looking up to her son's eyes as she smiles. Izuku is taken aback slightly by her words as she released him, wiping away her own tears in the process. She looks up at Izuku. You can explain everything to me once we're both back home, Inko said before approaching Ren. Would you like to join us, Ren-san? I would like to have a talk to you as well. You're Izuku's sensei after all. Ren looks at Izuku, who nods with a smile on his face. Ren scratches the back of his head and sighs. If you don't mind, then I'd love to, Ren replied. All right then, Inko said cheerfully. Now, let's go home, Izuku. We have to treat those injuries of yours. Oh, don't worry about that. I got it handled, Ren said before being enveloped in a bright green flash. Clockwork, hold still, Izuku, Clockwork said before firing a green beam at Izuku. Before Inko's eyes, Izuku's injuries were being healed, or rather, reverted, as the scratches on his clothes were being reverted to their previous form. Clockwork's beam then disappears as Izuku then looks at his hands. The scratches and tears on his clothes were gone. The pain he had felt originally disappeared as well. I'm all better, Izuku said before looking up at Clockwork. A new alien. I've never seen this one before, Sensei. What can he do? I'll tell you later, but right now, Clockwork said before transforming once more. XLR8. Let's get to your house first, XLR8 said as he grabbed Inko and Izuku into his arms. Let's get to your house first, XLR8 said as he grabbed Inko and Izuku into his arms. Lead the way, Izuku. Wait. What are you? Inko said before screaming as XLR8 took off in a flash. At the Midoriya household, Izuku and Ren sat down at the dinner table with Inko and began to explain everything. Ren explained who he really was, along with how he had first met Izuku, the purpose of the Omnitrix and the responsibility of the wielder. Inko had hardly a reaction at all as she simply listened. Then Izuku began to speak about his side of the story, about his training and defeating Zombozo. Finally, they had explained everything as best as they could, and Ko merely took a sip of her tea and took a deep breath. Okay, so, Inko said slowly. Aliens are real. You're from outer space. You're not joking with me, are you? Oh, of course not, Mom. Believe me, I had the same reaction. Izuku explained. I wouldn't lie to you about something like this. That's just about the gist of it, really. I'm an intergalactic hero from deep outer space, and Izuku here is my successor. Still, why Izuku? Inko asked. Of course, I'm glad you chose him, don't get me wrong. But, Ren smiles as he rubs Izuku's head. It's true, what he did that day was reckless and stupid. He probably would have gotten killed if I did show up, Ren said while chuckling. But it was because of that recklessness that inspired me to act. Even though he was scared to death, he didn't want to let his friend die so horribly. As he put it, his body moved before he could even think about it. Ren then looks at Inko with a proud smile. That is the quality of a great hero, Ren exclaimed. Plus, if I didn't give this guy the Omnitrix, he'd probably do something stupid again. Sensei, that's mean, Izuku replied. Am I wrong though, you little brat? Ren replied as he put Izuku into headlock. Inko looks at Ren and Izuku, who were laughing with each other brightly. They were acting as if they were siblings. She smiles and puts down her cup of tea, catching the attention of Ren and Izuku. Izuku, Inko said, catching the attention of Izuku. Could you go to your room? I wish to speak with Ren alone. But, Izuku replied. Ren sits in silence for a moment with Izuku only giving a worried look to Ren. Ren's smile disappears as he released Izuku from his hold and sat forward towards Inko. The room is filled with a deafening silence as Ren and Izuku look at Inko, who has quite a serious and stern look on her face. Izuku nods and gets up from his seat and looks at Ren. Will you be okay, Sensei? Izuku asked with worry filling his voice. Don't worry about me, go. Catch some sleep, tomorrow's the day you know, Ren replied. Izuku replied as he leaves the room. Once they heard the door to Izuku's room close, Inko begins to speak. Ren, I need to ask you something. Inko stated. Ren, can I really trust you? The room is filled with a deafening silence as Ren looks at Inko, who has quite a serious and stern look on her face. Right now, you're a vigilante, one of the most wanted in Japan currently. Even if no one besides Izuku knows your true identity, can you really give me your word that you won't put Izuku in harm's way? Inko said in a stern voice. You've already took him to fight a dangerous villain without my knowledge. Even if the heroes never found out, you've already made him a de facto vigilante. Now you're giving him this device to fight even more dangerous people out in space. You can't really expect me to simply agree to this, can you? Inko-san, with all due respect, I can't promise you any of that, Ren replied. Inko yelled. As heroes, it's always our duty to put ourselves in the line of danger in order to protect the ones who can't protect themselves. I didn't take Izuku on that mission simply because I needed his help. I took him on that mission because he needed to see that he had the strength to accomplish things on his own. Ren explained. I understand your hesitation and worry. This is your son after all. What parent in their right mind wouldn't be worried? But the truth of the matter is, you can't always protect him from the dangers of the world. It's more complicated than that. It isn't as if I was against Izuku becoming a hero, but, Inko argued, Izuku has always been a sensitive child. Ever since he was a small child, he admired heroes, especially All Might. All he would ever talk about was becoming a hero. Inko stared down in her cup of tea as she explains. When the doctor first told us that Izuku would be quirkless, I was conflicted. I was shamefully relieved. I thought that he could just live a normal life, a quiet and safe one. But, Inko said as she remembered the tears streaming down her young son's face when he was told he was quirkless. -10 years ago. Inko entered a dark room only illuminated by the glow of the computer screen and filled with the sound of All Might laughing. She turns and sees a young Izuku watching a video of All Might saving people from a fire. It's all right now. Why? Because I am here, the All Might in the video announced. Mom, a young Izuku muttered. He always saves people with a smile, no matter what kind of trouble they're in. He's such a cool hero. Izuku turns the chair to face his mother, tears overflowing in his eyes as he pointed to the All Might on the screen. Can I be a hero too? Inko slowly approaches her son, holding back tears as best as she could. Inko slowly approaches her son, holding back tears as best as she could. She hugs her son tightly, squeezing both her son and the tears out of her as well. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Izuku, Inko said as she cried softly, embracing her son. Inko said as she cried softly, embracing her son. Present day. I'm not blind, Ren-san. I can see just how much Izuku truly wants to become a hero. Seeing how hard he fought against you only confirmed it. Of course, I just want him to be happy. That's why I'm thankful to you that you gave Izuku this unimaginable power. I still don't fully understand everything, but I'm sure if he has something like this," Inko explained. Ren listens quietly as he stared at Inko's eyes. "But even so, you can't expect me to just let him expose himself to every single dangerous situation, do you? I'm his mother. I'm supposed to care and worry for him. He's my reason for living, just as you are for him. I'm scared that one day, the news will show my Izuku's dead body after a villain kills him. If that ever happens, I wouldn't be able to," Inko said as her hands and lips trembled, shaking the cup as she does. "But would I be a bad mother if I were to deny his dreams? I just want what's best for him, but now, I just don't know anymore. I don't want him to get hurt, but I want him to chase his dreams. What do I do?" Ren takes notice of this obvious sign and takes a pause, observing just how desperately Inko is trying to hold herself together. Ren thinks carefully about his next choice words. He finally releases a sigh and holds Inko's hand, much to her surprise. "Everything you said is correct. Inko-san, wanting your child to be safe doesn't make you a bad mother in any way. It is your job to worry about your son. It is your job to care for him. It's the reason why he's still alive today. It's the reason why he has this amazing soul inside of him," Ren explained. "It's the reason why I chose him. This need to save someone. This need to end their suffering from the hands of bad people. Who do you think he got that from, Inko-san?" Ren said with a smile. Inko only stared at Ren, unable to say anything, barely even able to make a sound. Ren chuckles and releases her hands. "But just as much as you worry for Izuku, it's also a parent's duty to believe in their child, to believe that they can live their own lives and make their own choices, becoming their own person. For your son's sake, you have to believe in his potential and in him. You saw what he was able to do in our fight. That is the accumulation of his determination and bravery. He didn't show you that because he wanted to be free of you. He showed you that because he wanted to show you that you didn't have to worry so much. He wanted you to believe in him," Ren explained. "Inko-san, if you don't believe in him, who else will?" Inko is shocked upon hearing Ren's words. Her lips tremble at the truth behind them. She grips her teacup even harder. She remembers young Izuku's voice echoing in her mind. "Can I be a hero too? For his sake and yours, you need to let your son grow on his own. You should let your son learn to face these situations head on. Prepare him for whatever may come in the future. Coddling him will only cause him to become overwhelmed by everything he's not comfortable with," Ren retorted. "He'll panic and overthink things because he's never been even allowed to experience this kind of scenario. So understand that I can't promise that no harm will ever come to Izuku. He wants to become a hero after all. Even if he avoids danger, danger will eventually find its way to him. Even so, I can't just," Inko muttered. "Inko-san, I can tell you have tremendous love for Izuku. It's normal to want to protect your child at all costs. You're not wrong for distrusting me because of that, nor can I deny what I did. But take it from someone who's been involved in more revolutions and wars than any other person on Earth, peace is only temporary. There will come a day where the world will undergo great change. Change always takes the form of chaos. Whether it's small or grand, darkness always engulfs life before light can shine on it," Ren explained while looking at his hands, getting a quick flash of a blood on his hand as he does. "When that day comes, I want Izuku to be prepared for it. I can't promise you that no harm or darkness will come to Izuku's way, but the most I can promise is that I will do everything I can to make sure Izuku can ward off any kind of threat on his own. Izuku isn't the same little boy anymore. He's well on his way to become his own person now. Every parent has trouble letting their child grow up, but you have to let Izuku make his own mistakes and learn his own lessons now," Ren explained. "While I can't promise you that no harm or darkness will come to Izuku's way, as his mentor, I promise I will do everything I can to make sure Izuku can ward off any kind of threat. Izuku isn't the same little boy anymore. That's why, please leave Izuku to me. I promise. I'll always look out for him and stand by his side, teaching him everything I know until he's ready to become a proper wielder of the Omnitrix. If worse comes to worse, I promise I will give up my life in order to protect him. So please, believe in him." Inko looks at Ren, who was now smiling confidently and brightly at Inko. She couldn't help but smile upon seeing this face. She sighs, calming down her nerves. Her hands have stopped trembling and her face eases up. "Ren-san, you really are everything Izuku said you are," Inko replied. "I want to make one thing clear, Ren-san. I don't think you're a bad person. You're a vigilante, but you save people and defeat the villains just as any other hero would, without even so much as a thank you or a paycheck. Despite what the news might say, you never try to fight the heroes and only ever escape peacefully, even when they attack you with everything they have." Inko clenches her heart with her hand. "You even saved my Izuku when he ran into that dangerous situation. How could I ever be distrustful of someone like that? Now, you're Izuku's reason for living. You alone gave him hope. Hope I wasn't able to provide. That's why," Inko said to Ren, looking at him with kind eyes. "Please, don't die. Don't give up your life. Please, live properly to protect and raise him properly. If you can promise me, then I will allow it. Ren smiles brightly and chuckles. You got a deal Inko-san. Just leave it to me, Ren declared. Now that we have that settled, you can come out now, Izuku. Inko looks around confusingly. Then Ghost Freak from thin air, shocking Inko. Inko looks around confusingly. Then Ghost Freak from thin air, shocking Inko. AHHH. A ghost. Inko yelled out frighteningly. Mom, it's me, Izuku. Ghost Freak yelled out. Inko calms down and takes a good look at the ghost, slowly getting back into her seat. Izuku, is that you? Inko asked. Ren practically had to hold back his laughter as he tried to keep his composure. How do you always do that, Sensei? Ghost Freak asked. You'll learn with experience, Ren said before slamming the dial on Ghost Freak's chest, changing him back into Izuku. Come on, at least show me how you do that. Izuku pleaded. Wouldn't you rather figure it out like a real hero? Ren said teasingly. So not fair, Izuku replied. Ren and Izuku begin laughing with each other, and Ko smiles once more at the sight of the two of them. Ren-san is right. This is Izuku's dream. I can't stop him any more than I can stop him from being who he is. Inko thought to herself. All I can do now is support him as best as I can. Izuku, Inko spoke. Could you show me your other forms? You said you had 10, right? I would like to see them all. Izuku's eyes light up at his mother's request. He eagerly runs up to his mother and hugs her with all of his might. Why yes, of course Mom, Izuku blurted out. For the remainder of the night, Izuku had shown her the rest of his forms. With Diamond Head, he creates a beautiful small diamond for his mother. For Gray Matter, he leaped onto her shoulder and braided her hair. With Stingfly, both Inko and Ren covered their noses in disgust. With 4 arms, he lifted both the couch and the table quite easily, with Inko clapping for him. With XLR8, he rushed through the house, cleaning it for his mother and making it sparkle. With Upgrade, he takes over her laptop and fixes it, as well as showing off his upgrade capabilities. With Wild Mutt, he rolls over onto her back as Inko scratches his stomach joyfully. With Ripjaws, he immediately begins to suffocate as Inko panics and throws cups of water on him as Ren rushes to slam the dial on Ripjaw's chest. Soon, Izuku is asleep in Ren's arms as he carried Izuku to his room. He laid him down on his bed and pulled the cover over Izuku. Ren kneels and stares at Izuku's sleeping form, smiling as he does. He looks at Izuku's Omnitrix, which glowed a bright green. He then remembers his promise to Izuku 10 months ago. If you manage to beat me in a fight while we're in alien form before the day of the entrance exams, I'll gift you a brand new alien. Ren chuckles and begins to turn the dial in multiple directions. After a few minutes of him doing this, the Omnitrix beeps rapidly as the dial pops up and begins to shift through all the aliens on its own. Then, the dial retracts and beeps twice. Then, the dial retracts and beeps twice. New DNA transformation unlocked. Izuku's Omnitrix stated. Ren then gets up and begins to leave his room. Just before Ren closes the door, however, he looks back at Izuku. He smiles with pride. Knock him dead, kid, Ren said before he closed Izuku's door. Present day. Izuku stands up, adjusting his clothes and his backpack. Do you have everything you need, Izuku? Inko asked Izuku. Izuku turns around and smiles. Yeah, I'm all set, Mom, Izuku said as he opened the front door. Izuku, wait, Inko yelled out, stopping Izuku in his tracks. Yeah, Mom, Izuku replied. Inko held both of her hands together and smiles, looking at Izuku. I believe in you. Do your best, honey, Inko yelled out. You're going to be the best hero ever. Izuku returns a smile and a wave. Gee, thanks, Mom, Izuku replied. I'll see you when I get back home. I'm off. Izuku runs out of the door and closes it. Inko sighs in relief as she stared at the door. Go get them, Izuku, Inko whispered. There it was, standing as tall as any hero would in today's society. The UA entrance exams, the school that quite literally where future heroes are made and trained. Hordes of students and applicants entered the building, some with friends, but most are by themselves. In the front of the school stood one Izuku Midoriya, still gazing at the school while gripping the straps of his backpack tightly. He stood up straight and smiled. This is it, the start of both my future, Izuku thought to himself excitedly. So why? Izuku's legs began shaking as he tried to keep a smile on his face, struggling to hold himself together. Why can't I move? Izuku yelled to himself. If I don't move soon, the doors will close. A whistle is heard behind Izuku as his ear perks up from the sound, snapping him out of his daze. Damn, this place is huge, a familiar voice yelled out behind him. Izuku turns and sees Ren, blocking out the sun with his hand as he continues to stare at the building in amazement of its size. I suppose if you're coming here to be a hero, it's go big or go home, Ren commented, still looking at the massive building. As Sensei, Izuku blurted. What are you doing here? What, today's your big day, Ren replied. You didn't think I was gonna miss this, did you? Was gonna go on patrol but figured I could spare some time, you know. You came here for me, Izuku asked. Of course I did, though I thought you would have been inside already. Yet, here you are with legs that look like jelly, Ren said, chuckling as he repeatedly tapped Izuku on his back. I guess your nerves got a bit overwhelmed, huh? Why yeah, I know this is what we've been training for, but looking at this school now, Izuku said as he took another glance at the school. It's just a lot bigger than I thought it was. Heh, what's there to be afraid of? Ren asked Izuku as he looked up at the peak of the building. You've already took down a villain, remember? This is a walk in the park compared to someone who was actually trying to kill you. Izuku looks at Ren with hope slowly filling his eyes. Don't forget, Ren said as he pointed to Izuku's Omnitrix. You quite literally have the power of the galaxy behind you. All there's left now is to take that first step, right? Remember, focus on the future you want to become reality and nothing else. Just as Ren had finished saying that, a loud and abrasive voice catches Izuku's attention. Out of my way, Deku, a spiky blonde-haired teen yelled. Both Ren and Izuku turned to see Katsuki approaching Izuku with an angered look on his face. 3. Kakin, Izuku said. Don't stand in front of me. I'll kill you, Katsuki replied. Hey, you're that kid from the sludge villain attack, Ren commented, irking Katsuki and making him stop in front of Ren. And who the hell are you? Katsuki asked, looking at Ren. Oh, no one of importance, Ren said sarcastically. You been alright? Your pants all nice and dry now. I'm sure your washing machine had one hell of a field day when you threw those in, Ren commented, chuckling in between. Katsuki gets even more visibly angry as his hands begin to let off small explosions. You making fun of me? Fuck off or I'll kill you, old man, Katsuki yelled. Oh, you'll kill me, Ren said as he took a step towards Katsuki, slightly startling Katsuki to the point where he almost takes a step back. Well, here's me choosing the former. Ren then bends down to meet Katsuki's eye level and smirks mischievously while chuckling. Loud barks coming from such a small puppy, Ren replied. I do hope you're not getting cold feet now, big man. Izuku stares in pure shock. He had never seen anyone stand up to Katsuki before, much less challenge his threats without hesitation. To see Katsuki actually take a step back was comparable to seeing one of the world's greatest wonders. What the hell is up with this guy? Katsuki thought to himself as he stared into Ren's eyes. What is this feeling? It almost feels like. What's wrong? Where'd those fangs of yours go, little puppy? Ren said mockingly. Come on, kill me. Katsuki begins to hallucinate for a moment, seeing a giant flaming lion roaring at him from Ren's position. The heat surrounding him almost felt real. He flinches slightly at the singe of the embers that flew past him. Suddenly, Ren snaps his fingers in front of Katsuki, startling him and snapping him back to reality. Sweat could be seen on Katsuki's forehead as he stared wide-eyed at Ren. Ren chuckles and straightens up. Relax, I'm only messing with you, Ren explained. Take a chill pill, man. So serious all the time. Katsuki, after regaining his senses, only scoffs and walks past the two. Whatever. Out of my way, Katsuki yelled as he walked past them, hiding it as best as he could. He then holds his hands that were slightly shaking. No way I was scared. No fucking way, Katsuki thought to himself as he looked back at Ren. What the hell was that? Who the fuck are you? Izuku only watched Katsuki walk past him and into the building, still in shock. Izuku turns his attention to his sensei, who was playfully waving towards Katsuki with his tongue slightly out. I've never seen anyone stand up to Kakin before, Izuku said to himself as he stared at Ren, who turned around and looked at Izuku with a smile. Sensei. Izuku then grips his fist and takes a deep breath. Seeing one of his former bullies being challenged and actually get scared away made all of his nervousness disappear instantly. He then looks at his Omnitrix and smiles. He uses his finger and traces along the circular dial of his watch, admiring the gleam along the black metal as he does. Then he smacks both of his cheeks twice and pumps his fists into the air. Sensei's right, compared to Zombozo, this is nothing. Remember, the future I want to create. I won't let these last 10 months be for nothing, Izuku thought to himself. Alright, let's do this. Ren holds out his fist towards Izuku proudly. Finally, there's the spark. Ren yelled back. Go and claim your destiny, kid. Izuku returns the fist bump to Ren. Then he turns around to face the building. Then, he begins to take a step. With this step, this school will soon be My Hero Academia, Izuku thought to himself as he took a step. My Hero Academia, Izuku thought to himself as he took a step. However, despite finding his resolve, he trips over himself and begins to fall. Ren facepalms himself upon the sight of this. Or maybe I'll just die, Izuku thought to himself as he fell down. Oh, I can't watch this, Ren said in embarrassment as he covered his eyes. Just as Izuku braced himself for impact, he stops mid-air. He looks downward to see himself floating. Are you okay? A girl with short brown hair and pink cheeks asked him. Ren takes notices of this and smiles in relief, letting out a breath as he does. Ren takes notices of this and smiles in relief, letting out a breath as he does. Izuku flails around for a bit out of surprise but then manages to compose himself. The brown-haired girl then helps him stand up. Sorry for using my quirk on you without permission, but it'd be bad luck if you fell on the first day, right? The brown-haired girl commented. This is all pretty nerve-wracking, isn't it? The girl said playfully. Izuku could only stutter and stammer without even letting out a single word. As he does, Ren approaches the girl. That's a pretty cool quirk you got there, Ren commented. The girl looked up to Ren and is immediately surprised at the sight of his attractive face, causing her to blush slightly. Oh, it's nothing too special, really, the girl replied, rubbing the back of her head. What are you talking about? An ability like that has a lot of potential. What is it exactly anyway? Can you control gravity or something? Ren asked. Oh no, nothing as extreme as that. I just can make anything I touch weightless, pretty much making them have zero gravity. The girl explained. So you still have to at least make contact before your quirk activates? A bit limiting, but cool. Well, thanks for saving this klutz. I owe you one, Ren replied. Good luck on the exams. All right, the girl yelled as she turned her attention to Izuku. Let's both do our best. See ya. The girl then ran off into the building with Izuku staring and Ren waving towards her, both watching her as she leaves their sight. Izuku stammering stops completely as he stands in shock of what just happened. Then, Izuku turns to face Ren, face filled with pride. I talked to a girl sensei, Izuku whispered to Ren. You didn't even talk though, Ren bluntly stated, face filled with slight annoyance. Izuku doesn't hear Ren's comment however and begins to get even more excited as he makes strange noises to show it. Please stop. You're making us look weird, you idiot, Ren pleaded with Izuku. Once Ren had finally managed to stop Izuku's phase of idiocy, Izuku finally enters the building, giving Ren a wave as Ren winks with a thumbs up. Izuku makes his way to the exam orientation room. Everyone in the room was settling down. Izuku quickly rushes towards his set and sits down. Where the hell do you think you're sitting, Deku? A low growling voice said next to him. Izuku gulps and looks to his right slowly to find Katsuki glaring at him angrily. Izuku's hands shake for a moment, but he gulps and regains his composure. He looks at Katsuki with a calm expression before giving his answer. I'm where I'm supposed to be. The seating chart aligns with our examinee numbers, see, Izuku said as he showed Katsuki his examinee card. Katsuki scoffs and looks away. Whatever, it's not like you'll pass anyway, Katsuki retorted. You're wasting your time. You should just go now and give up that seat to someone who actually has a quirk. As Katsuki laughed, Izuku does his best to ignore the insult as he looks down at the table. He puts his hand over his Omnitrix, which calmed him down as he remembered Ren's words from earlier. You quite literally have the power of the galaxy behind you. All there's left now is to take that first step, right? Remember, focus on the future you want to become reality and nothing else. Izuku then smiles and stares at the green glow of the Omnitrix. Katsuki takes notice of this and stares at the Omnitrix as well. What's with the freaky watch, nerd? Katsuki asked rudely. It looks stupid. You buy it 'cause it matches your hair or something. Izuku, not responding, only pulls his sleeve over the Omnitrix and sits up straight, flashing Katsuki a confidant smile. You'll find out soon, Kaken. But for now, keep guessing, Izuku replied with confidence, much to Katsuki's surprise and confusion. Suddenly, the lights in the room turn off as a spotlight then shine down in the front of the classroom and onto a man with tall yellow hair. The large television turns on as well, displaying the UA High logo. For all you examinees listeners tuning in today, welcome to my show, the man announced. Everybody say hey. The man turns to listen to the crowd but is met with deathly silence. The man turns to listen to the crowd but is met with deathly silence. The man shrugs it off playfully as quickly as he had announced it. The man shrugs it off playfully as quickly as he had announced it. What a refined response, the man said disappointingly. In that case, I'll just quickly present to you the rundown on the practical exam. Are you ready? Yeah, the man exclaimed. Izuku at the sight of the man began to whisper excitedly and mutter uncontrollably. It's the voice hero, present Mike. Wow, Izuku whispered. I listen to his radio show every week. I'm so moved. All of the teachers at U. I listen to his radio show every week. I'm so moved. All of the teachers at UA are pro heroes. Izuku continued quietly. Shut it, nerd, Katsuki whispered. As it says in the application requirements, you listeners will be conducting 15-minute mock urban battles after this. You can bring whatever you want with you. After the presentation, you'll head to the specified battle center, okay? Present Mike said as he is met with another deafening silence. Okay, all the examinees take a look at their IDs, including Katsuki and Izuku. In other words, they won't let you work with you friends, huh? Katsuki commented as he peeked over at Izuku's ID. Looks like it. Izuku responded to Katsuki as he looked at Katsuki's ID card as well. Even though our examining numbers are consecutive, we're both in completely different battle centers. Don't look, I'll kill you, Katsuki stated. But you looked at mine first, Izuku responded. TCH, now I can't crush you, Katsuki whispered. Just what were you planning to do exactly? Izuku wondered to himself. 3 different types of foe villains are stationed in each battle center. Present Mike explained as 3 silhouettes of robots appear on screen. There was a robot that offered 1 point, 2 points, and 3 points on the screen now. You earn points for each of them based on their level of difficulty. Your goal, dear listeners, is to use your quirks to earn points by immobilizing the foe villains. Of course, attacking other examinees and any other unheroic actions are prohibited, Present Mike added as he pointed to the crowd. Then, a tall blue-haired boy stands up and raises his hand. May I ask a question, sir? The boy loudly asked. Okay, Present Mike said as he pointed to the blue-haired boy. The spotlight then shines on the boy and he proceeds to ask his question. On the printout, there are 4 types of villains. If that is a misprint, then UA. The most prominent school in Japan should be ashamed of that foolish mistake. We examinees are here in this place because we wish to be molded into exemplary heroes, the boy said as he turned around and pointed to Izuku. In addition, you over there with the curly hair. You've been muttering this entire time. It's distracting. If you're here on a pleasure trip, then you should leave immediately. Also, cover your watch. It is much too bright. Izuku quickly shoves his sleeve over the Omnitrix. I am sorry, Izuku muttered as the people around him snickered. Okay, examining number 7111. Thanks for the great message, Present Mike replied as he gave a thumbs up to the boy. The 4th type of villain is worth 0 points. That guy's an obstacle, so to speak. There's one in every battle center. An obstacle that will go crazy in narrow spaces. It's not impossible to defeat, but there's no reason to defeat it either. I recommend you all try your best to avoid it. The boy then bows towards Present Mike. Thank you very much. Please excuse the interruption, the boy yelled as he sat back down. That's all from me. Finally, I'll give you listeners a present. Our school motto, Present Mike announced. The hero Napoleon Bonaparte once said, a true hero is some who overcomes life's misfortunes. So go beyond, plus ultra. Izuku grips his exam paper and takes a deep breath. Afterwards, a bright and confident smile spreads across his face as he looks at his Omnitrix that was now peeking out slightly from his sleeve. Let's do this. Me and you Omnitrix, Izuku thought to himself. Now then, good luck suffering everyone, Present Mike announced. Everyone begins to make their way to their assigned battle centers. Izuku in a light greenish-blue tracksuit waits outside of Battle Center B. He leans against the bus, simple turning the dial to see the silhouettes of his alien forms. He then lands on Heat Blast for a short moment and smiles, remembering his first ever transformation as well as his fight against Ren as Heat Blast. To think that I'm finally here. And it all started with you, Heat Blast. Izuku thought to himself fondly as he remembered everything he went through with Ren. Sensei and Mom both believe in us. Let's both do our best Omnitrix. That way, we can bring some good news back to them both and make them proud. Izuku presses the button on his Omnitrix and the dial retracts without transforming. He begins to stretch his arms, then his legs and back. He begins shadow boxing to warm up even more. He catches the attention of the other applicants, who stare at him, snickering and whispering among themselves. Hey, that's the one who was about to trip right in front of the school gate, an examinee asked. Yeah, the same one who winced after getting called out too. Izuku pays them no mind, however, as he remembers Ren's teachings from when they first started hand-to-hand combat training. -7 months ago. The beach was still filled with trash as Ren observed Izuku shadow boxing. His form was still off and his footing was less than decent, as it causes him to trip as he tried to shift his position. Again, focus on where your feet are and where you want to move, all while keeping your eyes in front, Ren yelled at Izuku, who was rubbing his feet in pain. Sorry, Sensei. It's just kinda hard to do with you watching, you know. It puts me under a lot of pressure, Izuku responded. That's why we're doing this. You're too self-conscious about the people and things around you. If you want to be a hero, then you're going to have to get used to spectators. Focus, only look at what's in front of you. A hero is built on strong foundations and an even better mental fortitude. If you want to save people, then you need to learn how to block out and counter any distractions. So keep at it, Izuku. I know you're capable of this. Present day. Izuku then takes a deep breath before performing a double high jump swing kick, shocking a few people looking at him. He lands perfectly and exhales slowly. He looks up at the crowd of people and simply waves shyly. Within the crowd, Izuku notices the girl from earlier, the one that saved him from tripping over himself. Oh, it's the nice girl from the entrance. So she got assigned to the same battle center, huh? Izuku said to himself as he made his way over to her. I should probably thank her for earlier, but Izuku then stops in his tracks as he takes another look at the girl. She was clearly trying to calm herself down. She must be nervous as well. I'll thank her later, I should let her focus for now, Izuku thought to himself as he suddenly gets a jolt of instinct, making him suddenly spin around and grab someone's wrist. It was the blue-haired boy from earlier. His face was one of shock as Izuku held the boy's wrist in his hand. Izuku realizes what he's just done and immediately releases the boy's wrist. I am so sorry about that. It was just out of reflex, Izuku explained. Those are some reflexes. I had barely even touched you before you reacted. You must have had good training, the boy commented. I only approached you when I saw you walking to that girl, but then you stopped so suddenly. You must have realized that she's trying to focus as well, correct? Yeah, I wanted to thank her for helping me earlier, but I don't want to distract her, Izuku replied. Okay, start, Present Mic announced. Izuku looks up at the megaphone tower along with everyone else. There is silence among the crowds, wondering where the countdown was. Izuku then remembered the very first lesson with Ren. In a real fight, your opponent doesn't care if you're ready or not. Now show me what you're capable of, Izuku. Swampfire in the past yelled at Izuku. Izuku then rushes past everyone and through, getting everyone's attention. What's wrong? There are no countdowns in real fights, Present Mic explained. Run, run. Looks like only one of you got the memo. Better hurry or else he'll steal all your points. Everyone else then rushes towards the gate and begins shoving each other. With Izuku, he had gotten at least a 20-second head start of everyone else. He continues to run throughout the battle center, looking for a robot. I can't transform just yet. If I do, then I'll lose out on potential points due to the time limiter, Izuku thought to himself as he ran around the center. I'll have to wait for a robot to show up. Then I can. From his left, a 1-point robot erupts from the building and stops Izuku in his tracks. From his left, a 1-point robot erupts from the building and stops Izuku in his tracks. A 1-pointer, Izuku yelled out as he activated the dial on the Omnitrix. He quickly turns the dial around, looking for 4 arms silhouette. 4 arms can take care of you no problem, Izuku yelled as he slammed down the dial. As the green flash dissipates and reveals his form, he notices that his eye level is a lot lower than it originally was. Why do I feel shorter? Izuku asked himself. My voice, it's so high. This isn't how 4 arms sounds. Izuku then looks into the mirror to his right and it shows him a small green battery-like creature. Who the heck is this guy? The small battery alien yelled out. A new alien? But how? The battery-like alien yelled to himself. Sensei, he must have given it to me when I was sleeping. The 1-pointer robot then slams down towards the battery alien, to which he begins to spark electricity and instantly teleports away, dodging the robot's attack. I can't waste any more time thinking about this. I have to focus, the small alien yelled. Just trust your instincts and do what feels natural to this form. As he said that, he begins to feel a strange sensation in his chest. A spark? No, more like a cackling of electricity that ran through his entire being. A need that feels like a magnetic pull towards the robot. What is this? This feeling? This hunger? The alien asked himself while looking at the robot. Electricity. His eyes widened as he stared at the robot. As he began to focus and listen, he could hear the electricity coursing through the robot. The small alien was practically drooling at the mouth simply looking at the robot until finally, his need to feed overwhelmed him. Gimme, 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 gimme. The small alien yelled out as his body erupts with small cackles of electricity. His entire body is covered with a green electricity as he then flies towards the robot and disappears. Then the robot is hit with a powerful green electrical shock as the electricity leaves the robot, causing it to explode. The electricity reforms back to the small battery alien. He looks at what he had just done to the robot. He looks down at his hands, then realizes that he was floating. Whoa, was that me? This guy must have some kind of electricity manipulation quirk. And he can fly, the small alien said as he looked behind him. Looks like he can discharge and absorb electricity. 3 more 1-pointer robots appear and charge towards the alien, who smiles as his body begins to cackle with electricity. Oh, you guys are in so much trouble, the alien yelled as he turned into pure electricity, dashing through the air and towards the robots. As Sensei would say, come and get me. The alien enters all 3 robots in a matter of seconds, chaining together a string of bursting electricity and causing them to explode simultaneously. As the alien exits the robots, he seems to get even more charge to his power as the electricity around his body got even bigger. 4 more robots appear and target him, to which he does the same and causes them to all malfunction or explode. I feel awesome, 10 points already in the bag. All this energy inside me is making me even more excited. The small alien yelled out as floated in the sky. But I still feel so hungry. Is this because of me or is it the instinct of this form? The other applicants finally make near Izuku's location, seeing the amount of damage he had already done in a matter of seconds. They stare at the decimation before them, all of them whispering and talking to each other about what a powerful quirk Izuku had. They all then split up to try and find more robots. Suddenly, a two-pointer robot appears and swipes at the alien with its scorpion-like tail. The alien turns around but too little too late, however, as the tail lands strikes the small alien. However, instead of getting sent flying, the small alien's electricity diminishes significantly as he then splits into 3 more copies, leaving a total of 4 copies of the small battery alien. The small aliens look at each other in confusion. Then they all scream simultaneously. Who are you? What? I'm me. No, I'm me. The small alien said to themselves. Wait, is this alien capable of duplication as well? Well duh, or else we wouldn't be here. One of the copies replied. Wait, so if we can duplicate, then that means. All the copies then look at the robot and smile mischievously. They begin to laugh with the sound of crackling electricity leaking from their voices. More points for us. The copies yelled as they dashed towards the robot that split them up. The copies of the small alien then split up, with the original alien entering the robot already there. The other copies of the alien begin to attack the other robots present in the battle center, glitching and teleporting through the air as they do. From an observation room in UA. Hi, there were many pro heroes, teachers, and a dog, rat, mouse thing watching. In the far back of the room was All Might in his skeletal form, watching the screen that Izuku was on, giving it his full attention. In this practical exam, the examinees have not been informed of the number of villains or their locations. They have a limited amount of time in a vast area. They have to draw out the villains from there. The strange creature explained. The ability to gather information to understand the situation before anyone else. Mobility that can be used in many different circumstances. Discernment to be able to stay calm in any situation. And pure combat ability. These basic abilities needed to keep the peace in the streets are turned into points in this test. Doesn't this year's batch look promising? Another teacher commented. Especially this one. She points to the small duplicating battery aliens wreaking havoc on the robots. One destroys 5 more one-pointer robots in a matter of moments. Then laughs as he does. He has quite the strange quirk. I've never seen so many abilities in one person before. Electric manipulation and absorption, teleportation, flight and duplication. Just who is he exactly? Another teacher asked. The strange white creature from before pulls up a screen with Izuku's file. Izuku Midoriya, age 15. His quirk as he describes it is called All-in-One. The strange creature explained. All Might flinches at the name of Izuku's quirk and turns to the strange creature. All for one. All Might yelled, startling most of the teachers. Did I hear you right, Principal Nezu? No, I said All-in-One. It appears to be a strange form of a mutation quirk. The strange creature replied. According to his description, his quirk allows him to change forms with the help of a device he wears on his wrist, which gives him access to multiple different quirks. So far currently, he says he has at least 10 forms he can change into. All of the heroes and teachers in the room all look at Principal Nezu shockingly at the sound of this quirk. 10 different forms. A teacher yelled out. If this form of his has 5 quirks at once, just how many more could he possibly have with the other 9? Another teacher asked. What a powerful quirk. I've never seen anything like it. There is a slight drawback to this power, however, as currently, he can only stay in a particular form for 10 minutes at a time. Once those 10 minutes run out, he had to wait until the device on his wrist recharges, which according to him takes about 5 minutes. Only 10 minutes. What's his score now? All Might looks back at Izuku's screen and his eyes widen with surprise. Back with the alien hero, his duplicates and himself are still destroying the test robots, with the last duplicate finishing off the last 3-pointer he could find. All of the aliens regroup with each other in the sky. The time limits for us is almost up. Quick, tally up. One of the duplicates yell. I got 7 points. One of them yell. Huh, I got 9. 2 more than you, loser. Whatever, dude, I got 10. That's 1 whole robot more than you. I got 6. A duplicate replied depressingly. Taking the 10 points we got at the start, along with the 8 more I just added, that makes a total 50 whole points. The original alien yelled out. Oh yeah, Hue, here we come. The duplicates begin to cheer loudly in the sky except for the one that scored 6 points. The original alien goes up to him and taps him on the back. Hey, without you, we couldn't have gotten an even 50. You did great. The original stated, making the depressed duplicate smile. Suddenly, their laughing stops as the Omnitrix dial on their chest begins to beep rapidly and flash red. No, quick, get to the ground or else we go splat. The original alien yelled as all the duplicates followed him. As he flew down to the rooftops, the duplicates turn back into electricity and return to the original's body. The alien manages to land onto the rooftop, just as he transformed back into Izuku Midoriya, who falls back onto his butt, taking time to catch his breath and looking up at the clear sky. That was unreal. I really did it. I used a new alien. All on my own, Izuku said to himself as he looked at the red dial on his Omnitrix. Only about 5 minutes left until the test ends. Back in the observation room, the teachers and heroes all couldn't believe what they had just witnessed. So it's true, his time limit really is only 10 minutes. But in that time frame, he managed to tally 50 points. Quite impressive indeed. He is only topped by another examinee in a different battle center, who has 77 points currently. The teacher then pulls up a screen recording showing Katsuki Bakugo standing over a pile of destroyed robots, panting heavily. All of these applicants show great potential for the next generation of heroes. Another teacher commented, "Well, we can't know for sure just yet." A teacher commented as a glass case over a big red button lifted up. "Their true test is still to come," the teacher said as he pressed the button. Izuku stood up and took a look at the battle center and everyone who was still scoring points. He sees the blue-haired boy dashing all around the center, as well as a boy with blonde hair shooting a laser beam from his belly button. There are so many people here with such amazing quirks. I hope I didn't steal too many robots from them, Izuku said to himself as he observed everyone else. In any case, I think I've scored enough for now. I can use the rest of this time to take a breather. Suddenly, the ground and buildings begin to shake chaotically. Izuku suddenly falls onto his back due to the sudden rumbling. He takes a frantic look to his left, then his right, trying desperately to grasp the situation. "What's going on?" Izuku yelled. All of the students stop due to the rumbling as they look in the direction it was coming from. A giant shadow then looms over them as a robot taller than any of the buildings around them looks down on the students, ready for the attack. Izuku then remembers Present Mike's explanation of the 0-point robot. The fourth type of villain is worth 0 points. That guy's an obstacle, so to speak. There's one in every battle center. An obstacle that will go crazy in narrow spaces. It's not impossible to defeat, but there's no reason to defeat it either. I recommend you all try your best to avoid it. Izuku stares at the robot and prepares to run. "Isn't this going overboard a bit?" Izuku said as he began to run from rooftop to rooftop. 2 minutes remaining, Present Mike's voice announced. The robot slams down with his fist, sending a shockwave and cloud of dust towards the students. Due to the shockwave, Izuku gets pushed forward as he had just made a leap towards another building. He gets sent flying past at least 3 buildings before crashing down into a nearby alleyway. He manages to grab the railing of a fire escape just in time, breaking his momentum. However, the railing breaks and he continues his descent, hitting his head on the last railing of the fire escape. He lands onto the ground, groaning in pain as he loses consciousness. In the observation room, the teachers and heroes watch as almost everyone in every battle center ran from the giant mechanized threat. It seems most of them are taking Present Mike's advice to avoid this match at all costs. Well, it isn't as if we can blame them for this decision. It's normal for the human brain to choose flight over fight. It's just instinct. But the purpose of this test isn't to win against the giant mech. All Might continued. It's to see if anyone at all possesses the most important qualification of a hero. About 30 seconds later, Izuku slowly gets up, rubbing his forehead and holding his lower back in pain. "Oh, I'm so feeling that in the morning," Izuku said to himself. Izuku looks up and sees people running away from the giant 0-pointer. Everyone's in a complete state of mass panic. It makes sense. Present Mike said that there's absolutely nothing to gain from fighting this 0-pointer. If I can just make it back safely, Izuku thought to himself as he began to run in the other direction. 1 minute remaining, Present Mike announced. Just before Izuku begins to run, however, he suddenly hears a yelp from a girl in the direction of the 0-pointer. He looks over his shoulder and sees the brown-haired girl from the entrance, trapped under some rubble. Izuku stares at the girl who was trying her absolute best to get away, but all her effort was in vain. Izuku stares at the girl who was trying her absolute best to get away, but all her effort was in vain. The rubble was simply too heavy for her to simply crawl out. That girl, from this morning, Izuku said to himself as he remembered her bright smile from when he first met her. It'd be bad luck if you fell on the first day right. But what can I do? The Omnitrix is still recharging and that rubble is too heavy for me to move. Izuku argued with himself, trying to decide what to do. But I can't just leave her. "Sensei, what do I do?" As if Ren was standing next to Izuku. Izuku hears Ren's voice echoing in his mind. It was his wisdom that he shared after their final test together. "You'll often have to fight against uneven odds that may even have less than a 1% chance of victory," Ren's voice explained. "But as long as we continue to stand up for what's right, no matter how the odds are stacked against us, we can continue to inspire others to act. All it takes is one person who doesn't know how to give up." Izuku, before he could even finish hearing Ren's words in his mind, began to move unconsciously. What you want to achieve, what you want to be able to do, and the future you want to create for those around you and yourself. It's about keeping all of those in mind and only focusing on that. Fear at that point knows nothing. The future that I want, Izuku whispered as he began to run. I want to save her. Izuku then made a mad dash towards the girl in a similar fashion 10 months ago with the sludge villain. He arrives and begins attempting to lift up the giant piece of rubble from the girl, who looks back and sees Izuku's attempt. What are you doing? The girl yelled out. The robot's coming, you need to run. And no, Izuku replied. I won't run, not when you need help, not until I save you. The girl's eyes widen with shock upon hearing Izuku's reply. From the crowd of panicking students, the blue-haired boy looks back and sees Izuku trying to save the girl. What is he doing? Is he crazy? The robot is coming. You need to, the boy yelled, but stopped midway as the smoke cleared, revealing the girl trapped underneath the rubble. Is she trapped? Is that why he's there? He's trying to save her. Meanwhile the boy said as he gritted his teeth. I'm so pathetic. I'm so stupid. The blue-haired boy yelled as he made a mad dash towards Izuku. How could I possibly think about running away when someone needs help? How can I call myself a hero if I abandon someone? So pathetic. I'm so pathetic. The boy yelled. Just as Izuku's grip slipped on the rubble, the blue-haired boy arrives, pushing away all the smoke. Why you? Izuku yelled out. What's the situation? The blue-haired boy yelled. As she's trapped. I can't lift it up. Izuku explained. The blue-haired boy then looked at the rubble and his surroundings frantically, until he sees a large metal beam behind Izuku. Leverage. We need leverage. The blue-haired boy explained. The beam behind you. We can use it to lift the rubble up. Izuku looks behind him and sees the metal beam. That could work. Help me with this. Izuku yelled out to the boy. The blue-haired boy and Izuku then positioned the beam right underneath the rubble and look at each other. Ready? Izuku yelled out. Yes. Push now. The blue-haired boy yelled out. They both push the beam upwards with all their might and the rubble slowly begins to rise. The girl crawls out from under it as best as she can and escapes. The two boys release the beam and the blue-haired boy picks up the girl. Are you all right? Izuku asked the girl. The girl nods. Izuku releases a breath of relief, only to be alerted by the sound of the robot approaching. Then, the Omnitrix beeps and glows green. Izuku looks at his Omnitrix and smiles. Yes, back in action, Izuku declared. You get her out of here, I'll slow this thing down. You can't be serious, the blue-haired boy argued. There's no reason for you to fight this thing. We need to evacuate. Izuku then flashes Ida a slightly scared yet confident smile as he gave him a thumbs up. Don't worry about me. I won't lose. Now go, Izuku yelled. The boy reluctantly begins to run away as the girl looked over his shoulder, watching Izuku assume a fighting stance. Izuku activates the dial on his Omnitrix. He rotates the dial as he searches for 4 arms. Once he does, he prepares to slam down on the dial. 30 seconds. Present Mike's voice yelled out. Give me 4 arms, give me 4 arms, give me 4 arms, give me 4 arms. Izuku yelled as he slammed down on the Omnitrix, being enveloped in a bright green flash. The robot begins to slam down with its right hand towards Izuku. The robot begins to slam down with its right hand towards Izuku. The robot's hand crashes into the ground, creating another dust storm. The girl and blue hair boy stop and look in horror. No, the girl yelled out. A moment of silence ensues. Then from the dust and smoke, a large red man with 4 arms jumps from the smoke and lands in near the front of the two, taking a fighting position. Yes, thank you Omnitrix, 4 arms said to the dial on his arm. Yes, thank you Omnitrix, 4 arms said to the dial on his arm. Is that the same person? The girl whispered as she stared at 4 arms. What in the world is that? The blue-haired boy asked as he stared at 4 arms along with the girl. Just what is his quirk exactly? 4 arms looks at the approaching robot. Looks like you could use a hand or 4. 4 arms said as he stretched his arms backward. Special move, sonic clap. 4 arms yelled out as he clapped both of his hands together, which released a powerful shockwave that knocks the robot backwards. Special move, sonic clap. 4 arms yelled out as he clapped both of his hands together, which released a powerful shockwave that knocks the robot backwards. Special move, sonic clap. 4 arms yelled out as he clapped both of his hands together, which released a powerful shockwave that knocks the robot backwards. Shockwave impact. The large mech then proceeds to fall back onto the city, exploding from all parts on its body as it does. The large mech then proceeds to fall back onto the city, exploding from all parts on its body as it does. The pro heroes, teachers, and the other examinees could only watch in awe and shock upon seeing Izuku change into another form and taking down the large robot so easily. The pro heroes, teachers, and the other examinees could only watch in awe and shock upon seeing Izuku change into another form and taking down the large robot so easily. The pro heroes, teachers, and the other examinees could only watch in awe and shock upon seeing Izuku change into another form and taking down the large robot so easily. The robot crashes down onto the ground and explodes. The robot crashes down onto the ground and explodes. Four Arms, seeing this, immediately jumps to the boy and girl's location, holding them close to him as he shields them from the impact. The other students continue to stare the silhouette of Four Arms through the smoke as it clears. Four Arms then puts down the two gently. Time's up. Present Mike announced. You guys all right? Four Arms asked. Is this you quirk? So cool. The girl yelled. Who are you? The boy with blue hair asked. Oh, you know, Four Arms said with a smile as he gave them a thumbs up. Just another hero in the making. Izuku, could you help me set out the table? Inko called out to her son. Izuku paced back and forth in front of the door impatiently, waiting for something to arrive in the mail. He glares at the small letterbox in his door, waiting for that hatch to open. Izuku, Inko called out one more time. Sighing, she finally walks to her son's location to see him pacing. You know, staring at the door won't make that letter come any faster, Inko said as she placed her hand on her son's shoulder. You said it yourself, didn't you? That you scored 50 points on the exam. Izuku immediately snaps out of his focused trance and looks back at his mother, who is smiling brightly at him. I'm sure you did fine, Izuku, Inko said with a bright smile. So how about we pass the time with some dinner? I made your favorite, a katsudon bowl. Izuku's face immediately brightens up as he turns to face his mother. Really? All right, I'll help set the table, Izuku said as he ran past her and into the kitchen. Inko smiles as she chuckles, following her son into the kitchen. She resumes her cooking as Izuku sets out the bowl and plates on the table. Inko looks back at the table and notices that Izuku had only set out 2 sets. Oh, I forgot to tell you, Izuku dear. Could you possibly put out another set on the table? Just one more, Inko asked. Huh, are we having someone over, Mom? Izuku asked. Yes, we are. Ren's coming for dinner tonight, Inko replied. Sensei's coming here for dinner. When did you decide this? Izuku blurted. I mean, it's great that he's coming over, but even I never shared a meal with him. Inko chuckles at her son's outburst of confusion. Well, actually, I met him in Hasu today when I was out shopping. You see, I was on my back when I bumped into him. -7 hours ago. Inko had just finished paying for the last of her groceries and she makes her way down the street. As she gets to the city center, she notices a familiar figure sitting at a noodle stand, happily slurping up some ramen. He had just finished drinking the broth of the ramen and lets out a breath of satisfaction. That's more like it. Nice to see you're back in your groove, Chef, Ren said to Chef, who was now cooking alongside his daughter. It's all thanks to you, Ren. Because of you and the protege of yours, I'm feeling better than ever, Chef replied. He's been like this all morning. Honestly, I don't know if I find it inspiring or annoying, Chef's daughter Yui commented, smiling as she preps the next batch of broth. What's not to be happy about? I got my daughter back. Business has been booming. I saved up enough to afford Yui's tuition. Now she's even planning to go to culinary school to be like her old man. You could say I'm the happiest man in the world, Chef replied with a confident tone. That true, Yui? You want to be like Chef here? Ren asked. No way, Yui replied as she karate chopped her father's balding head. It's just the most convenient thing I happened to qualify for. Spent most of my life helping Dad here prep and cook for his stand here, so I figured why not choose something I already have some experience and skill in. That's so mean, Yui. When did you become so cruel? Where's the little girl who used to cling to my leg and beg me to stay home with here? Chef said teasingly as he rubbed his head in pain. I miss that little angel so much. Yui instantly blushes out of embarrassment and begins to try and grab her father's face, to which he holds her hands at bay easily as he laughs. You don't say that in front of other people. What if someone from my school heard you? My social life would be over in an instant, Yui yelled out as Chef continues laughing. Ren only looks silently and happily at the two, feeling slight envy over their bond as parent and child, a bond he never got a chance to truly experience. He reminisces over his time with Ben, Gwen and Kevin, as well as their son, Devlin. Ben was putting Ren through intense training as Gwen was giving him a proper education. He struggles to stay awake as Gwen continues to teach. He remembers when Kevin secretly took him on a mission despite Ben's refusal and succeeding, proving to Ben that he was ready for real missions. Lastly, with Devlin, he remembers the pranks they used to pull on everyone in the plumber's base, as well the scolding and punishment from Ben and Gwen that came afterwards. He also remembers fighting side by side with Devlin during missions. Family, Ren said to himself. Seems nice to have someone to come back to. Ren, Inko's voice called out to him from behind. Ren looks behind him to find Inko waving at him from across the street. Ren-san, that really is you, Inko said as she made her way over to him. Inko-san, what are you doing here? Ren asked politely. I was just leaving the grocery store when I saw you. How have you been? Inko replied and asked. Oh, you know, same old, same old. Ren replied. You know this woman, Ren? Chef asked, still holding her daughter back. Yeah, she's my student's mother. Ren replied, point at Inko. Inko bows and Chef returns the gesture after letting go of his daughter. It's very nice to meet you, ma'am. Your son is a fine young man, Chef replied. Inko is surprised to hear Chef comment on Izuku. She looks at Chef confusingly. Why, you know my son, Inko commented. Oh right, this is the guy I mentioned. Remember, when I took Izuku on that little mission? Ren replied to Inko. Inko looks at Chef and his daughter, who both were smiling. So, this girl is, Inko said as she stared at Yui. Yeah, I never got the chance to properly thank him. When you get the chance, could you tell Izuku-kun I'm thankful for him and Ren-sen saving me? Yui said to Inko with a smile. Inko could only smile with pride as tears formed in her eyes, knowing that her son helped Ren save this man's daughter as well as the rest of the victims. Chef, one more bowl please, Ren yelled out. Hey, that was your 5th bowl, you know. That's a lot of sodium. Are you sure you'll be alright? Chef replied. This was his 5th bowl. How could he stand eating ramen like that? Inko yelled to herself, staring at Ren in shock. Is he? No, it couldn't be. But, Inko then approaches Ren with a worried look on her face. Ren-san, if you don't mind me asking, what are your meals like daily? Inko asked with slight worry in her voice. Ren thinks to himself for a moment, then snaps his fingers and points them at Chef. Pretty much only ever eat ramen from Chef's place, Ren said with a smile. Inko, Chef and Yui all stand there in shock of Ren's obliviousness. Chef even takes a step forward towards Ren and places his hand on Ren's shoulder. Ren feels this but with a strange hostile intent from Chef. He slowly turns around to see Chef fuming with slight anger. Ren, don't tell me that ever since I met you, you only ever had my ramen for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Chef asked angrily and slowly. Well, I mean, I can't exactly afford any other type of food, so, Ren said nervously. Don't toy with me. Do you have any idea how unhealthy that is? I was under the impression you were still eating a proper meal and taking in a proper diet. Chef yelled angrily. You've been eating nothing but ramen for the last 10 months. For your own good, I'm putting a 1-month ban on you until you receive a good diet. Chef, don't do this, Ren pleaded, tears practically flowing out of his eyes. Ren, I'll always be grateful for everything you've done, but it's exactly for that reason that I can't, in good conscience, let you continue to make these poor dietary choices through my own food. So until you get this sorted out, be gone from my sight, Chef yelled dramatically. Chef, Ren yelled as Inko stared at Ren, who was now on the ground, kneeling and reaching out to Chef. A few minutes later, Inko was now walking beside Ren, who was clearly distraught over the 1-month ban as he walked weakly, letting out a weak laughter as he does. It's just 1 month. It's just 1 month. How long is that again? Oh yeah, 1 month, Ren said in delirium. Inko looked at Ren, feeling guilty that he lost his only meal source. I'm sorry, Ren-san. I didn't mean for you to get banned like that, Inko replied. Oh, it's not your fault, Inko-san. Don't worry about it, Ren said with a weak smile. Inko still continues to stare at Ren's weak demeanor. He held a smile, but inside, he was devastated. What am I gonna do now? Ren said to himself quietly. Finally, Inko stops in her tracks, making Ren look back at her. Is everything alright, Inko-san? Ren asked. Ren-san, Inko yelped. Would you like to join me and Izuku for dinner? Ren stared at Inko for a moment, but then smiles. Thanks, but I wouldn't want to intrude, Ren replied. It's no trouble at all. It's my fault this happened to you anyway, so let me make it up to you by cooking for you for the next month, Inko declared. Inko then hugs the bag of groceries tighter. And besides, you were the one responsible for making my Izuku's dream come true. How could I ever turn you away when you need help the most? Inko explained. So please, Ren-san, let me cook for you. Ren stares at Inko for a short while. Then he begins to brighten back up and smile at Inko. Well, if you really insist, I'd love to. Thanks, Inko-san, Ren said smiling. Present day. And that was how I got him to agree. Funny story, right? Inko explained to Izuku. Izuku, however, was trembling and looked nauseated. Ramen, nothing but ramen for 10 months. Just the thought alone is enough to make my stomach turn, Izuku commented. Right, Inko replied. Thank you for the help, Izuku. He should be arriving soon, so why don't you sit on the couch and relax until then? Izuku nods and does as instructed. He sits on the couch and turns on the television, which was already set on the news channel. Breaking news. We've just received word that mad scientist villain, Dr. Anemo, has escaped from prison and has begun to terrorize Hasu with his army of mutant frogs. Oh no, Izuku said to himself. Mom, I think Sensei is going to be a little late. Inko then takes a look at the live footage the news was playing. In Hosu City, the heroes of Hasu City are in big trouble as they all deal with an onslaught of giant mutant frogs. They leaped everywhere, dodging the heroes' attacks and causing massive damage to the city. Most notably, the heroes Kamui Woods, Mount Lady and Death Arms were doing their best to evacuate the citizens and hold back the frogs. Kamui Woods, Mount Lady, Death Arms, they do their best, with Death Arms holding back about 2 frogs by their horns. Behind them were a family of 3, cowering behind him. Death Arms screams and struggles as he manages to throw them back into a crowd of mutant frogs. "Take this, you freaks," Death Arms screamed. "This is your chance, go now." The family Death Arms was protecting nods and runs immediately. Kamui Woods uses his quirks to create shackles, tying up the frogs bunched together by Death Arms. "Mount Lady, you're up," Kamui Woods yelled out to the giant Mount Lady. Mount Lady then picks up the restrained frogs, wincing and cringing at simply feeling their sliminess on their hands, adding them to the large collection she has in her free hand. "Ugh, this is super duper gross. Why do I have to collect these things?" Mount Lady complained. "They're so slimy and smell totally gross. You're the only one who can capture these things by the kilo. So stop complaining. We're still evacuating the area, focus up," Kamui Woods argued. "Ugh, easy for you to say. You don't have to feel the slime of these things through your gloves." Suddenly, a low rumbling could be felt around the area. Death Arms and Kamui Woods immediately turned their attention towards the source of the rumbling. "Mount Lady, what is it?" Kamui Woods yelled. Mount Lady could only stand paralyzed, however, as her face changed from one of disgust to one of complete terror. She shrieks, lifting up her leg as if trying to avoid a mouse. What's coming?" Death Arms yelled out. "Your retribution." A voice yelled out as a sea of mutant frogs charged at them with full force. "Not good," Kamui yelled out. "Back up, now." Kamui Woods suddenly then gets grabbed by one of the mutant frog's tongue, lifting him up into the air then slamming him down onto the pavement. "Kamui," Death Arms yelled as he tried to punch the frog that attacked Kamui. "You bastard, you'll pay." Just as Death Arms' prepared strike is suddenly pounced by a large mutant hamster, which pinned him down easily. He attempts to lift up the rodent, only to be slammed back down by another frog. What the hell? What is this thing?" Kamui, Death Arms, Mount Lady yelled as she tries to help her teammates. However, 8 frogs from the pack split from each other, 4 jumping to the sides of the building that were parallel to Mount Lady. They all launch out their tongue and grab her wrists, pulling to immobilize her and forcing her to release the captured frogs in her hands. "Ah, so good to be back. How I've missed this sensation," Dr. Inimo announced as he landed in front of the pack of frogs, holding a large bag of cash from the bank. "How do you like my new batch of Pretty's heroes? I hope they've been treating you well." "How do you like my new batch of Pretty's heroes? I hope they've been treating you well." "Dr. Inimo," Kami said weakly. "How did you escape?" Death Arms yelled, as if a simple low-level prison cell could contain the brilliance and ingenuity of the great Dr. Inimo. Dr. Inimo proclaimed, "But fear not, heroes, I am not here for you. I am merely here to reclaim everything the symbol of peace took away from me on that dreaded day." What is he talking about?" Death Arms asked as he is still held down by the 2 mutants. "Your research materials," Kamui replied. "They were inhumane and went against every law of nature. It was sickening to even confiscate everything in that building. That research was my life. I've dedicated my entire life to pushing beyond the boundaries of life and evolution. You heroes stole that away from me." Dr. Inimo yelled out. "How is he doing all of this? I thought he needed to touch animals in order to mutate them." Mount Lady yelled out, still struggling against the frog's hold on her arms. "That young lady would be the help of my new and improved device. With this invention, I'm able to send out rays towards any animal in the area, instantly mutating and controlling them without any need to ever make physical contact." Dr. Inimo yelled out. "You're insane," Kamui retorted. "You call it insanity, I call it revolutionary. But no matter. Now with this new and improved batch of evolutionary achievements, I will restart my research from scratch. And this time, I will set my sights on a new horizon. Not just animals, but I will evolve humanity to a whole new plane of understanding. Once I do, I will rule over all of you as King Inimo, the one true ruler of the animal kingdom." "Dude, you are seriously one crazed up science junkie," an echoing voice from in the sky yelled. Dr. Inimo quickly turns around to see a strange pterodactyl-like creature with a jetpack flying towards him. "Who is that?" Death Arms yelled out, staring at the creature. "A vigilante," Kamui yelled out. The creature opens its beak and fired a strange green energy beam at the 4 frogs holding down Mount Lady, causing them to fly off of the building and releasing Mount Lady, who then easily swings off the last 4 frogs. Mount Lady then grabs the rodent and frog, pinning Death Arms down and pushes them away, freeing him. The creature then lands on top of the frog holding Kamui. From his wrists, he releases a green energy whip and grabs it around Kamui. What are you doing?" Kamui asked, "Saving your sorry behind. Now if you don't mind." The creature yelled as he released a propulsion-like blast from his jetpack. The propulsion blast on the frog's head causes the frog to release his hold on Kamui. The creature then flies up, still holding on to Kamui and effectively freeing him from the frog's grip. The creature flies towards a now normal-sized Mount Lady helping up Death Arms. Looks like this is your stop, the creature said to Kamui before throwing Kamui towards his two teammates. Kamui, Death Arms yelled as he ran to catch Kamui. Death Arms jumps and catches Kamui easily, landing roughly on the ground as he does. He sets Kamui down and pats him on his shoulder. You okay? Death Arms asked. Yeah, thanks, Kamui replied. Then, the strange creature lands in front of the army of frogs, preparing to fight. Hey, who the hell are you? Death Arms yelled. The creature looks back at Death Arms and smirks. The name's Astrodactyl, for now anyway. Astrodactyl replied. Tell me, big guy, you ever look into those diapers I recommended? Death Arms' eyes widen upon hearing those words from Astrodactyl, realizing where he had heard that insult before. You're that vigilante we've been chasing. Death Arms yelled. What? That's really one of them. Kamui Woods replied. Not one of them, he's all of them. Death Arms replied. Don't let him fool you, he can shapeshift into different forms. Nice observation. Well, since the cat's out of the bag, Astrodactyl said before transforming into another form. Echo Echo. The small white alien appears after the green flash dissipates. Echo Echo looks back at the three heroes. The small white alien appears after the green flash dissipates. Echo Echo looks back at the three heroes. Kamui Woods couldn't believe what he had just seen, and Mount Lady looks on with a surprised yet amused look. Ain't she really? Changed forms, Kamui commented. Stay out of my way, Echo Echo said to the heroes. Let a real hero handle this. And who are you supposed to be? Dr. Anemo asked. Isn't it obvious, Mr. Anemo? Echo Echo asked. I'm the guy who's gonna take you down. It's Dr. Anemo. Dr. Anemo corrected. Whatever, soon it'll be prisoner when I send you back to the slammer. Dr. Anemo laughs at the notion. He practically holds his stomach in pain as he pointed at Echo Echo. You, someone as low as you is not worth the time of a great scholar such as I. Now get out of my way, Dr. Anemo declared before continuing to laugh. There is only one adversary worthy of the great Dr. Anemo and his army of perfection. Echo Echo, however, smiles as he took a step back, as if an ant like you is worth All Might's attention. Echo Echo replied, chuckling in between, catching Anemo's attention. How dare you? I have obtained 3 master's degrees in a matter of 4 years. I alone have perfected the art of evolution. I will not be insulted by the likes of some no-name vigilante. Dr. Anemo retorted. Wow, 3 masters but still can't find a way fix those crooked teeth of yours. Echo Echo replied as he dug in his ear hole. Maybe you should look into different career, Doc. Why, you little. Dr. Anemo yelled out, gritting his teeth. Do you take me for a king's jester? Look, guy, I got somewhere to be and I've had enough of villains for one day. So can we just skip the blah 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 and go straight to the fight part? Charge my minions. Bring me his head. Anemo yelled. The frogs all charged towards Echo Echo, causing the area to rumble once more. This is bad. Kamui Woods yelled out. Mount Lady, I got it, Mount Lady said as she ran towards Echo Echo. Echo Echo smiles, however, as he then duplicates himself into 9 different copies, shocking both Dr. Anemo and the pro heroes. They all puff up their chest, as if about to yell something. Whoa, sound. Mount Lady stops her rush and covers her ears out of pain as do her teammates. The frogs that were originally charging at Echo Echo were now being launched back by the powerful sound waves. Dr. Anemo covers his ears in pain as he looks forward to see a swarm of frogs flying past him. Echo Echo then stops his attack, to which Dr. Anemo sends in 5 mutant hamsters. Echo Echo then changes into a new form. Wrath. Let me tell you something, freaky mutant rodents. Wrath is gonna smash you so hard, he'll send you crashing back into the sewers where you belong. Come and get some. Wrath yelled as he charged the rodents. Let me tell you something, freaky mutant rodents. Wrath is gonna smash you so hard, he'll send you crashing back into the sewers where you belong. Come and get some. Wrath yelled as he charged the rodents. Wrath clashes head-on with one of the rodents, holding it back easily. However, he sees another mutant charging from the left and immediately picks up the mutant rodent. Using him as a weapon, he swings around the lifted rodent and sends the other rodents crashing into the cars and buildings around them. He then throws the last rodent into the air, to which he then jumps after and pile-drivers him to the ground. As the dust from the impact clears, Wrath emerges from the smoke and dusts off his shoulders before roaring. Who else wants a piece of Wrath? Wrath yelled out. Dr. Anemo is now visibly frustrated, gritting his teeth at the sight of his forces being so easily defeated. How long are you going to stay down? Get up and kill him, Dr. Anemo yelled towards his frogs. The frogs all then get up and leap towards Wrath, who then changes into yet another form. Brainstorm. Analyzing situation. Analyzing situation. Army of highly mutated frogs and 3 conscious rodents. Their advantage, superior numbers. My advantage, superior intellect and elemental forces. Environmental advantages, highly conductible mucus on ground left by frogs. Weakened light pole, trash can. Source of mutation, device on Dr. Anemo. Step 1, neutralize frog forces. Release electrical shock. Brainstorm's head then opens and releases an electrical shock towards the mucus on the ground, shocking all the frogs on the ground. They all drop down motionless. Estimated recovery time, 2 hours. Step 2, grab weakened light pole. Used to strike mutant rodents simultaneously. Brainstorm then uses his electrical stream to telekinetically grab the weakened light pole and swings at the rodents. They all get knocked back and become unconscious. Estimated recovery time, 30 minutes. Step 3, approach Dr. Anemo. Brainstorm said as he then walked towards Dr. Anemo. Frightened, Dr. Anemo will irrationally use last trump card. More mutants, 10% chance. Hostage within frog's mouth, 90%. As stay back, or else all these hostages perish. Dr. Anemo yelled as the frog he rode on opened its mouth, revealing 3 hostages in the frog's mouth. Recalculations complete. Step 4, grab trash can lid. Launch at frog's eyes, momentarily rendering it blind. Brainstorm as he telekinetically grabbed the lid of the trash can and launched it at the frog's eyes, causing it to flail in pain. Step 5, change into spider monkey and save hostages. Brainstorm then changes into another form, spider monkey. Spider monkey then uses his web to swing off of a light pole and towards the frog. Spider monkey then uses his web to swing off of a light pole and towards the frog. He then sends out 3 more webs which attach to the hostages in the frog's mouth and pulls them out. He creates a net with his webs and tossed the hostages onto the net. Step 6, Spider Monkey yelled as he swung towards Dr. Anemo and transformed into new form. Jury rig. Jury rig then lands on Dr. Anemo's head and laughs manically as he begins to tear apart Dr. Anemo's device. Jury rig, disassemble. Disassemble, disassemble, disassemble. What are you doing? Dr. Anemo yelled out as he tried to fend off the gremlin. The device falls apart in a matter of moments that were filled with Jury Rig's laughter, changing all of the mutants back to normal. No, my creations, Dr. Anemo yelled out before being held down by Jury Rig. Now, fix, 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 fix. Jury Rig yelled as he creates handcuffs from Dr. Anemo's machine parts. No, no, it can't end like this, Dr. Anemo yelled as he struggled with his handcuffs. Jury Rig jumps up and down with joy, laughing as he does. Mission complete. Mission complete. Before Jury Rig could finish celebrating, a long wooden branch suddenly reaches out to him as he promptly dodges. Whoa, Jury Rig yelled out. The wood retracts back into Kamui Wood's arm. Behind him were Death Arms and Mount Lady, ready to strike. Thanks for the help. Now if you can come with us quietly, we'll make sure your accommodations in prison are just as comfortable as Dr. Anemo's. Kamui Woods explained. Jury Rig only laughs, however, as he jumps side to side. No can do, no can do. Jury Rig replied. Got somewhere to be, Jury Rig does. You're not getting away this time. Death Arms yelled out as he threw a large piece of rubble at Jury Rig. The rubble crashes into Jury Rig's spot, much to Kamui Wood's dismay. Death Arms, that was excessive, Kamui argued. You don't know this guy like I do, Kamui. He's more slippery than he looks. Isn't that right? Death Arms yelled out to the rubble. From the rubble, a faint transparent figure then reappears and reveals its 4 blue wings. Big Chill. Ah, you know me so well. Ah, you know me so well. It's been fun, guys, but you've got some cleaning up to do. Big Chill said as he flew into the air. Until next time, when you need someone to do your job for you. Oh no you don't, Mount Lady said as she grew in size and reaches out to Big Chill. You're not getting away that easily. Big Chill only looks back, however, and smiles. He turns intangible and goes through her hand. He reappears in front of her face and transforms again. Goop. Goop then launches 2 large gunk shots towards Mount Lady's eyes, rendering her blind and causing her to stumble backwards. Goop then launches 2 large gunk shots towards Mount Lady's eyes, rendering her blind and causing her to stumble backwards. As Goop falls back down, he transforms back into Big Chill and disappears into the night as Mount Lady rips off the goo. Damn it, he got away again, Mount Lady yelled. Back at the Midoriya household, Izuku and Inko watch the battle unfold with great attention. Izuku's eyes light up upon seeing Ren's successful escape and fight against Dr. Anemo. Did you see that, Mom? Sensei took down that guy all by himself. He's so amazing, Izuku yelled out. I have to admit, that was impressive. Have you ever seen those forms before? Inko asked. Well, the crab and dinosaur one was new, same with that little gremlin thing. Izuku explained. I just hope he's okay. Inko commented. I'd rather not have to play doctor just before dinner. Just as she said that, the doorbell rang, much to Izuku and Inko's delight. Izuku runs to the door and opens it to find a slightly exhausted Ren waiting. Hey kid, sorry I'm a bit late, Ren said, chuckling. What are we having? I'm starving. Sensei, come inside. Izuku said with joy. Thanks, Ren said as he stepped inside and took off his shoes. Welcome back, Ren. Ready to eat something other than ramen? Inko asked. I'm sure you're pretty hungry after that big fight you just had. Izuku blurted. You guys saw that, huh? Yeah, I was on my way here when that whole thing happened. What rotten timing, Ren replied. Well, let's not waste any more time. Come, sit, Inko said excitedly. Ren sat down in his chair and looks at the dinner before him. He stares at it confusingly before asking Izuku. So, what is this exactly? Ren asked Izuku. A katsudon bowl with miso soup. My favorite meal, replied Izuku. I'm sure you'll like it, sensei. Come on, try it. Ren takes another look at the food and grabs the chopsticks set out for him. He picks up some rice and eats it. Now try it with the egg and chicken, Izuku directed. Ren does as instructed and is immediately met with a wave of flavor he's never experienced before. Well, what do you think, Ren-san? Inko asked happily. He stares at the bowl in shock of its deliciousness and begins to eat faster and faster. So good, Ren said with a mouthful of food. Izuku and Inko smile and chuckle towards each other at the sight of Ren enjoying the meal. Ren then, however, begins to choke on his food and pounds on his chest. Sensei, the soup. Drink the soup, Izuku yelled out. Ren immediately begins to drink the soup and takes a breath of relief. Thanks, Izuku. I thought I was goner there, Ren replied. Please, eat slowly, Ren-san. There's plenty more where this came from, Inko said teasingly. You take on villains on a daily basis, but almost lost your life through choking on chicken, Izuku said in between chuckles. Ren rubs his head in embarrassment as Izuku and Inko laugh. They spend the rest of the night eating and talking to each other about their day, which soon evolved into Ren telling stories about his adventures in the galaxy, to which Izuku immediately praises and listens with admiration. A few hours later, Izuku and Ren are helping Inko clean up the dishes. Izuku is drying the dishes while Inko washes them. Ren cleans the table of any leftover food. You know, XLR8 can get all of this done in a few seconds, Mom, Izuku commented. No way, mister. Last time, you nearly started a tornado in our house. I'm not in the mood to listen to neighbors' complaints, Inko said adamantly. Seriously, I told you to be careful with XLR8's speed, Izuku, Ren added. Remember the first time you changed into him? He didn't know how to stop and nearly ran face first into a wall. I know, Izuku yelled out. Izuku then looks at his mother, who was smiling and humming as she was washing dishes. Izuku smiles and continues to dry the dishes. You know, Mom, you've changed a bit, Izuku commented. How do you mean? Inko replied. You seem a lot more happier and a bit stronger now. Not that it's a bad thing, of course. I'm just glad to see that you're fine with me going to UA, Izuku explained. Well, you can thank Ren-san for that, Inko replied. Of course, I'm still against you getting hurt, but Ren showed me that I shouldn't stop you from being who you are, that I should support you any way I can. Seeing you fight against Ren so hard for your dream, it made me realize just how much you've changed as well. Seeing you try your best makes me want to try my best too, Inko said with a smile. That's why I'll support you in any way I can, Izuku. So do your best, okay, Mom, Izuku said as he looked at his mother with a smile. Ren looks at the two and smiles softly. Then the doorbell rings, catching the attention of everyone. Who could be here at this hour? Inko asked. I'll get it, Ren said as he walked towards the door. As he opened it, a large buff man with a yellow suit stood outside with two other associates. I am here, ringing the doorbell like a normal person. We apologize for disturbing you this late at night. A woman with long spiky blue hair apologized gleefully. We apologize for disturbing you this late at night. A woman with long spiky blue hair apologized gleefully. But if we could, we would like to have a chat with one Izuku Midoriya. Is he available? A white creature asked. But if we could, we would like to have a chat with one Izuku Midoriya. Is he available? A white creature asked. But if we could, we would like to have a chat with one Izuku Midoriya. Is he available? A white creature asked. Ren stares at All Might and the other two in shock. Izuku the peeks around the corner and approaches Ren. Sensei, what's wrong? Izuku said before choking on his words and freezes upon the sight of All Might at his door. Yeah, Ren said as he turned around and tapped Izuku on the shoulder. You might want to take this one. The tension and nervousness in the air, to say it was as thick as jelly would be an understatement. Here Izuku was, sitting right across from All Might at his dinner table, practically sweating buckets as he froze with nervousness. The blue spiky-haired woman sat next to All Might as did Nezu. Ren was merely leaning against the wall next to him, staring at Izuku. Inko was brewing some tea in the kitchen, shaking with nervousness as she does. What is with today? Two pro heroes suddenly showing up at our doorstep. And they want to speak to my Izuku. The scariest part, All Might, the symbol of peace, is in my house. Inko thought to herself as she nervously poured tea into the cups. Looks like nervousness runs in the family, huh, Izuku? Ren thought to himself as he observed Inko. Keep it together, both of you. Nothing's even happened yet. Inko then slowly walks over to the table. Give each of the visitors tea. Here's why your tea, Inko said, stuttering. Ah, thank you, Mrs. Midoriya, the woman said as she took the cup from Inko. Inko places the tea in front of Principal Nezu. Yes, thank you very much for this hospitality, Nezu said as he took a sip of the tea. She then places the last cup in front of All Might. This is where her hand began to get the most shakiest it's ever been. All Might keeps his smile and looks at Inko, which only made her more nervous. Ren sighs and walks over to Inko, taking the cup from her and placing it in front of All Might calmly. Enjoy, Ren said to All Might with a smile that matches All Might. Yes, thank you kindly, All Might replied. Ren then places his hand on Inko's shoulder, gesturing her to stand aside to let them talk to Izuku. They all drink their tea in unison, as well as exhaling at the same time. Principal Nezu then puts his cup down and folds his hands. Now then, I suppose we should get down to business, Principal Nezu announced, breaking the tension. As for introductions, I am Principal Nezu, the principal of UA High School. The blue-haired spiky woman puts down her cup as well and locks eyes with Izuku. I'm Nimuri Kayama, my hero name is Midnight. I'm a teacher of modern hero art history at UA, the woman explained. And of course, I am All Might. All Might boldly yelled before being hit by Midnight. Inside voices, it's the middle of the night, Midnight stated. Oh, right, All Might replied in a slightly lower volume. As you will soon find out, I will be teaching foundational hero studies at UA, starting this semester. All Might's going to be a teacher at UA. I didn't hear anything about this, Izuku blurted out in his mind. I am Izuku Midoriya. Yes, we're aware of that, Principal Nezu replied. Right, of course. I mean, you came to my house after all, so it would be weird if you didn't know whose house you were going to, Izuku said in a quick outburst. Izuku then quickly looks down and cringes at what had just happened. Oh no, I look like such an idiot right now. But I can't help it. 2 pro heroes and the principal are in my house, sitting right across from me. And to top it all off, one of the pros is All Might, my favorite hero, Izuku thought as he buried his face into his hands in embarrassment. This is so embarrassing. I want to die right here and now. I apologize for this rather sudden surprise visit, but I wanted to get the chance to meet you personally, Principal Nezu explained. Did I do something wrong, sir? Izuku asked nervously as he lifted his face from his hands and looked at Nezu. Oh, not at all, young man. In fact, it's what you managed to do during the practical exams is the reason we're here, Midnight explained. Correct, Nezu said as he took out a small circular device and put it into the center of the table. A projection appears from the device and replays a video of Izuku from the exam. First as the battery alien he first changed into, then when he transformed into 4 arms. The 2 videos then freezes. The first video freeze frames on the duplicate battery aliens. Then the second freezes upon 4 arms performing his sonic clap move. The 2 videos then gets put together for a side-by-side comparison. Battery alien, 4 arms. When the test first started, we had originally thought that your quirk was to manipulate and dispense electricity. But upon reading your file, we were all shocked to discover that your quirk lets you change into 10 different forms, all of which contain different abilities, Nezu commented. About that, Izuku replied. It's actually 11 forms now. Izuku points to the battery form on the projection. This was a new form for me. I never used him before until the exam started, Izuku explained. So wait, you mean to say that despite having never using this form before, you still did as well as you did? Midnight said shockingly. Why yes ma'am, I was originally going to choose 4 arms, but I got him instead. Ren looks at Izuku with a bit of surprise in his eyes. A mistransformation. I thought Asmuth corrected that with Izuku's version of the Omnitrix. Ren thought to himself as he looked at Izuku's Omnitrix. Guess the old fart just forgot. Some first thinker you are frog eyes. 4 arms, Midnight asked confusingly. That's just what I call this other form. I actually have other names for all of my forms. I figured since all of these forms had the capabilities to be a hero, I thought I should give them names, just so it's easier to remember them. Izuku explained, followed a weak and nervous chuckle. I see. What a fun idea, Midnight responded. So, what would you call this small one then? AA, Energizer, Charge Rush. Let's see. He does look like a battery, and his most prominent ability is electricity-based, attacking with electricity as well as absorbing it, Izuku said as he began to mutter off. Ren snickers and steps up to the table, taking a seat next to Izuku much to the teacher's surprise. How about Buzzshock? Ren commented looking at Izuku. You know, because he buzzes around everywhere and shocks anything. Izuku looks back at Ren, who gives him a wink with his left eye. Izuku immediately understands what Ren is getting at. Buzzshock. I like that name. Short and simple, Midnight commented. And who might this be? Nezu asked. This is my sensei. He taught me everything I know currently. He's a big part in why I even applied to UA. In the first place, Izuku explained, name's Ren. Nice to meet ya, Ren said as he held out a peace sign with a smile. Midnight, Nezu, and All Might all look at Ren with a look of interest and curiosity. Well, it's very nice to meet you, Mr. Ren, Nezu exclaimed. Same here, Ren responded. Now then, back to what we were talking about. The reason we came to see you today are for 2 reasons. But before we get into those things, will you indulge me for a brief moment? Nezu explained. Your quirk, all in one. It's quite a powerful quirk. It's nothing we the teachers at UA have ever seen before. This Buzzshock form of yours alone had 5 abilities. Your second form, 4 arms as you call him, was strong enough to create a sonic shockwave from just a simple clap of your hands, allowing you to easily destroy the zero-pointer robot. It really was quite impressive. It was very hero-like, Midnight declared. I must admit, even I was shocked by that act of heroism. All Might added, to be able to adapt so quickly to a new set of abilities you've never used before in the situation around you, I'd say that's quite impressive indeed, young Midoriya. Thank you, Izuku replied. I just got complimented by 2 pro heroes. The reason why I wish to bring this topic up with you is because until about a week ago, you were originally listed as quirkless. Nezu asked, but according to the footage, clearly that is not the case. It's almost as if you had just grown a quirk overnight. Izuku froze at this comment, instantly becoming overwhelmed with nervousness as his hands began to sweat. What's even more interesting is that device on your wrist, Midnight commented. The footage then changes to just before Izuku slammed the dial down on his Omnitrix to become Buzzshock. I'll be honest, Midoriya-kun. While the rules did say you were allowed to bring whatever you needed to the practical exam, I've never seen a support item such as the one on your wrist, Nezu added. Many if not all of them work in order to further extend a hero's quirk to make it more viable in the field of duty. But from what we could tell from this footage, this device is necessary in order for you activate your quirk. Never in my years have I ever seen a quirk that requires the use of a support item in order to be activated. Could you please expand on the functionality of this device for us? This is bad. Bad. Izuku thought to himself as he remembered Ren's warning about the Omnitrix. But the truth is, the people of Earth aren't ready for the truth yet. That they're not alone in the universe. If they find out about the truth about the Omnitrix and that it lets you change into alien life forms, who knows what may happen? The heroes might even try to capture you to take it away from you. I've just been hiding the Omnitrix this entire time. I thought of an explanation of my quirk, but I completely forgot to even think of a reasonable explanation of how the Omnitrix works. Izuku thought to himself in a panic. What do I say? What do I do? What can I even? I think I can be of some help here, Ren responded for Izuku. Izuku jumps at the sound of Ren's voice, instantly breaking him out of his trance. Oh, Midnight responds. How so? So, you're all aware of mutation quirks, right? Quirks that have a permanent and visible change on a person's body, like wings or even a tail. Ren explained. Well, turns out that Izuku has a unique form of a mutation quirk that comes with a different variety of abilities. The only problem is that because of all the different kinds of DNA in his body couldn't properly develop in order to suit all of Izuku's possible forms all at once. It's kind of like people trying to decide how to split up a pizza of 8 equal pieces between 10 people. They can't come to an agreeable decision, so they just chose to continue arguing while leaving the pizza alone. The pizza being Izuku, his body chose to stick with the default DNA that he was born with as a safety measure that Izuku would live. I see. I suppose that does make sense, Midnight commented. So if that's the case, then his quirk decided to remain dormant in an attempt to save him from being destroyed and heavily mutated from within. Exactly as you say, pretty lady, Ren replied, snapping his 2 fingers and pointing them at Midnight with a wink. Midnight looks at Ren with a surprised look on her face, which soon turns into a flirtatious smirk as she rests her chin on her hand. Ren looks at Izuku with a reassuring look in his eyes. Izuku's face lights up with a smile and relief. Sensei, you're saving me yet again, Izuku thought to himself. I see. I suppose that does make sense, Principal Nezu added. Quite interesting. I have never heard of such a case, All Might commented. Izuku's a rare case of this phenomenon. The device he wears on his wrist allows him to bring out one form at a time. It executes a program into Izuku's genes, telling it to ignore every other strand of DNA that exists within him and only focus on the one he selected, allowing his body to change in order to better suit the quirk he chose to access. Ren explained. Currently, the maximum amount of time he can spend in a single for is about 10 minutes. This is due to the failsafe of the device in order to protect Izuku's body from gaining unwanted side effects of changing into so many different forms at once. But with more use and training with his quirk, this won't be a problem anymore. That's quite a powerful device. Midoriya-kun, may we examine it? With your permission, of course, Principal Nezu asked. Izuku looks back at Ren with a face full of uncertainty, who nods with a smile. Izuku returns the gesture and holds out the Omnitrix on the table, to which Midnight, Nezu, and All Might lean in to examine. Amazing. The craftsmanship, it's quite exquisite. Nezu commented. Do you know what it's made of? And not really, no. Izuku replied. A simple design. Yet a sense of power lies behind it. Midnight added. Whoever made this was clearly a genius. So, this is the device that allows young Midoriya to transform. It's my first time seeing it up close. All Might thought to himself as he looked at Ren, who has been looking at All Might this entire time. If I may ask Ren, do you know the person who created such a device? Oh, this device originally belonged to a man named Ben Tennyson. He was my sensei. Ren replied. He was a sort of researcher in this case. He and a partner of his worked on this device together to further understand this kind of mutation quirks. Ben Tennyson. I'm afraid I'm not too familiar with that name. Nezu replied. Well, he's been dead for a very long time now. Ren replied sadly and slowly. So, I don't really blame you for not knowing him. He was a good man. The best sensei anyone could ask for. He changed my life. Midnight, Nezu, All Might, Izuku and Inko all noticed the shift from his usual confident and chipper manner of speaking. There is a moment of silence as a gloom feeling falls over everyone. Nezu then clears his throat, breaking the tension in the air. I can see that this is a sensitive topic for you. We can leave this discussion at that. I apologize for any discomfort I may have brought up for you, Rin-san. Nezu replied. It's a shame. He sounded like a brilliant and honorable man. I would have loved to meet him. Oh no, don't worry about it. Ren replied. It was just, I haven't thought about him in years. Bad memories washed over by time, you know. We understand. We won't pry any more than that. You should keep that smile on your face. It suits you. Midnight replied with a playful wink towards Ren. A smile is what keeps us strong in these trying times. Hang in there, Ren. All Might said to Ren. I'll keep that in mind, big guy. Ren replied. Well, I thank you both for indulging my curiosity. Now we can get back to the business originally at hand. Nezu commented. Nezu said as he folded his hand. Midoriya-kun, let's get down to the first matter. Your score in the entrance exams. Nezu explained. While you did mostly average on the written portion of it, when it came to destroying robots, thanks to your duplication ability, you amassed a total of 50 points. Quite an impressive score, I'd say. Midnight commented. I've rarely seen anyone score as high as in the 50s. You sure fought hard, didn't you, young Midoriya? Izuku began to blush uncontrollably. He had never been praised this much his entire life, by pro heroes of all people. Thank you. I tried my best. Izuku replied. Nonsense, young Midoriya. At WA sent a simple adversary to fight, you know. That took skill and bravery. All Might declared. It was that bravery and selflessness that you portrayed in the face of danger is the reason we are here before you today. Izuku stared at All Might with eyes that widened as far as they could go, being praised by the man who had once denied his dream. Indeed, as you know, the test had the robots act as a way of scoring points on the practical exam. What you may not have known, however, is that there were 2 sets of scores we were keeping track of. Nezu explained. What, 2 scores? Izuku replied. That's right, 2 scores. Villain points for how many robots you managed to point. And the secret scoring measure, rescue points. Nezu declared. Rescue points. Izuku muttered. Yes, rescue points. Points that you earn for saving people during the exam, whether intentional or not. Nezu replied. Being a hero isn't just about smashing stuff, you know. We have to take into account the people around you as you fight. Midnight added. Don't think for a second we didn't notice when you rushed into danger to save that girl trapped underneath the rubble. Despite not being able to transform, your actions alone inspired another examinee to act and help you save that girl. You had a hero's heart beating inside you, and you more than proved it that day. The way you ran headfirst into danger to save that young girl without even a second more to think, as well as way you destroyed that zero-pointer in order to protect the other students, was the pinnacle of what it means to be a hero. All Might yelled as he gripped his fist. I couldn't agree more, All Might. Which is why I'm proud to announce that in addition to your 50 villain points, your heroic actions against the zero-pointer have also earned you a grand total of 79 rescue points, bringing your total to 129 points. Nezu announced as he showed a projection of the exam scores. This score has broken the school's record, which was achieved by All Might once upon a time, that being of 100 points. You should be proud of yourself, young man. This is no simple task. The scoreboard showed Izuku being in first place, Tenya Ida being in second with 57 villain points and 29 rescue points, followed by Katsuki Bakugo with 83 villain points. Izuku's face instantly brightens up and smiles widely, with tears in his eyes, and Ko begins to cry uncontrollably, with Ren only looking at the score, staring proudly with a smile on his face as Izuku Midoriya's name being in first place. Under normal circumstances, we would send you a recorded message informing you of your passing marks, All Might explained. But this is no normal circumstance, is it? You have made history that day, young Midoriya. How could a hero course ever deny someone who saves others and does the right thing? All Might suddenly stands up and walks over towards Izuku, as does Midnight. UA is a place for heroes who want to become a beacon of hope for the people in society. In order to do that, they must have a heart as valiant and strong as yours, Midnight announced. Which brings us to our second matter. Izuku Midoriya, from the highest faculty at UA, Nezu said as he stood up on the chair and held his arms out. If you are still interested in our school, we would personally like to offer you a spot in this year's batch of freshman students at UA High School on a fully paid scholarship. Izuku could barely even had to think before reacting as he leaped forward from his seat towards Nezu. Why yes, I would very much still like to attend UA. Izuku exclaimed. I accept this offer. I won't let you down, I promise. Then in that case, All Might said as he held his hand out towards Izuku. Young Midoriya, allow me the honor of being the first one to welcome you to your hero academia. Thank you, All Might. I'll make all of you proud, Izuku exclaimed. Izuku immediately shakes All Might's hand. Midnight places her hand on Izuku's shoulder and flashes a smile, giving a thumbs up as she does. Good answer, Midnight stated. Inko could no longer hold back her tears as they began to overflow like a dam. She runs over to Izuku, hugging him tightly as he tries to calm her down. Izuku, my baby. I'm so proud of you, Inko yelled out while still crying. A full scholarship at a prestigious school doesn't come every day, you know. I'm so happy for you, baby. And Mom, stop. The family downstairs will think the roof is leaking, Izuku yelled as he consoled his mother as he was on the verge of tears as well. Ren then gets up from his heat and rubs Izuku's hair. What'd I tell you, kid? You've had the power inside you all along. You just had to believe in yourself, Ren said with pride in his smile. Izuku finally gives in and begins to cry as well, bringing Ren for a group hug and crying on his shirt. Sensei, thank you so much. I couldn't have done this without either of you, Izuku yelled. Ren desperately tries to pull away as he is soaked by both Inko and Izuku's tears. Oh come on, is your whole family capable of crying this much? I can't tell if you're a hero or a massive baby. Let go, you're getting my jacket soaked, Ren yelled as he continued to be splashed by the two's tears. The two heroes and Nezu could only watch in happiness, giggling at the family's reaction to the pleasant news. When the two finally calm down, Izuku quickly wipes away his tears as Ren tries to wring out his jacket in the background. Izuku then turns his attention to Ren, who is still wringing out his jacket. He looks back at Izuku and smiles. Izuku gets up from his seat and approaches Ren. He then holds out his fist towards Ren with a bright smile. Thank you, Sensei. I'll show you the kind of hero I want to be, Izuku stated. Ren chuckles as he returns the fist bump. You had better keep your word on that, kid. I'm looking forward to seeing that day, Ren said as he smirked. All Might could only stare and feel nothing but pride in those two. He then looks to the side of his injury. He holds it lightly and looks back at Ren.